just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by the smoothest, crispest lager in all the land. But before we get to it, Bloke Shorts dropping this Wednesday, 6 p.m. We got black, brown and grey, $39.95. Get to the website, bloke.shop. That's 6 p.m. Wednesday. So limited supply, guys. Heaps of people missed out last time. They sold out in 5 minutes. We've doubled the amount that we ordered this time so that more people can get it. But that may not, that doesn't guarantee that you'll get it. So make sure to be there 6 p.m. Wednesday. Set your alarms because I think these will drop and they'll go pretty quickly. So be there at 6 p.m. But I've got the great Kangaroo here. How you going, brother?
Going well, mate. Round 4, done and dusted. Saw a few more points this week, which is exciting.
Very interesting. What about yourself, Shandor? What have you been doing, bro? You have a week off the gym.
Does it look like it? Come on, mate.
Oh, I don't want to have a crack here.
I'm wearing these. I've actually, my shirts are getting big. I'm wearing these oversized shirts.
Is that a medium?
To try and take the heat off.
Is that a medium?
I think it's a 3XL.
Is that a slim fit medium you're wearing?
Nah, I've been good, brother. We've speaking of vintage, the old Vintage Mo just dropped another NFT, so back in that space, back in that game. Yeah, a bit of a club membership, so that's pretty cool. And then Airlocker's on tour, so we're hitting the Sydney studios, getting in there this week, getting around the community and doing a little bit of a member drive, so it's good times.
Nice. So if you want to sign up to Airlocker, what do you do?
So especially for Sydney, we have 2 studios, one in Bondi Junction and one in Penrith, so Western Sydney and the East. So if you're keen, head to the website, get a free trial or a 7-day pass, get in there and just experience altitude. I know you're going to love it. It's something different, not something to be feared, but just get in there, try it out, experience it, and hopefully I can get to catch some new members and new people in the community over the next couple of weeks.
And so, like, training in altitude, does anyone else do that? Or is it mainly just Airlocker?
They don't. There's a couple of little site locations, but really it's been exclusive only to the elite athlete, high performance environments. So now this is the first time it's been available commercially to everyone. So look, altitude has a heap of benefits. There's a lot of good reasons why it's good for me or it's good for someone on the other end of the spectrum. But the best thing is it's just a great program, a great workout.
So when you say other end of the spectrum, are you saying you're at the top of the spectrum? Is that what you're saying?
I said other end.
Okay.
So I'm on one end.
Would that be relative? Would that be relative to being at the top?
Well,
is that what you're telling me right now?
Look, it's up to your perception of it. I think it's horizontal, so it's just one on the left, one on the right. You know?
It's all about everyone's just equal.
Yeah, that's
no one looks any better than anyone else.
Altitude is for everyone.
You don't look any better than me.
I didn't say that.
You're not going that far. You're not going that far. Now, 12 stores in Spotlight. Lismore Celebrations, Burke Cellars, Throsby Cellars, Wickham, Panania Cellars, Coogee Bay Hotel. We're at the Coogee Bay Hotel. How good. I didn't even know that. I was in Coogee yesterday.
I remember seeing you there actually when I was young as maybe 17, 18.
Yeah.
You were there at the bar with Hodjo and that. I was like,
oh wow.
That was crazy. I just had a little flashback of you and me at the Coogee Bay. That was a classic spot back in the day, the Coogee Bay.
You know what's weird about, like, when you used to come down to Sydney from, like, when you're playing with the Broncos, I had no bearing of where anything was. So, like, I would go to a place that was popular. I didn't know what it was called. You know what I mean? I didn't
because you're not from there.
Yeah, so I was just like, this is just a bar to me. So I wouldn't even remember that we went to Coogee. But obviously we went to Coogee.
You seemed like, I remember just thinking like, you were like Jack, tight shirts.
Tight shirt, obviously.
Nothing's changed.
Used to be a who's who of rugby league. Selena's, you'd walk in there.
You can guarantee yourself a footballer back in the day. Now they all pretty much get barred from entry, pretty much, as footy players. But Coogee Bay Hotel, great place, great on a Sunday, Arvo, beautiful weather. Blaxland Cellars been with us from the start. Aussie World Celebration Superstore, Saltwater Creek, Helensvale, White Lion Hotel, Maryborough, N17 Burger Company in Port Douglas. It is on tap. Celebrations Baringa, Sunshine Coast, Eaton's Hill Liquor Barn. Baringa, that's where my older brother lives around that area. So get in there, Baringa, Sunshine Coast, and Eaton's Hill Liquor Barn. But major topics coming out of the weekend. First of all, quickly, we'll go over it. Kambosos has announced he'll fight Devin Haney. I think it's the April 30th, around that. I forgot the date. I think it's around the 30th, but you're a boxing fan.
Yes.
Thoughts on this news?
Mate, I'm stoked. I think it's great to have a big fight in Australia. We've got a couple of people doing some good things, but Kambosos is the big ticket for us. Devin Haney's a quality fighter, confident. Mate, I'm just excited. I definitely want to try and get to this.
I
was going to say, April seems...
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty soon. It's on tomorrow night, boys. It's on tomorrow night.
But it's going to be a cracker fight. Like, what Kambosos did is unreal, but Haney ain't coming over here to lose. So I'm excited, though. It's going to be massive.
General public tickets are on sale Friday, 22nd of April. So the 22nd of April, that's when the tickets go on sale. Pre-register to get early access at tegsport.com.au. That's not an ad or anything. He didn't pay me for anything. That's just, hey, an Aussie boxer doing something that has never been done before.
Crazy.
I don't think there's ever been an Aussie boxer that was, brought up here, came through our ranks, that if he wins this fight, he is the undisputed champ. And that is extremely rare in any boxing weight category. Usually the belts are all over the place. To get every single belt,
it's insane.
It's at Marvel Stadium. I'm definitely going to try to get down there.
Same.
Look, I'm really backing Kambosos for this. I know Haney, he's very skillful. He's very dangerous in the first few rounds. His last 2 fights, around 8, 9, and 10, he's really struggled. Not really struggled, but when he is unable to use his speed and his reach, he does seem to struggle, and I think Kambosos will take advantage of that. I think that technically Kambosos is a much better fighter than the last 2 people that Haney has fought. The last guy that Haney fought, he was fighting upper weight division. He was more of a brawler. I think his last name was Lopez or Diaz. But it was, Kambosos, I think he's going to be too skillful. It'll be the biggest boxing night we've had since Pacquiao.
Yeah. I just don't want this run to end. Like, if he beats Haney, then it's like, who's next? Lomachenko's coming to Australia. Like, I just don't want it to end.
If he beats Haney, I want him to fight the Instagram boxer guy.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, he's really fast, really quick. Ryan Gosling. No. Anyway, Ryan someone.
Yes,
Garcia.
That's it.
I hope he fights him because he'll towel him up for one, but it's a huge payday.
It's huge.
So get your payday and then do whatever you want after that. But I think he's got what it takes to beat Haney. I think if I had to predict right now, Haney outpoints him for the first round or 2, but then eventually, when the going gets tough, I think Kambosos puts him away. I just don't think Haney has enough power. If Lopez can't put Kambosos away, unless Haney outboxes him for like 8 rounds and fatigues him and then puts him away.
And I don't see that happening.
Yeah, like the only way I see Haney putting him away is via volume, not one punch, just boom, out. Or like, it could be one punch, boom, out, but that's at like round 8 and he's just had his head boxed off the whole time. Whereas Lopez can just switch your lights out like that.
And I just don't think Kambosos, with his counter punching and his volume and speed and pace of the fight, that's where I think he has the little bit of an edge. So fuck, it's going to be a big fight.
Oh mate, I'll definitely be trying to get down there. I put a post up yesterday, and it's basically Devin Haney going. And I just want to make one thing clear. I'm not a kid. He keeps calling me a kid. And so I just put that up in my story, like Kambosos is already starting the mind games. And then Kambosos was like, he's like, the kid's rattled. And so he's very aware of like what he's doing.
I love that.
And the mind games from Kambosos is very underrated. One of the greatest quotes I've ever heard in boxing is when he said to Lopez, "These belts are your curse." And you could see, because like Lopez's personal life had fallen apart, he'd broken up with the missus, everything, he had new trainers, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, get behind our boy Kambosos. 22nd is when they go on sale, but let's get to the rugby league news. Huge news coming out of Brisbane. The ambush has been delayed. Now, I believe that this is my fault. This is all my fault. Don't blame the boys. Don't blame the club. I didn't relay to you that we'd had, because obviously an ambush is army, we'd had a changing of assignments. So the ambush may come, but at the moment, we're actually standing at the door of 8, and you've got to beat us to get in there. That's what our duty is for this year. We'll stand at the door of the 8. We're the gatekeeper, and then next year we ambush you. So apologies for the breakdown in communications. There's been a changing of assignment, but the ambush, it will come eventually. In serious news, Payne Haas and Albert Kelly have allegedly been caught in a bit of a brouhaha on film. Now, very interesting timing of this video, and I'll get into that in a second. But first of all, we'll just talk about this quickly because it has to be talked about because it is big news, and it's all allegedly, the Broncos have referred it to the NRL, so you would assume that it is those 2 players. Interesting thing from the video is that Kelly is not in a moon boot, and he was injured. So this seems like an older video from a while back.
It's probably more than likely.
More than likely, especially if it come out like this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts when you see that?
He's brave, Albert Kelly, isn't he?
Yeah. Bloody oath, bro. Yes.
Bit of liquid courage will do it.
Wow.
Far out. Not a great look. Obviously, 2 of your leaders. Payne Haas, definitely a leader, and Albert Kelly wears the 6.
Yeah.
He's a leader on field too. So, not a great look. I think, as you'll talk about, timing is very interesting on this one, though.
Very fucking interesting. What are your thoughts, Shandor?
Yeah, like you said, it's all alleged at this point, but it's disappointing. I think potentially it is something that happened a little while ago, and yeah, just to back up you guys.
Yeah.
Timing is always a big factor in rugby league, isn't it? So.
It's and again, this absolutely doesn't excuse it. Both players, poor form, representing the club extremely poorly, representing themselves poorly, and representing their families poorly. It's really that simple.
Publicly, you just can't be getting in those situations these days. Like, there's just no way.
It's just whatever the situation was, you just walk away.
Yeah, you have to.
Whatever the blow up is. I mean, it's one thing you're on the drinks on a Mad Monday and you're in a closed environment,
doors, yep.
and as something happens, yes, it's not the best. You don't want them to happen, but these things happen at drink ups between men. People carry on. But this, in a public place, acting like that, very disappointing, regardless of who's at fault. Like, I'm sure there's one bloke here that says, I didn't really do anything, I was trying to defuse the situation. Everything's you just got to walk away. I do find it really interesting that during contract negotiations, a very old video drops. Very weird. Very weird. Thoughts on that conspiracy theory?
I mean, it's hard to push back on, isn't it?
Very weird.
Yeah, very weird timing.
And
it's not like it's a one-off in rugby league either.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
so
in
it's
these important moments, something drops.
Yeah, and I mean, dare I say, if the Broncos are 4-0 at the moment, I bet you don't see this video.
Absolutely. And that's where I want to, I guess, to be really clear, this is a bad look. It's not on. These are adults. They need to handle themselves way better than this. But as you said, if they're 4-0, just like last week with the Tiger situation, and this is the Tiger situation was nothing. This is actually something.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
Please do not say that I'm. But if they're 4-0, this doesn't get put out.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Yeah, as you said, Albie doesn't have the boot on the league, so you would have to assume it's not from this weekend. Yeah, but I mean, this is the reality of when teams are struggling. The media will come after you like this. It's it's tough.
And this is not the media's fault. Like this is purely 100% Albert Kelly and Payne Haas's fault. So it's just really disappointing. And I think that the disappointing thing is, Payne now, he's had a few issues. And I just think if he wants to be one of the greats, this is where he's... Look, we were all young and we didn't do this. So the young excuse, you could use it to a degree, but in my opinion, it's not an excuse. One stuff up one time, it could be a thing, but then it happening again, it's tough because he's playing such good footy. So what do you say to a young man like that? Do you say, mate, your footy's not going well because your off-field's not going... you can't say anything. His footy's killing it.
And those type of players, you don't want to curb their aggression in any area of their life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, he's a genuine leader at that club.
Yeah.
And at some point, the penny needs to drop and he needs to take on that leadership role.
I also think just the optics of it as well, that he's, your 120 kilo front rower going with Albert Kelly.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it was two front rowers going at each other, people look at it a little bit differently too. But it's not a good look.
Yeah, it's a poor look. And you know what, Albert Kelly, you're a mature man, bro.
Yeah.
Like you're not a teenager.
That's not me putting blame on Payne Haas, but it's just the optics of the situation.
Of it. Absolutely, 100%. And I'm just looking at it more of the perspective of this is a young man, one young man and a man making an error. But in Payne Haas's situation, like, you can be one of the greats, bro.
Yes.
Don't allow this to derail what you could do in your life, because the saddest result in Payne's life would be if he doesn't become one of the greats, because he should be one of the greats. That's how good he is of a player. So I'm of the mind of very poor look, definitely a mistake, shouldn't have happened. But, like, let's not make out like this is the end of the world kind of stuff. Like, this is two blokes pushing and shoving each other, got a bit of a stink. They'll be fined. They'll be sanctioned. I just hope people aren't making out like they've, you know what I mean? Like gone out and king hit someone.
No.
Made it out a bigger deal than it is.
The role model chat is a fair conversation.
Absolutely.
But outside of that, it's two teammates publicly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If that had happened behind closed doors, completely different story. But, two lads, things happen. I'm sure they would have sorted it out. I'm sure they would have, dealt with it. And then, as you said, they're going to be fined. They're going to be punished. So let's move on. Let's not make a big deal out of it. And let's not combine that with how they're going on the football field and try and mix the two together.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope that Payne and Albert use this as a real growing experience.
Little lesson.
Because, you know, the last situation that happened, you could say there was a grey area of Payne had loyalties to his family and There's no grey area in this. Like, this is a stuff up. This shouldn't have happened. And if you want to be the leader at a club, especially one as glamorous as the Broncos, you just can't afford to be doing stuff like this. So hopefully he learns from it. You know, do you think there'll be much of a fallout from this, or do you think it's a slap on the wrist?
I was about to say to you, obviously Albert Kelly, he's out for the next 4 weeks anyway. What sort of a punish? Like, if the Broncos are going to punish Payne Haas and maybe give him a few weeks off, like, they probably can't afford to be perfectly honest with you. It's a good little test of character for Brisbane, I guess, depending on, you know, how the situation plays out. But
Well, I think the Broncos need to ask themselves, you know, have we stooped so low that we're not going to discipline a player the way we should discipline them? Is that where we are with our standards? It would be extremely disappointing if they didn't discipline him in some regard. Now, how much that is, we can debate that, but he definitely should be disciplined for this.
It's a tough week to take out your best front rower, though. You've got Flegler, who looks like he's going to miss games.
This is where I feel like a lot of and I'm not saying that you think this, a lot of clubs get caught up in the short-term wins. Broncos, no matter what we say, are not winning a premiership this year.
Nah.
We're not winning a premiership this year.
I'm sacrificing my win-loss record for a cultural hit, for sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the right decision.
Yeah.
But it's
It'll be interesting to see if they do it or not.
For sure.
I just thought I'd point out that the Broncos' next two opponents are Roosters and Panthers.
Yeah, lovely.
I think that's good, because it's an even stronger message then. You know, we're trying to build this young team to be premiership winners. If we just band-aid over stuff like this and
It
go,
is a great opportunity, you're right.
great opportunity to go, it doesn't matter, you could be one of the greatest forwards of all time. If you stuff up, we need to show that, we need you to learn from it. You know, treat it as a pain learning moment as well. And that's all very easy to say, because we don't have our jobs on the line if we lose matches. You know, for example, Kevy Walters, you would have to say that if he continues to lose like the way we have been losing, regardless of how much of a club legend he is or how right or wrong, pressure will mount. So we're making the decision from a completely... we're not vulnerable in this situation. We lose nothing by saying, you know, you should do this. Whereas there are people there that have their livelihoods, their contracts, rely on getting wins, and Payne Haas is the guy to do it. So disappointing, but how many times have we seen young, absolute stars make poor decisions where they're younger and then turn out to be great role models? You know, a perfect example, like Sonny Bill when he first started. And the reason why I use Sonny Bill is because I think they know each other, and I would put them in the same category of superstar. And that's the only reason why I'm comparing the two, because when Sonny Bill came through, obviously we could all see like this guy is his own level, and same with Payne Haas. Sonny Bill had his issues when he started. Everyone, and look at the man that he's turned into. And so Payne Haas, I think he could do the same. It's just a matter of, does he take the advice from a guy like Sonny Bill? Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the other thing with Payne, without excusing, I mean, fuck, he's had a lot go on in his life the last few years. Like, being the face of this club that has really struggled. Obviously, the family stuff that's happened too. So, without excusing it, but like, it's been a lot on the shoulders of a young... I think we forget how young he is, because he's doing things that we've never seen a front rower do before. So, I do have a bit of sympathy on that front, but unfortunately, his reality is that he's the face of, you know, one of the biggest brands in Australian sport. So, whether he's ready or not, he kind of has to be ready to be that mature head.
And we've said this before, but, you know, always judge a reaction. So hopefully this does, as you said, create a spark for some development. But regardless of what's going on, maybe he just acknowledges, this is where I'm at. Like, I am a leader at this club, and I just need to take that on. At all costs, you need to avoid these situations. I know it's tough, but that's just where you're at.
Yeah, and, you know, the reality is, this is a 19, 20-year-old bloke. Like, it's very young.
Yeah.
They're going to make mistakes. It's
People quickly forget that context.
Yeah. Oh, man, when I was that young, like...
Ask anyone who's listening, remove yourself from the football world and think, shit, what was I doing?
Yeah, when I was 19, 20. And as you said, Guru, that's not excusing it. That's just putting this situation into context. And so hopefully he bounces back from it. I think Payne will bounce. I think it'll be a good learning curve, and you just have to look at guys like Sonny and the incredible men that he's turned into. And he had some troubles. Now, he obviously, you know, didn't have a fight or anything like that, but I'm just saying that people often forget, because Sonny is such a great role model right now, and the incredible things he does for different communities, that he had to learn and grow himself.
He was young once
so
too.
we all learn and grow. So hopefully Payne and Albert as well can bounce back from this. Now, forward pass technology. Now, I thought this was more just like a bit of media reporting, and now Peter Abdo has come out and basically said that they're looking into it. Kangaroo, thoughts?
Love it in theory. As we always say, execution is
Everything.
It is the biggest speed bump in rugby league consistently.
It really is.
I mean, like if you would have said 20 years ago, to help out with decisions, we're going to have guys sitting in a room watching replays. They'll never get it wrong. How often we still shit the bed every single game somehow. I worry about the execution of this and that it could cause more troubles than, And if you're a hooker in rugby league, how many forward passes out of dummy half don't get called every week?
lot.
Teams trying to get over the advantage line
But
constantly.
I'm kind of okay with that. Like, it's part
Yeah.
of footy.
Yeah.
Like, these little things are going to happen.
Yeah, especially in that circumstance. Like, you're pushing the boundaries on the advantage line. You're not throwing a pass for a try.
Yeah. Like, people would want the game to be black and white, but it's always going to have grey areas.
Yeah.
There's always
That's what
gonna-
makes our game so good, is that there are so many grey areas
Yeah.
too. Like anyone can beat anyone on any day. And I mean, I always think though that the game was unreal for 100 odd years before we brought in a heap of technology. Now we're putting fucking chips in the ball to see if they float a yard or a few centimetres forward. It's just, I don't know, experience, and from what I've seen in rugby league just tells me that this might be a little bit above our heads to be able to nail it. But
Well, if they put it in and it like doesn't disrupt the flow of the game at all, then you would say, great, awesome.
Yes.
But we know what's going to happen here. We know what's going to happen. Like, there's going to be a pass that no one thought was forward, that technically was forward, stops the game. And the last thing we need is more reasons to give penalties. We watched on the weekend. We won't go too hard into it, but I thought the refereeing was pretty poor overall on the weekend. And yes, I know the Broncos got a few tough calls, but I think even the Cowboys got a few tough calls. Even the Storm, I think, got a few tough calls. But anyway, neither here nor there. The last thing we need is more reasons to slow the game down. Is anyone really sitting here saying that forward passes are a huge issue in the game? Is anyone really saying that?
No, I don't think it's on the top of the priority list as problems in the game for sure. I'm kind of like, it would be nice to have a definitive answer when the crucial opportunity is like, was it forward, was it not, or it blatantly wasn't.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it corrected, but at the cost of what? Disruption to the game. Like, how's that going to work? I get the technology and that's cool, but the actual execution, like you guys said, on the field, communication with refs, like, fuck, that's scary.
And it's easy for me to say because I don't have a team, but to me, it's not like forward passes decide games all the time. And I know fans are saying, oh yeah, but what about round 17 last year when this happened? It's like, fuck it. If one forward pass call from a referee decided that game, I'm sorry, you didn't do enough to win it.
And also, like, let's say on the one occasion in all season, it truly did dictate the result of the game. Is that worth changing the entirety of our game and the flow of it because of one match that you'll probably get back later in the season with a call that goes your way? Look, if they can do it perfectly, love it. If we can, tries that get called forward that aren't, then that's awesome. But I just am concerned about the execution.
It's one of those things that, because we've been on social media, you can see where the problem's going to arise.
Yeah.
How quickly are we going to get messages saying, yeah, but it was backwards out of the hand?
Yeah.
And that all of a sudden, that whole narrative's going to be dead. It's just, it's how we put it into the game that worries me.
I want to know the technology that can feel that it's back.
Well, is that
if
what's
it goes
happening?
forward.
Is the chip just giving you a definitive trajectory of the ball and creating a line?
I'd assume it's so accurate that it can literally track the ball millimeters, so it could feel that it's gone like that and then gone forward.
Yeah, the article said that. It didn't go into the specific, the scientific specifics, but it did say it will be able to judge whether it comes backwards out of the hand.
Are we challenging forward passes now because we have the tech at our disposal?
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, far out.
I thought we were going down a path where we were less penalties, less disruptions.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're slowly teetering back. Bunkers having a huge play. I don't know. That'll be interesting. Surely, if you got the tech, you got to be able to challenge it.
Well, and I mean, every try that's scored, they have a look at it all. Are they testing every line pass to see if any of them were forward as well? It's.
I just think it's an extra. No, I don't think there's really the bulk of fans aren't sitting there going, "Man, forward passes are a real issue."
Need a solution, yeah.
Whereas when we brought the 6 again rule in, there was a overwhelming majority of people going, "The wrestle sucks. Get rid of it." Whereas there's not people going, "Oh man, forward passes are killing the game."
Yeah.
But what can kill the game is having way too many. I just sometimes feel like we're looking for reasons to stop the game. Like even sometimes, like in tries, we're looking for reasons not to give the try sometimes. And so I just think the game is in a great spot right now. It's in a great spot. We've got lower tier teams beating top tier teams. The game's is the closest start we've ever had. Let's just take our hands off for a second. Let it unfold over a couple of years. Going to be interesting. But leading into that, so V'landys has come out and said, we are noticing that the wrestle is working its way back into the game. The Commission has previously given an edict to eradicate the wrestle and make sure players aren't slowing down the ruck, but it's sneaking back in. We also feel it's important to have the fatigue factor in the game so that we see the likes of James Tedesco, Tom Trbojevic and Kalen Ponga. We will address those issues at the meeting. Does anyone think that Tedesco and Tom Trbojevic aren't in the game enough?
This is classic outthinking the room.
It's good. The game's good. It's good right now. And also, did we not learn from the 6 again rule by when we took it too far?
Took it way too far.
Took it way too far. And then all of a sudden we're back again and we're trying to tinker with it again. I think everything has been brought back into a competitive landscape. Outside of this weekend, there was 2 blowouts. That's it. And that was from Melbourne Storm against the spoon winners. So that should have happened. And then you got Dragons against a premiership threat. And then Warriors West Broncos. You know what I mean? Against 3 of the lower tier teams. So it wasn't Storm blew out the Eels or Storm blew out the Penrith Panthers.
But also, you actually look at that. You look at the scoreboard yesterday. You look at that actual game. Melbourne scored about 4 tries off turnovers from their own end. I don't know. We spoke about the numbers last week. It's the closest competition we've had in 20, 30 years. I can't believe this is being said a week later.
I love that first line. We are noticing that the wrestle. Who's noticing? Yeah. And how are you noticing it? What are the stats and the data?
Are you reading Twitter and nothing else? What?
And
what do you mean?
Even if you've got the data of the play the ball is a little bit slower, it's look at the broader picture though. The broader picture is the closest start to an NRL season. That's the stats. That's in my opinion. That's really. Is it exciting? Are there tries being scored? Yes. Is Tom Trbojevic and James Tedesco getting their hands on the ball heaps? Yes, more than ever before. And also, it's the closest start to a season. So I just think let's leave the game alone.
I think we're at a bit of a middle ground. What happened with that 6 again was off its head, completely changed the game. And what was happening before was, yes, you could get a genuine advantage with wrestle. I'm seeing a good mix now. I'm seeing some players have the opportunity to wrestle their way through a slow play the ball, but I'm seeing heaps of guys find their front, shackle off players, get quick play the balls. Again, back to your point about the forward pass. Are we sitting here going, mate, wrestling's a problem, let's fix it? We're not. So why bring up these controversial topics when the fans aren't even talking about it? What are you being reactive about?
Because then it also plants a seed in the fans' head this weekend to start blowing up about something that's non-existent.
It's really interesting. V'landys has done so many great things for the game, so I guess we've just got to trust his judgment. But in my opinion, with the information I have now, I just think let's just leave it alone. We have to remember as well, it's the closest start to a year we've ever had. I think we've had 22 sin bins compared to 6 sin bins, I think, at the start of last year. That is a huge change to the game. Yeah. And we're as fans, we're copying it. We're a lot of the sin bins I don't agree with, but we're copying it, we're enjoying it. So it's kind of far out. Not only are you are tinkering with the game with the sin bins and we're allowing it, but I don't know, sometimes I just think
that's also 220 minutes of football where your wrestle becomes more important than it ever has.
Ever has. Wrestle's a part of the game. It'll never go away. It'll never go away. If it's contact sport, unless you want it to be it just won't go away because there'll always be ways to tangle yourself up where it looks like the refs are never going to know the deep intricacies of actually wrestling in a tackle unless they play the game full time themselves. I mean, as you know, I was there part of the wrestle when it came in. But the level that they've reached now is half the boys would be, I don't know, some kind of belt in jiu-jitsu. That's how good they are at wrestling.
Well, every team has a jiu-jitsu wrestle coach.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I don't know.
I expect some stats next week on this, mate.
Yeah, brace yourself.
Some serious data.
Some serious data.
Mind coaching.
Drown us in data.
Yeah.
But anyway, so... Look, again, I guess we've just got to give we absolutely have to give V'landys the benefit of the doubt. He's done some fantastic things, and maybe he's seeing things that we're not seeing, and he's got access to information that we don't have. But just from the eye test of watching the game, I think it's in such a good spot right now. And this is coming from a guy that's team is at the bottom of the table pretty much. So it's not like my team's winning, so I'm like, yeah, I love the game. Anyway, we've got a deep dive, or we've got a stats here.
Yeah, so the first month of the NRL season done and dusted, 4 games down. I thought I'd just go and have a look at the last 20 teams that won premierships and how they started their premiership winning season, and then also grand finalists as well, which is really interesting. Penrith, they're the only undefeated team, 4-0. Of the last 20 premiership winners, only 20% of them started 4-0. Yeah.
Wow.
Of the last 20 grand finalists, only 12.5% of them started 4-0.
Wow.
So not as many as you would assume. When you look a little bit closer over the last 10 years for the Panthers, 12 teams in the last 10 years have started 4-0. 3 of them have won the comp. None of them have lost a grand final in the last 10 years. And 6 out of 12, so 50% of them in the last 10 years have gone on to make the prelim finals. So Penrith, I would argue, I think they're one of the better 4-0 sides that we've seen in a long time. So, and it's going to sound like I'm ruling Penrith out based on these stats. I'm not, but the numbers do indicate that you're more likely to get a premiers or a grand finalist out of your lesser records, which is pretty crazy. 3-1, the current teams that are sitting at 3-1, Storm, Parramatta, Cronulla. Same as the 4-0 teams. Of the last 20 premiership winning sides, 20% of them have started with a record of 3-1.
Wow.
This is where it gets interesting, though. Very interesting.
I love that.
Grand finalists.
Say that you've noticed.
Grand finalists from the last 20 years, 42.5% of them start with a 3-1 record.
Oh,
Wow.
that's
Okay.
a better. That's got me interested.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you think about 42% of teams that have gone on to play in a grand final started with a record of 3-1, whereas 12.5% of teams that started with a record of 4-0 have gone on to play in a grand final,
That's interesting.
which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Teams that are 2-2, this is something I've noticed. Roosters, Cowboys, Warriors, Knights, Gold Coast, Manly, Brisbane, and the Raiders. This is the group that the most premiers have actually come out of in the last 20 years.
Wow.
So 40%
True.
of the last 20 premiership winners have started with a record of 2-2.
Wow.
Crazy. So
That's
more than
fucking
double.
mental. Yeah.
Well, it's more than it's teams that started 3-1 and 4-0 combined together got the same amount of premiers as teams that started 2-2.
Wow.
Also, from that 2-2 record, of the last 20 teams to feature in a grand final, 32% of those teams started with a 2-2 record. Then you get down to the 1-3, which is also wild. 1-3, there's been 4 teams that have won premierships, so it's also 20%. It's exactly the same as 4-0.
Wow.
So the same amount of teams have won premierships that started 4-0 is the same amount of teams that have won premierships that started 1-3. We had Manly in 07. They lost a grand final when they started 4-0.
Yep.
And the Warriors in 11, they lost a grand final when they started 1-3. So the numbers for 4-0 and 1-3 over the last 20 years are exactly the same.
Far out. So it's all about runs. It's all just about runs.
Yes. So it tells us that the teams 3-1 and 2-2, if you've got one of those records over the last 20 years, it's like a 75% chance of you featuring in the grand final.
I'm not
which
wanting to
is-
go undefeated for the season.
I said this was Panthers went the year. So after the year they had where they went essentially undefeated, I actually said the year that they won the comp, I would rather Penrith hang around like 4th or 5th. They obviously went a bit better than that. Lose some games, win some games, because it's better for the run into the final.
Look at Storm last year. Tell me you weren't thinking
Guaranteed
this-
win.
Oh, but I just knew that run, and then you come into the finals. I was like, this is too much.
Yeah.
Not only is the pressure so much on you,
Yeah.
but it was like you've just got
Yeah.
you just need a bit of adversity there coming into the finals. So
But if you looked at like
it's tough.
outside of, you're right, I thought the same thing. Like it's got to have to stop eventually, kind of like the Penrith Panthers one. But if you looked at how they were playing, you were like, these guys there's no one that can beat them. Like they're so much better. And so, yeah, the Penrith Panthers, when they won, they pretty much did that. They dropped a few games here or there, timed their run to perfection, were literally just frothing at the mouth when it comes to defence for the grand final. They get the job done.
And if history does sort of repeat this year, and based on the last 20 years, it tells us that the likely premiers will be one of the Roosters, the Cowboys, the Knights, the Warriors, the Gold Coast, the Seagulls, the
Hey?
Broncos, or the Raiders.
What?
Well, Roosters are the...
Based on where teams are sitting right now,
Yeah.
and so obviously that's incredibly unfair on the Panthers, but the reality is that not many teams have won it from going 4-0. It tells us that the teams that are likely to feature in the grand final but lose, one of the Storm, the Eels, or the Sharks. Would a Roosters v Storm or Roosters v Sharks really shock anyone at the moment?
I'm going to say Western Sydney grand final.
Mate, how good would that be?
That would be epic. I'm feeling it.
Like, I would love that.
That's your content for the week, the little crystal ball guru. And that's what I'm saying. Western Sydney grand final.
Eels versus Panthers grand final would be outrageous.
So good.
So hectic.
I believe it.
If they have Eels versus Penrith and they don't have 1-4 as a... they are kidding themselves. Like, I know they
100%.
I know they have questionable content. You could go to the boys and say, look, can you not talk about shanking blokes? Like, just choose the songs where you don't shank a guy. Choose that song, please. For example, like the Sydney's Realists, like I'm sure they could mix some... Spot the difference. I'm sure they could like change some lyrics
clean
a little
version,
bit.
radio edit.
Yeah, like I'm sure they could do something, or just have like the first verse, because I know like the third verse is pretty hectic, where he's like specifically talking about someone.
Imagine the scenes though,
mate. 1-4 at the NRL Grand Final, whether you like or hate that kind of music, would be off its head, because the energy of that music is so aggressive. Like,
and the boys are coming in with the boombox, they're walking into the grand final playing it.
Mate,
it'd be off its
imagine
head.
that would be. It would honestly go like to our generation anyway. It would go down as one of the greatest halftime performances of all time.
100%.
Yeah. What do you got there?
Just to finish off on that, as you said.
Fucking hell, he's got more.
Back us up with this.
Well,
but wait, there's more.
But I didn't want to mention this one. I didn't want to mention this one.
It's never going to happen. Don't kill my thunder.
We have one team that unfortunately hasn't won a game of football this year, the West Tigers. No team has made a grand final in the last 20 years.
You're going to say there's a chance in the grand
final.
final.
100% of teams that have lost their first game have won the game.
But once again, this reverts back to what we said last week, that we only have one team that historically can't win this competition right now. And we're 4 weeks in, which is a pretty
good.
It's great. It's sensational.
No, I think it's a pretty solid stat, that one.
You know what? I think they should change a few things. They should change rules.
Let's flip it.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. Sucks that all these teams can win the comp. That's really interesting. Really interesting. Now, just a quick little... I don't know how true this is, but there has been a report that Volkman is reportedly in talks with the Warriors. Now, Volkman is an absolute gun in the Roosters reserve grade. And I think it was a Buzz Rothfield article. So obviously, could be true, could not be true. But I tell you what, if it's true, the Warriors are chasing the right man, because this kid can play. But if you're the Roosters, like, I wouldn't be so sure getting rid of a half at the moment. Like, it's not a sure thing that this is the like. Obviously, Walker and Keary are incredibly good players, but I don't think that they've. Keary obviously has, but I think Sam Walker still has some development to go before you could say that he's absolutely going to be here for the next 10 years. I think that's a fair shout.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the thing that worries me about Walker, we've always said, is that he's too tough for his own good. So it's always a worry, but this Volkman, he can really play. I think that there should be 15 clubs that are looking to sign Volkman, but you got to remember the Warriors have signed Metcalf as well. Like, they've got if they get Volkman as well, they've got a couple of really exciting young guys going there. I mean, at the moment, they've still got Chanel Harris-Tavita as well, so I'm not quite buying this one just yet.
Neither do I, because like, they got so many halves right now.
Yeah, I don't think they need a Volkman. It'd be great if they got him, but I don't think they need him. I know he went to Waverley College in Sydney's East, and I don't think he grew up around here. He might even be from New Zealand, Matty. Maybe if you can Dior that, it wouldn't surprise me if he's one of the guys that the Chooks have brought over from New Zealand in their lower grades, which might help the cause.
Have you seen Volkman at all play?
Yeah, I've seen some highlights. He's a quality player, but yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't fully make sense given the Warriors roster, but if they're trying to build up some good cattle,
I mean, if you were looking at like the Warriors believe SJ only has a year or two to go, maybe a year, then you can understand it, because you're like, when they lose SJ, they need someone. I'd say, unless Ash Taylor steps up and starts playing really good footy. But at the moment, very interesting. Very interesting. Maybe it's contract time, and the managers put out who's interested, and to make the Roosters re-sign him.
It's
quicker.
Interesting if you are Volkman though. Like, I would imagine he would have there's so many fucking teams in this competition that need halfbacks.
Yeah.
Like, he would have his pick of the bunch. I don't know. I don't know if Warriors is the best fit for a young guy that's going to come in with a lot of expectation on him. That's my other worry.
If I'm Volkman,
definitely not.
I'm staying at the Roosters unless I can go to like top tier Storm, Rabbitohs, maybe one of the top tier clubs, Just stay at the Roosters for at least another year or two, just to get those reps under your belt. And then you'll be such hot property to another club where it'll basically seamless. You'll just fit straight into their first grade side. But I think that like right now, is he developed enough to go to a club? Because if he gets signed, he's getting signed as the guy.
The Warriors is a tough gig. We've spoken about this.
Tell me about it.
To do,
Tell me about it.
To do that, like, oh man, like there'd be a percentage on that. It'd be real low. Going over there, taking on that role at the Warriors, like fuck, it would be hard.
I reckon if I'm his manager, I'm saying stay here for another year or two.
Apprenticeship.
And I would even say, mate, the jury is not out on that 6 or 7 role. Like the jury is. It is not like you're looking at the Panthers where Luai and Cleary have that shot and it's just it. That's going to be it for the next, I think Sam Walker and Luke Keary, although they were fantastic on the weekend, still have some time to mould together. And footy's a funny thing. Like a young guy comes in, let's say Sam hurts his ankle, touch wood, hopefully doesn't do that. Volk's come in, has incredible four games. I think the Roosters would probably allow Volk to stay in that position and bring Sam Walker off the bench.
As much as you said, like, Kiri's got that spot locked down, and touch wood, I'm wrong, but I mean, it was only a year ago or a few months ago we were saying, fuck, if he gets one more head knock, really worried about the career of Luke Keary. I was just thinking before, like, if you flip the narrative, if Volkman was 2 or 3 years older than what he is, it would have been him that would have got that opportunity last year for the Roosters instead of Sam Walker. Yeah. And then all of a sudden Sam Walker could be the guy going to the Warriors. Like, Volkman is really talented, but I don't know if I'd be leaving that system just yet.
Especially to the Warriors, like. Bro, that's a mass to be the main playmaker at the Warriors. So much pressure. He's going to play NRL. Like this, it's very hard because, like, as a young man, you know what it's like, bro.
That will literally come down to personal decision. Hopefully, he gets good mentoring to say, you're in the Roosters system. You're going to have to sacrifice short-term benefit for a long-term gain. Not only your development, but potentially an opportunity with the fucking Roosters.
Now, this is a bit of a spanner in the works. Let's say Munster and Storm aren't getting on at all. Let's say there's a bit of pressure there. Munster feels a bit slighted because he's getting a pay cut offer. The Dolphins are offering him like 1.5. Wayne Bennett's whispering in his ear sweet nothings about his bender in Origin, and he went on killed it and how great that was. If you're the Storm, do you make a play?
Yes.
I think you make a fucking big play.
Yes, straight away. And I think he's one of these guys that if you get him in a good system, whatever you pay him will be unders.
Yeah.
He just needs to land in the right system. He's in one at the moment.
Imagine him at the Storm system.
Yeah, imagine him with Hughesy playing off the back of Grant.
That spine is off its head.
Yeah,
literally.
For those that haven't seen Volkman, he is, I would describe him as Milford at his best.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's
just like Milford at his best.
Yeah, like he's very, I think he's probably got a slightly better kicking game as well. He's a real sort of all-rounder. So
he suits today's game.
And this is where Melbourne could sign a Volkman for unders, and they could invest more money into that pack and rebolster there. And
you're onto something.
If I'm Bronx, I'm going at him 100%. Like, we need a 6. We've got Ezra Mam, obviously, but he hasn't debuted yet, and either is Volkman, obviously. But if you can have those 2 players coming through, and then you can pair them at 6 and 7. Yikes, that's scary. Anyway, but Bronx are, we're not in the best position.
I was about to say, I'd probably go to Brisbane before I go to New Zealand. But I don't think there's a huge gap between the two at the moment, respectfully.
It's just what comes with it in terms of lifestyle change and all the rest.
Oh, for sure. I'm speaking from Broncos' perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Volk's perspective. I'm sending feelers out to Storm asking how that Munster situation's going down. Because
you're going to the Bronx next year, you're fucking on board with the ambush, mate.
Mate, get on board. I'll tell you all about the ambush. I'll tell you all about it.
Hey, Matty, have you got where he was born?
I think he's Samoan heritage.
He's a bit of a ghost on Google. I couldn't find it.
I think he's Samoan heritage. I'm pretty sure he's Samoan heritage.
Okay.
But he's a good kid.
Yeah.
Last time I spoke to him, he was very patient. I just said to him, mate, be patient. It's going to come. You've got so long to play first grade. I wish someone fucking told me that. Do you wish someone told you that too? I'm not sure if they did. Did they?
No.
Mate. I debuted when I was 19, just about to turn 20, or had just turned 20.
Well, when did you leave to go
to soccer? From soccer to league?
No,
to Warriors.
I debuted young as well.
21.
Oh, yes.
So dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb. But my manager didn't tell me anything about the trappings of going there. You can succeed. Look at Brent Tate. He went there, went really well. But I just wish my manager had been like, mate, just stay at the Bronx. Someone's going to get injured. You will get that spot. But anyway, really interesting. Now, I guess we'll speak about it now before we get to the rest of the news. the Storm situation. So I think it's incredible how they've been able to sign Hughes, Grant, Coates. Welch. Papenhuisen is on a long-term deal. First of all, massive props to Hughes as manager. I didn't like the way that all went down, but he did his job.
It had to be done.
He did his job. But like the balls to not take an option in 2024, like his manager, again, I don't agree with how it all went down, but it got the job done, so they've got more information than I do. What a recruitment push by the Storm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a textbook way to go about things, but it has worked out.
He's nailed it.
Credit.
He's nailed it. You've got to give it to him. Whoever it is,
yeah.
he's absolutely nailed it.
And well deserved. Like Hughes, he's a phenomenal player. He's come a long way. But to your point, he's had his injuries. Like I'm still going, fuck, if I fuck this up.
Mate, you got to remember before
put the balls on the line.
Yeah,
big risk, big
massive
reward.
risk. And on top of that, like from a club's perspective, it's like, bro, we took you when you had played one game with the North Queensland Cowboys and the Titans, turned you into a superstar that's now on 600 to 700K, like, and all of a sudden you're turning around and saying like, nah, I want more. It's like, far out. Like, look what we've done for your career. I mean, he did it as well. Hughes did as well. I think Hughes is top 5 player in the competition.
100%.
Incredible player.
Yep.
But yeah, massive. The manager has pulled off one of the deals of the century, in my opinion. For him to get that done, a Storm that is like usually so ruthless, and 5 years ago, I think the Storm turn around and go, mate, pack your bags and see you later.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays, they must just be more willing to compromise, I guess. But specifically on those 3 players, what an incredible re-signing.
Unbelievable.
To think that they got Grant, Hughes, and Coates all in one swoop is incredible.
And Coates is a freak, we know that, but they've seen, we're seeing the development, but they know what they've got, they know what they've developed, and they're like, we need to lock this down. A couple of the missing pieces are what they're going to do with their forward pack. They're going to have to go old school Melbourne and just recruit people out of nowhere and just bring them up, which they'll do. Second rowers is going to be a really interesting position, how they figure that out. I think they've got some stock, but they're going to need a signing. But Munster and Olam are the ones for me that are going to get very interesting. Both are going to command big money, big attention from any club. So I don't know. If I'm Munster, I can't leave. Well, how are you going to leave that spine? I think that'll come up later. But the spine, like,
okay, let's say all the reports are true, and we don't know. We absolutely don't know. But so we do know he's been asked to take a pay cut. So let's assume that the pay cut is to 900K, which is very conservative. It could be to 800K.
Yeah, I'd assume you'd have to assume a few hundred.
Yeah, you'd have to assume he's taken a pay cut of about. I would say they've asked him to play for 800K a year over the next 3 or 4 years. Dolphins, if they're offering 1.5, which they probably are.
No, you reckon 1.5?
Mate,
no
they haven't got anyone else. They've got
one.
money sitting there.
It can't be 1.5.
But they've got no one else. Like, who
I
else
don't
have
think
they
we'll
got?
see a 1.5 contract.
I reckon that they would
say
go that high.
1.2. I reckon
They need a billboard guy. They need a main guy.
DCE is on 1.2 right now. So people are already on 1.2.
If you're getting 1.5, you're going.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I am saying.
Surely not.
Let's say he's getting us, say, a pay cut, and it's 800K. That is literally, 700K more.
Yeah.
It's too appealing.
Even if you put him on DCE's contract, it's almost $500,000.
It's too
more.
appealing.
Like
You're back in Queensland. It's a foundation team. It's not like that's a great experience. And the reason I say that is because it's so celebrated the history of the Storm. Yeah. When you see those guys from the founding team and then the success in '99, it's the coolest thing ever. Yeah. I know that's in the back of my. Plus, you got 3 of your boys going up there from the Storm.
That's what I mean.
Like, mate,
and Bennett, he loves Bennett. Munster does.
But then you sit back and you go, "Fuck! What a spine! What a team!" Like it's
the argument. Like, so I think the friendship side of things is what will keep him there.
You can easily see how he could go, though.
Yeah,
easily.
for sure. No, I think if he does say, it's actually more because he's friends with, they're really close. Obviously, Hughes, Pappy, Hughes, Pappy, and him. Don't they like they're going to do like podcasts together, all that kind of stuff. Like they're really close. That's what would keep him. But so I don't think the winning of premierships and that is going to keep. He's already won 2. It's like, okay, like I might win 4. Like that's hectic. Like don't get me wrong. Whereas like 1.5 is like, I truly believe that there's a world where the Dolphins get that desperate, they go up to 1.5.
No, I can't believe it. Like, it's too much.
I know it's hectic. I'm not saying it's absolutely going to happen, but
let's say hypothetically it's 1.2. To all of the argument, that is still super appealing. And the Queensland.
Tell me
and
this.
the boys leaving
If you're
for the
Munster,
Storm.
why would you take the same as DCE to start a new club? You would want more than DCE. You're going to a whole new club. You've won more recent premierships. You're younger. Actually, you've won more premierships. You know, you're going to be the Queensland 6 for the next at least 5 years. So you're at the minimum, you're looking at 1.3. You know, that's where
What
it's
about the
pushing
fact
up.
that you're bargaining with the current club and the other team knows what they're offering you? Does that not? That's got to be a problem.
Oh, as in the Dolphins are like, mate, you're only getting 800 here.
Well, yeah, show us something that's close. So like,
But they've
got leverage.
but they might just say, look, like they need to get him there. They need to get someone there.
And if they don't get him there, I think someone else will fork out 1.3. Munster is a franchise changer.
Yeah.
Says no, then at the death 1.5.
Just puts it in there.
Well, I don't know,
Again,
bro.
I'm absolutely not saying that it we don't know how much they're offering. I'm just comparing it. If DC truly is on 1.2, and I think even Luke Brooks goes up to over $1 million this year.
Yeah.
So like these numbers,
$1 million contracts are a thing.
they're
yeah,
a thing
for sure.
now. They're a thing for sure.
Yeah.
We've got Tamalolo on $1 million. I think Teddy's 1.1 now. Like his next will update to that. So to say that they could go as high as 1.5, it is outrageous. It is outrageous. But I don't think it is so outrageous that it couldn't happen.
And in saying that, if you would have said 10 years ago we're going to have $1 million players, you would have said that's outrageous.
Yeah,
that's
true.
not going to happen. Like it'll be interesting to see where we are in 10 years' time.
Oh, I hope we see more and more money. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Just
I
get
wanted to make
paid.
sense
Get paid, young kings. What do you got there?
So a bit of breaking news. Now, nothing's official yet, but the Daily Telegraph are reporting that the Knight superstar Kalen Ponga is set to reject Wayne Bennett and signed a monster deal at Newcastle worth between 1.1 and 1.2, and it could be announced as early as this week.
wow.
Yeah, that's great. If that is
That's
such good news.
Great for the Knights.
Oh, such good news. So he's taken 1.1, 1.2 at the Knights.
But that's his club offering it to say.
That's
That's what I'm saying. That's the only difference with Munster and the Dolphins right now. The club that he's at is offering him eight.
There are other
hypothetically.
clubs that would offer him $1 million. There's 100%.
And I think
other
now
clubs.
also Munster's also sort of sitting in the box seat going, well, you're not going to sign KP. Who the fuck are you going to sign?
Yeah.
It's me or who?
Yeah, that's true. It's
And-
really.
and also-
is
I
there
almost
another
think-
big dog now?
There's no other big dog.
I think Munster's holding the cards now.
Absolutely, he's holding
Fuck
the
yeah,
cards.
man.
Money. Hey, they don't call him Mad Dog Money for no reason, baby. So, but even still, like I know you're saying if Storm were offering $800K, there are 15 other clubs that I believe would give Munster $1 million. Like they would move heaven and earth to get into the club.
Surely.
Like they would sack their halves. They would just push them out. They would though. We know that. That's just the way footy is.
Yeah, they would.
And so, I think the minimum offer to Munster from Dolphins would be 1.3. That'd be their like, here it is. Let's go.
Storm are obviously in a position where they're going like, we could lose him. Like that's,
Oh, I think they've accepted they're going to lose him, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. That's the way that I read
it's
it.
been a crazy run for them. Like I think they're just battle hardened at the moment.
Yeah.
Smith, the Bromwich brothers, Kafusi, like fuck.
I also think with Munster too, like, as you said, he's already won premierships there. For me, there's nothing Munster can do in his career that will ever elevate him above Smith, Slater, Cronk either.
It's true.
He's like legacy-wise, as you said, if he goes to the Dolphins and wins a premiership there,
It's crazy scenes.
it changes everything. It flips the entire narrative.
Man, it's wild times.
Foundational success is big.
Yeah.
That's like
Huge.
crazy shit.
Huge.
I just love that we get to talk about this shit. You know what I mean? Huge fucking contracts, new starting clubs. Like it's all just nonsense. We don't know what's going on, but we're just like conjecture. But it's awesome. Just quickly on the Ponga thing, if that is true, what a great deal by the Knights to keep
love
him in the
that.
club. What a great win by the Knights, who 6 months ago you would have said they're no chance.
Yeah.
They're no chance. They come out, battle their dicks off in the first 4 rounds, and we did say the first 6 to 10 rounds are club defining. So if it is true that he stays, great get. So good for rugby league. I mean, I just think even the energy that's going to give the club and the fans as well, I'm stoked for Knights fans.
I'm stoked about that.
stoked for Knights fans. I actually didn't really want to see KP at the Dolphins. I wanted him to stay at the Knights. I want him to be under Joey. I want them to be premiership threats. I just think there's other players that probably could go, like Munster, to the Dolphins. Do I want to see Munster at the Dolphins? Do you want to see Munster at the Dolphins?
I do, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
obviously you don't, Storm man.
Well,
I like both. I low key do. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to see. I can
excitement.
see Munster
Yeah.
being the
I
founding
want to
guy
see
there.
someone at the Dolphins, though.
Yeah, it's
if
true.
it's not Munster, who's it going to be?
And it's him and Kenny there. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
That's a
Get
huge.
Juzzy there. Sign him
fact-
on a heap of money too.
Yeah, there's what 3 people there. There's 3 people there from the Storm now.
Well, no, Felice, Jesse.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine saying that your new
4,
team
yeah.
is going to sign basically your 2 biggest leaders.
Yeah.
The best second rower for years, and then money. Pfft, mate,
Wow.
you couldn't write
Wow.
it.
Well, both back rowers, so their edges are so set,
Crazy.
so set.
And if people may not know, but the impact they
Oh.
have in defence, I just can't
they're
explain.
the reason why.
Oh,
They're the reason why Storm's defense is so good on the
mate,
edges.
it's ridiculous.
Your 4-ins are your keys. If your 4-ins are bad, everyone else is bad. It doesn't matter how good they are.
It's insane the work they do.
You guys would know more about it than me, but every single time I have someone on my podcast and the way that they talk about when they play Melbourne, those 2 are in defence.
Yeah.
Bro.
Is incredible. Like, take Branko Lee, for example, who arrived down there. With all due respect to Branko, and he'll say to himself, he couldn't tackle a 2-piece feed when he arrived in
Yeah.
Melbourne. Standing next to Felice, it
Tackle
turned
at
his
2-piece
life.
speed. 2-piece speed, you reckon?
Turned his life around.
The guru, one of the greats. Couldn't tackle a 2-piece speed.
I think that might have been his words, not mine, but I'll take it.
And you're obviously you're saying that they helped him.
Yeah, he was
He's
like,
really-
you don't understand how, like, Felice made me such a good defender.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
It's their movements,
Like,
bro. It's their movements. It's the back and out
Yeah.
and the protection of the half. Such a big impact.
One of their most underrated thing is when they tackle you, they like sting you. Like they just hit you hard. You know how like a lot of tackles,
Kafusi's a fucking proper hitman.
proper hitman, but a lot of tackles when it looks like you've been shotted, they actually don't hurt. It's the ones that just they hit you like right in there all the time. You're like, fuck me. You'll take the big shots up to the here all day long.
I love that they're different too. If you look at them, like Kafusi's a hard ball runner, great defender, and then you got Kenny, who's just so silky,
So silky.
like, mate,
Underrated silky
underrated
too, yeah.
feet as
Yeah,
well,
for
and
sure.
the moves he's doing with St. Olam, who's also a hard ball runner.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So interesting times. If you were a betting man, after seeing the news that they've got those players, so you would assume that it is locked in 100%. They need Munster to take a pay cut because no one else has been talked about taking a pay cut. Everyone else got upgraded.
You would assume has to.
Has to.
I think it's a nail in the coffin. It's the first thing I thought.
You reckon he's
when I was-
Gonski's?
Yeah, I reckon he's gone. I reckon they've accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't see a world where he takes a pay cut to stay there when the other blokes that have been there for less time than him are getting.
I would be stinging.
Yeah.
If I'm Munster and that let's say everything is true, I would be stinging like that. I have to take a pay cut when I've been here battling it under Smithy, Cronk, and Slater for so many years as the
Yeah,
little
that
dog.
perspective is hard to get your head around. For sure, I agree.
It'd be so stinging. And like Hughes is in his 3rd good year of first grade. Grant in his 2nd good year. You'd be
He's
like,
carried a lot of injuries so far too. Grant.
you'd be
That's
like, and don't get me like, absolutely Hughes and Grant, like you want them in the club.
Oh,
you
yeah.
want them getting upgraded. But if you're Munster, purely selfishly, you're like, hang on a sec, like I fully did my time. And when
It's actually a real tough decision, man,
Yeah.
for him. Like real tough,
And when
but both good outcomes.
yeah, and when it came time for him to get his upgrade, he gets told to fucking nah, bruh.
But I also think at the same time, if one of them's going to be the face of the Dolphins, I think Munster is the best fit for him.
Oh, he suits it. to
I
a
think
T.
it's a good little win for rugby league if he ends up at the Dolphins.
Interesting. I tell you what, if Storm do it, greatest, like one of the great recruitment.
Do you think they
drives
can?
ever.
Like, if you had to put a percentage on it, what are the chances?
I
you
think it's
Munster's-
50-50 right now because the fact that he is still negotiating, the fact that he's still at the table means that he's still undecided.
KP News has to bump that percentage.
Yeah, maybe.
I have a question. Do you think he'll break his contract if he does go to the Dolphins? Like, will it be next year or will it be 2024?
Oh, the Storm won't let him break his contract.
Oh yeah, right.
They won't break his contract. No way. I doubt
Nah,
it.
no chance.
There's no chance. Like, they're trying to win games. They're not trying to... Which is sad because then the relationship ends a bit weird, you know? Yeah, interesting times. I'm still 50-50. I don't know where it's going to end up. I want to see the Storm continue to just be this outrageous machine that dominates. But seeing Munster rolling around in a Redcliffe jersey, just carrying on like a pork chop, I want to see that too.
And he'd be the first guy they've had to that. Like, he'd be their social media guy, be
Massive.
the billboard guy. Like, he'd just. Yeah, it goes so much further than just on the field with Munster.
maybe it is
He's a
1.5.
Queensland 6. It's the more you talk, like, as crazy 1.5 sounds, the more you think about it, the more you stew on it.
yeah.
You're getting closer and closer to it.
It sounds outrageous because we came through a time where like Lockyer was on 500k. You know,
Was he?
Yeah, around that 400-500k. Now, team of the week.
Here we go.
This is tough. This one, actually, you know what? This actually wasn't as tough as last week for me. There was only one position where I really struggled. I've got
Are we in position this week? Oh, yeah. Beauty.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. This, honestly, coming from these two.
I'm seeing slashes as
Literally
well.
had
What's your thoughts on that, Guru?
7 front row.
One player slash another player. Interesting.
Pappenhausen at number 1. Is it Hausen or Husen?
Hoisen.
I thought it Hoisen.
No, I say Hausen, but you always say Hughes.
I say
It
Husen.
rattles me.
I
Yeah.
thought it was
Hausen.
Husen. I'll say
Pappenhausen.
Hausen. May on the wing. My boy Talon May, he's a beast. He's a beast. Manu taking the absolute piss in the centres. Talakai, what the fuck happened there? Where did that come from? I mean, we know where it came from, but holy shit. Now, this is the one where I had a lot of trouble. I thought Coates was fantastic, but
Yes.
I think Wanga Blake had probably the best game of his whole career
I agree.
last night. Brown at 6. Moses at 7. I think he just pipped DCE, but I thought DCE was incredible. Haas at 8. Grant at 9. Adam Fanor-Blake at 10. Kickout at 11. Papali'i 12. 13 Radley. 14 DCE. 15 Fisher Harris. 16 The Cheese. 17 Isaiah Yeo. 18 Dylan Edwards.
Yeah, mine's very similar. I went Pappy at fullback. I've got Coates on one wing. I reckon the other wing you've slept on is Mulatalo. I thought
he was really good.
unreal.
Yeah, you're right. You are right.
Talakai and Manu in the centres, they picked themselves. The 6 and 7, Moses and Brown, they were great. I've got Haas and AFB up front. I've got Harry Grant at 9. My second row, I thought he was great as well. Britton Nakora, Cronulla. He got through a heap of work the other night. I've got Kickows, my other back row, and then Radley. He hurt us last week, didn't he, Rads?
Really hurt
Came
us.
back huge. And then my bench, I went Turbo, DCE, Papali'i, and my controversial one, I went TPJ.
Tavita
In a
Pangai
losing
Jr.
side, I thought he had a real crack. 18 hit-ups, 140 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 7 offloads, 30 tackles, no missed tackles. Thought he had a real crack.
Don't feel like you need to back him up with stats, mate.
I felt like I did. But anyway, proceed.
No way.
I
No
could
one's
feel he is coming.
Yeah, no one's coming about TPJ. What do you got there?
Had Paps. Foreign Pappy, he was back. Crazy. Coates. I'm loving Coates at the moment. His development at the Storm.
He's the player we think he was going to be. You know?
Exactly
He's
right.
incredible.
I had Blake as well. I agree with you. I think he danced between the two positions, but that was a mad game.
He's a winger, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
think he's a winger.
And he's huge, athletic. Manu was crazy game. The Fridge back in 4, Talakai.
Oh, that's your boy.
My boy. He's
Oh
killing
my
it.
God.
He's absolutely
17 tackle
Bro,
breaks.
when he took this run, bumped Frizzell straight on his ass. I was like, mate, this guy, what's he on?
It's literally in my
crazy.
notes. Did that? It literally like Talakai just bumped Frizzell. Like, are you fucking?
If you're
serious?
doing that, you know you're on a tear.
Yeah, I think it was Brian Fletcher said last night at the Matty Johns show. He had 17 tackle breaks. You remember that game that Turbo had against the Cowboys last year? He had 20 that game.
Fuck me dead.
So Talakai one-on-one with, I would argue, the best defensive centre in rugby league. 17 tackle breaks.
Incredible.
Bro, crazy. Same boys, Brown and Moses, couldn't go past them. I went for Noah Blake and Haas as well. Haas has been with me every week. Mahoney, I thought he did well. I had Kickow and Papali'i and then Radley at lock. Boys called it last week. I thought he stepped up, had a mad game. And then my bench, tried to mix it up a little bit, but I liked Nath Brown, Collins, Whiten and Grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Collins was good this week.
Yeah, he was real solid.
He's
and
a-
then
he's a
Whiten,
good
mate,
front rower.
I know
a
it was in a
beast.
losing team, but he dead set imagine them without him.
Without them, they would honestly. They'd be would.
Some of the shit he comes up with and controls the
close to,
game,
yeah.
insane.
And every time they need something big, he delivers.
And then
He
shout out
delivers.
to Ronaldo, DCE, and my boy Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, Jerome Hughes is big. Now NRL games. Wowzers.
Start off with a banger.
Start off, mate. This is the strangest game I've ever watched in my life. Strangest game. I've never seen anything as strange as this. Titans versus Tigers. Interesting. Tigers were actually robbed of a try, or at least another video ref this game. Yeah, look, this was tough. Get the win, never think about it again.
I messaged a mate after and said, what a nightmare that was. And he said, I watched the AFL. And I just went, you lucky bastard. Fuck, I'm filthy on that. Yeah, look, it was a very, pretty disappointing game. It's just two teams that just played so poorly. It was hard to watch. And the way it finished was just... It's the most Tigers thing to ever happen to the Tigers, isn't it? Poor bastards. Like
Holy.
a shit kick that hits the post that your 5'8" catches and he knocks on and the other 5'8" touches the ball with a finger. It was like saying you'd score in the backyard.
That only happens to the Tigers.
And you took the 2 points.
Yeah.
And like, so, and Peachy's on the field, literally, like, you can see him going, Brooks, like, let's keep going. And Brooks obviously must have got the message to take the 2 points. Mate, that club is just, I feel so sorry.
It doesn't happen to another
bro.
club.
Yeah. I'm past the point of like, I just feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Because like, it doesn't matter how hard they try, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. What did you think of the game, Shandor?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to watch, to be honest. I think just the Tigers, I just don't know how they're going to turn this around. I just don't see where or what. I mean, looking forward to Hastings getting back so they can, have some sort of adjustment. And the Titans, I know you've mentioned it, but like, just there, I know we're talking about them being a young side and whatnot. I'm actually glad they won just so they can sneak 2 points in, but just their attack, I'm just like, it's so disjointed. I don't know.
Which is crazy because they have halves where they're...
That's what you think they'd fall back on, and we'd be talking about their defence. But, yeah, it was a tough game. Just kick off the week.
Look, I think from the Titans' perspective, this is like... these are the games you're going to have for the next year or two until these boys find their feet. I think Sexton was a bit rattled from last week. He seemed like he wasn't the same player as he was the first few weeks. Wasn't anywhere near as confident, wasn't anywhere near as dominant. And that's just all part of the growth. If I'm the Titans, I'm staying super positive with Sexton. Like, do not allow this outside noise to damage your confidence. Like, allow him to make his mistakes, allow him to make the wrong call. I just thought that it seemed like he was lingering from the effects of the week before. He didn't seem, the opening 2 rounds, he was fantastic. Then he was really good in the first half last week. Second half, he throws that intercept, pretty much changes the game's momentum. And so I just think if you're the Gold Coast, I understand you can't coddle them all the time, but this has to be expected. If this is a 5-year plan,
Yes.
stay the course.
I think you got to go 4 walls mentality and just go internal. Just build confidence. You want to see that camaraderie around the team, but knowing that we're developing, we're a young side, and everything is just internal. Like everything from building the confidence of your players to tactics to reviews. Everything just has to be directed at. We're just going to improve this year and focus on that because there's a heap of players that are going to be relying solely on confidence.
Just stay the course.
And you just look back in the history of the club. Look at Ash Taylor. You cannot, like, I don't care what anyone says. Ash Taylor is supremely talented, but I don't think they handled that.
No way.
Well, and they can't do the same with Sexton.
They can't afford to as a club to do that
Yeah,
again.
they can't. Yeah,
Like,
and
literally.
and good on them. Like I've been a bit critical of them, but I love the fact they've got all in on these young guys. But you just got to stick to it. It's a 3 to 5 year thing. It's not a 4-week thing.
Culturally,
Yeah,
there's a way to lead this, though, I think. Whether it's language, the perception that's being given off from leadership, from coaching staff, from media, I think they need to seriously sit down and say, hey, this is where we're at. This is who we are. This is what we're building. And everything we say and do needs to reflect that.
Yeah, and these are the sort of games Sexton's going to learn more out of this than them winning 38 to 36.
Yeah, for sure. This is a great moment for the club to not only do they get the 2 points, so they don't have to deal with the struggle of losing the game, but just refocus. It's a chance to like remind themselves, because when you're always winning, you never have to remind yourselves of the negative side of having a young side. Just remind themselves of like, just stay in it, boys. Let's stay happy. Let's stay positive. If I'm the coaching staff, I'm all getting in together before training session, boys. I want so happy, so hype. Everyone high energy. Life's good. Life's great. Because, and obviously there are certain players that need a rev up, so you give them a rev up, maybe privately. But it's just so key right now that they just keep pumping up Sexton. Cannot allow him to get swamped by negativity and worry and concern. Because at the end of the day, even though it was shocking display of rugby league, they got the 2 points. They hung in there long enough to get the 2 points.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the way that at the end of the game, how happy they were and how much they sell it. Like AJ Brimson. I mean, like if the Roosters win that game in that situation, it's almost like thank fuck. Like there's no reaction there. I love the way, like you can see how much these Titans boys, they just love their footy.
Yeah,
they just absolutely love it and stick with them. And they're going to be a painful side over the next. They're a painful side now to play. Realistically, you're not. It's always a challenge taking them on, and they had a new fullback too. Osako jumped in there, and it was a little bit disjointed. Let's be honest here. So much upside in the Titans.
Yeah. My play of the game. It's 70th minute. The game's on the balance. Tino Fa'asuamaleaui try saving tackle. Like, the guy's a beast.
Gun.
Beast. And so what I love about that is, like, at least you know that those things that you can't teach, your captain has it. He has it in spades. And that wins him the game. But without that, obviously they don't win because they score. So some of the calls were like, you know, there was an obstruction. Anyway, we won't get into calls. I don't want to bag the rest too much. So, look, Titans, this just is a real moment to circle the wagons in positivity. Stay up, stay upbeat, stay happy, because at the end of the day, the 2 points are there. Now, first I want to talk about, reports came out of Tigers that Hastings and Adam Dewey wanted to go up with the team. They knocked it back and saying that it sets a bad precedent. So Hastings went out and purchased his own ticket and his own accommodation to get up there. I just think this is such a good example of not being in touch with, like, the way footy clubs work and footy teams are. Because and to be really clear, I'm pretty sure it was Madge that went. So what? Let's don't conflate this with Madge saying no. I think Madge went to the board and they said this is, and like that decision is so out of touch where it says a bad precedence. You would know better than anyone, and myself as well. As a winger, I don't expect to go on the team away trip if I'm injured. No. If a half goes on the trip, I understand it because he's our main guy.
Your main guy.
You get that in footy clubs. This whole, like, everyone has to be equal. No, that's not true. That's 100%. Not everyone is equal. There are leaders in your team and they get treated better, and that's the way life is. And this whole, for Hastings to not only pay for it, but to get into the media. How did that get into the media? Like, I just think that's such a good example of a disconnect between the playing group and the admin there. What are your thoughts on the situation?
And just to confirm, it isn't a Madge thing.
It isn't a Madge thing.
No, it is not a Madge thing. It was a
No, I believe they're given their relationship.
Yeah, and Madge wanted him up there, and it's just, as you said, it's just a disconnect from reality. I mean, name me a better player for the Tigers this season. And he's played his first game back. He couldn't walk for the entire preseason. Like, why wouldn't you want?
And he wants to go up.
If he wants to be there, let him be there.
I've got genuine belief in him, and not only as a person, but his passion for the club. I feel like I've seen little snapshots, even of him in the box, like very animated. He clearly wants to make this work. He's rallied around the boys. Yep. He's a leader. He's their best player. Like, let's just go back to the cultural impact stuff like that has. Getting out in the media, that fucking sucks. But he wants to go up with the team, support them, get around the boys, do everything he can because he's going to be back soon. Like, just think about that opportunity for what it is, not the cost of the flight and the hotel.
Yeah, it's insane. And, like, you've got a guy that wants to lead the club that is desperate for a leader. They are crying out for a leader.
I truly believe he does.
Yeah. And they're not giving him the resources to be that leader. Like, that's in my opinion, the one job as admin is to give these players. There was always a saying that before you walked out to Broncos training, I'm not sure if it's still there. Basically, it said, "We will provide everything for you. All you need to bring is a good attitude." Yeah. That was the.
There was a similar message to Storm. They do everything for you, literally. Just give me your best effort.
Exactly. It's real simple. And when you read that, you're like, "Oh, that's easy. That's easy." And I just think this. Tigers in that situation, they have not given them everything they need to be the best club they can be.
I spoke to him on Thursday, Arvo, and he said that the only reason why he wanted it, well, not the only reason, but the main reason was because he just wanted to help out his halves. Yeah. He wanted to help out young Jock Madden. And, you know, this is a guy that, you know, these two guys are in his jersey. He said, fuck, I hope one of these two gets man of the match tonight because they're like, I feel so sorry for Jock Madden as well. I think he's been really good over the last few weeks. For him to have that moment where he drops that ball, so fucking unlucky.
Yeah, that's just unlucky. Yeah. That didn't lose the game.
But that's where him walking into the change rooms and Jacko would have put his arm around him straight 100%. Away.
Why is that so undervalued?
Yeah.
Why are we sitting here talking about it like and to them that's some crazy fucking thought?
Like,
I don't get it.
There's times to send a message to the playing group, you know, when it comes to disciplining players, when it comes to setting standards. Not giving a flight and accommodation to a player is not the time to send a message about equality and everyone getting treated the same. And people might go, well, this is such a small thing, why are you making a big deal of it? I just think this is representation of like where they're at as a club, where not only does it get leaked to the media, but the key guy they've brought over to lead them out of this isn't being given the resources to be the leader he wants to be.
And it sounded like they didn't want to put other guys out that were injured. And it's like, you've picked 7 out of your 13 captains in the last 2 years. Like, fuck, I'd be feeling a little bit out if I wasn't a captain, to be honest with you. It's just so...
And we're forgetting Adam Doueihi wanted to go up too. And he didn't go up. Adam Doueihi, the guy that you desperately are literally building the club around. It just blows my mind. Maybe there's way more to it, but with the information we've got right now, you need to give your leaders every resource possible to be who they need to be. If Hastings and Doueihi want to be around the side, you need to get them around the side as much as possible.
What I love about these conversations is to give fans a different perspective. We're really highlighting how fucking significant culture is in a team and the impact it has. Like, yes, we can talk about player selection, recruitment, the different strategies and tactics, but we've been coming back to this topic time and time again. The impact cultural decisions are making on these teams, it's so obvious. Like, how you're not seeing the value in something like that. They are, like, and Hastings, let's just highlight him. He is the light, the small light at the end of the tunnel for the Tigers to do something. Yeah. You know what I mean? And for their team to come together in the face of adversity. Yeah. I don't get it.
And, like, it can only benefit those players by sitting in the coach's box for me.
That's what I'm just not understanding.
Like, there's no else to take out.
To want to be there. Like, that just changes the feel and the
and
dynamic.
even for Madge to be able to sit there and go, Jacko, mate, this is where I like. There's no disadvantage to. It's such a no-brainer.
It's very strange.
And unfortunately, if I said to you this situation on blank resume, which team is doing it?
Yeah.
Tell me you wouldn't guess the Tigers.
And you know what this kind of does. Like, it makes me question. You know, I'm of the mind, like, there's a lot of stuff Madge does that I don't agree with, like tactically, the way he plays. Even watching the doco, there were certain things, and again, that's, you know, he's got his style of coaching, and then I've got my opinion on it. That's all it is, just an opinion. But now it's starting to make me feel like, is he getting the right support from above him to be the best coach he can be? And maybe that's making excuses for the team. I don't know, but a little thing like that, if they're doing that on little things, what are they doing on big things that, you know, he demands or requests? Like, you think if Wayne goes to the admin, we need to fly these boys down, they go, no. Because what's really interesting about it as well is, like, they're making a judgment call on what is best for the squad by not sending the guys down there. So they're actually saying to Madge, no, we disagree with what you think is good for the squad. This is what's happening, which is really interesting because it should be the coach's decision. It can't be about money because West Tigers, my understanding, they've got decent cash.
It's $60.
Yeah. Oh, I know, but that's what I mean. Like,
not even that. In my opinion, and looking back at what is arguably the best cultural team at the Storm, like, the football team would never be in the mercy of the administration in regards to something that's going to have a positive impact. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. And to the game, you know, there's really not much to say about that. Just a really... Yeah, I just feel sorry for everyone involved at the moment. Like, everything that can go wrong is going wrong. It's just one of those situations where you rock up, they defended their asses off, they had a red hot crack, they still didn't get the win. It's a really tough time for the Tigers. I feel sorry for the players. I was looking at Madge at the box, felt sorry for him.
Defeated, yeah.
You know, he just looked defeated, man.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for the moment Madge was told by a board member, you can't take your injured half back up there. Like, how does that conversation even go down? How do you...
I just think there must be a rift between admin and coach at the moment, like where there must be a part of the board maybe that doesn't believe Madge should be there. So there's this whole... that's all assumptions. I can't get into that. You know, we could sit here and speculate all day.
When are the boys back? Hastings, do we?
Hastings another week.
Yeah,
he got 3 weeks. So
he's missed 2 though.
He's missed 2, so he's got 1 more week. But yeah, Tigers, look, the positives you can take out of that is they defended their asses off and their completion was okay. So, you know, I know it's really hard for Tigers fans right now. I totally get it. You know, you're just so sick of seeing your team lose. But I'll just check here.
I think like it even like if you're, you know, when the board asks you to go and do extra media or whatever it might be, like if I'm chasing, so I'm sort of sitting there going, are you for real?
Yeah,
wouldn't that even let me go and watch the football team?
Yeah. So they completed at 75%, which is, decent. Where is the missed tackles? They missed 21 tackles, which is less than Titans. So it's so tough to lose the way that they are. But these effort areas that we're looking at, they conceded way too many penalties. But when it comes to missed tackles and completion, that's all effort. And they did that.
They've missed 30 tackles in 2 weeks, the Tigers. 15 on average.
That's really hard. That's really hard. So you've got to, when you're in these situations, just try to look for those shining lights. And 75% completion, only 21 missed tackles, which is less than the opposition. That's a win. There's a win there to be found. So as fans, yes, it's tough, but just try to look at the little stuff that they are doing. They are having a crack. They had a crack. At least this week, they definitely had a crack.
Yeah, definitely.
They definitely had a crack. So tough times. Hopefully they can bounce it back. Now, on to the next game. Wow. So the Sharks defeat the Knights 18-0. What a game of footy. And I actually picked the Knights. I thought Ponga coming back, they were going to add something extra to it. I thought that the Knights were going really well. I probably think that Ponga should have had an extra week off. It looked like his knee was still... He wasn't the same player. It wasn't as agile. But it's very easy to say that when, he's the main guy and all this pressure is on him to get back and play. Even we were talking about last week how there has been a couple of years now where it's been in and out. But I think the story out of this is, holy shit, the Sharkies look good.
Yeah, they're looking scary. Yeah. I mean, this Knight side, I think, they've lost 13 plus the last 2 weeks. Still not really riding them off that much, to be honest.
Way.
They've just played 2 good footy sides. The Sharks are a genuine, I had people say to me that they were a bottom 8 team last year. They might have been, but I think they're a top 4 team this year. I really do.
What was weird is and this is going to sound like, oh yeah, of course I wanted to say that they could challenge top 4.
Yeah.
There was this quiet voice.
Well, we said all preseason that out of the bottom 8 teams, they're the most likely to.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they'd do it.
Nah.
But they had this potential that all came together. It's just scary how quickly it's all come together.
That's what I mean. There was this little voice daring to dream in me that was I really like it, but I didn't want to say it because I'm nah, you know what? Most of me is in reality, they don't make this much of a jump. No team usually, other than the Panthers, go from can't even make the 8 to challenging this top 4 that is so far above the rest of the comp.
Huge recruitment, though.
I mean, huge recruitment. I just didn't think it would have clicked this quickly.
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't think that Hines, recruited as a 6, never played really 7 at all, would go into 7 and fucking be killing it. And in Knights' defence, though, it was 12-0 until the 75th minute.
Yep.
So that 18-0 doesn't really explain how close this game was. At the 74th minute, if the Knights score, it's a tight clash. So, for Knights fans, I still think still a top 6 side right now. Sharks fans, I think you start saying to yourself, we may have the squad to be top 4. And
I think as well, the other thing you've got to consider with the Sharks, round 1 was the first time Moylan and Hines had ever played together. They didn't play a trial together. It's unbelievable how quickly.
Mate, I don't want to put the mocker on it, but Moiser is looking sharp.
Yeah, it's great to see it, isn't it?
I didn't want to believe.
Stoked for him.
You're more bullish on him than me, but I was always of the mind he's just too injury prone. Just too many soft tissue injuries. They're going to happen again. But right now, I am loving the way Moiser is. What do you think of the game?
Mate, I love Moiser. It's good to see him back at his best. My concern is, I'm just wondering, have Yacloon and Clifford developed a game and a style and a system, which is crazy to think, but that doesn't adapt around Pong? Because I was just, like you, I seen a lot of effort, but I just didn't understand the gameplay and the style and his inclusion. I didn't find him getting a lot of opportunities, getting into good positions. So I'm hoping that you just put it down to a little bit of rust and we can see that, because for the Knights to be successful, a Ponga has to be firing for them, because they're going to get into close games. But I think if you pull up, the Sharks had something like nearly 700 more run meters, and I think we spoke about it last week. For me, they're the most aggressive team in attack. And I was just happy to watch my boy, the fridge Talakai.
Mate.
Like I said, bro, when he put Frizzell on his ass off a little casual hitter, it's like this bloke is off his head. But yeah, loving him.
Yeah, the Sharkies are looking just so...
Top 4's, I'm happy to put it out there.
Now.
It's them and Roosters.
Yeah, look, the Sharkies just look so good.
Battle for the 4.
They look good. It's just such a long season.
It is.
That's the thing. I mean...
I'm doing a lot of crystal balls today.
I mean, it'll be scary to think if in a few months' time, if the Sharks have got more levels to go to as well, which they quite possibly could.
Yeah.
Well, they do, because Hines' kicking game was a little bit off.
Well, that's it. As you said, it was 12-0 after in 75 to go. I mean, if he kicks those 3 goals, which, it's not that crazy nowadays for guys to kick all their goals. I mean, all of a sudden then you are looking at 18-0.
Yeah.
And I'm not, it probably sounds like I'm trying to kick the Knights. I'm not, because I just think this Sharks team is just a really fucking good side. Like if they lost 18-0 to the Roosters, you probably go, it's a pretty good effort to hang in there.
Yeah.
I think the Sharks are almost one of those sides now.
Yeah.
Sharks have the roster, like they've got the pieces to the puzzle. The spine's solid. The wingers, like Mulatalo and Katoa, they run for 1,000 meters. Them two blokes,
and they've already had injuries in so many spots. They've covered every single one of them. McInnes wasn't there to start. Wade Graham's still out. They lost a centre on the weekend. Connor Tracy didn't start the season, and they've got Ikavalu not in the team. Wade Graham's not in the team.
Fafita taking up a large chunk of the cap, and he's off the bench.
Yep.
You still got like your Franklin Pellos, your Royce Hunts, these sort of guys that are going to come in on the bench. They're going to be a nightmare. And, I mean, Aiden Tolman scoring that try. Imagine 300th game, the front row. I think it's his 21st try of his career. Scores the first meaty off the bench. And, I mean, without taking the moment away from Tolman, the deception by Brayley.
He's playing so good.
Season.
He's having a season and a half.
Yeah, he's really good.
Thoughts on I think it's Dominic Young sin bin? I can't remember what the sin bin was. Do you remember what the sin bin was?
I don't remember.
All my notes say is sin bin for that. What a joke. That's all my notes say, but I can't remember it. Matty, could you search Dominic Young sin bin?
Whilst you are looking for that, hasn't he improved though? Dominic Young. Like he's still can be up and down, which he's gonna be. But
he's a gun player.
Yeah.
Well, look, I just think Dane Gagai has just helped him so much.
Yep.
And it's that, that inside experienced player that gives him confidence, also teaches him good lessons about, being consistent. What do you got there, Matt?
That's right. It was slightly above the horizontal.
Yeah, and he got
that's
sin
right.
binned. He got sin binned. Oh, because, Mulatalo, he ducked his head. Let's all be honest. Mulatalo did duck his head, which is fair enough. You're getting the penalty, all good.
It was 8-0 at that point too.
Yeah, that sin bin was a joke.
I'm over the sin bins, bro, I'll be honest.
Tell me how slightly over the horizontal, how is that a sin bin? It's not even intentional. Mulatalo was sweet. He didn't go off for a HIA or anything. I understand you shouldn't be calling on if they're
Why
sweet.
do we always need to have one extreme in the game to start the year? Why do we need to sin bin everyone?
And so that's why I'm reticent. The Knights, it was 8-0 at that point. One try, they're back in the game. So I still think the Knights should take a lot of positives out of that game. The Sharks are playing really good. But that sin bin, we have to chill on the sin bin.
We have to, bro. Honestly, it's changing games. Way too many.
It is smashing games. 8-0 and you get a sin bin over slightly horizontal.
Meanwhile, we're inserting chips into the football. And
that's what I mean. It's got to be 5 minutes then. If you're going to give sin bins out like they're penalties, you got to change it.
I just reckon, in that situation, penalty, yes, a little bit dangerous, but when you watch the replay, it was fine. Put it on report, penalty, we move on. 10 whole minutes in the bin. What's that, 5 or 6 sets?
It's a man down. You can't do that. You're dictating games with that. How is that more beneficial than eradicating a few penalties? It's not.
Yeah, that was tough. But the Sharks were definitely the better side. Let's be clear. Sharks were definitely the better side. So Knights fans, I wouldn't be too upset about it. Back to Brayley though. He is playing such good footy. He's so silky now. He's just elevated himself into that different tier of hooker. I wouldn't say he's in the top tier yet.
No.
But I would say he's at the start of the top tier in basically. If he continues this over the next 12 months, it's like what Reid Marnie was at the start of last year.
And this has always been the guy Blake Brayley is when he's been coming through. He's always been this sort of a hooker. It's just taken a few years for him to find his way. I thought, all the attention went to Talakai, which is fair enough. He was on. I thought the other centre was really good too, Ramian.
He's been really good this year.
Oh, mate, one try assist, one line break assist, 6 tackle breaks, 130 metres, 14 tackles, none missed. I thought he was really good too.
Look at this for a damaging team. 45 tackle breaks compared to 19.
Right.
And we're just, what we're seeing as well is when Fitzgibbon signed, I actually said he's the if you could sign one coach for the Sharks, it would be Fitzgibbon because their biggest issue was their defence. They could score points. There was I think there was a period there where there was last year or the year before where they were the second or third most points scored. It was just their defence that needed to be sorted. Fast forward, their defence is sorted to hold the Knights to 18-0. Their attack is crazy. It's even gone to another level.
So good.
An extra 700 metres, as you said, Shandor. 5 line breaks to 1. The Sharkies are looking so good. And I still don't believe they've gotten the best out of McInnes yet. I think he's got a fair bit to go. Like, he's coming off the bench doing a great job, but I think he's got another level to go. Wade Graham to come back. I mean, Will Kennedy, he's
solid.
Last year, so Guru, another hot take, he believed that just that year, Kennedy played better than Ponga last year. Like, you would have Kennedy above. And I said I still would have had Ponga above him form-wise last year because I thought Ponga had some real game-defining moments. But I think, like, right now, if you were to rate form, Kennedy's right up there. Like,
I think he's overtaken Edwards.
So
most
consistent,
underrated
bro.
fullback.
So consistent.
Like, he's just every
Edwards
week he
is so
delivers.
good.
Every single week. And like, yeah, Edwards, but like we talk about Edwards more and more now. We still don't talk about Kennedy.
yeah,
Like, he does this every single week.
he's silky, eh?
Yeah, he's just.
And the context of what team you're playing in is such a massive factor. And Kennedy, just week in, week out, regardless of the result, regardless of performance, he always turns up and has a solid game.
We're saying that we think this team is a top 4 side. I think the vast majority of people, if you ask them to name their top 10 fullbacks, I don't know if people put Will Kennedy in there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No.
Mate, I honestly
most
reckon a
people
lot of
would.
people would forget about him. No
you've
one
got-
mentions
forget
him.
about
Like
him.
he doesn't exist.
You've got Gutho, you've got Pappenhausen, you've got Reece
Ted.
Walsh, you've got oh my god, Chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're starting to get up, like, so you're at 5 now, and we haven't even named Tom Trbojevic, Teddy, Trell. So
And you haven't even named other guys that have played fullback previously,
Edwards.
like a Nico Hines,
Yeah.
like a Munster, like a Hughes, that the people like to throw in as well. Like,
He goes under the radar.
The
Like,
value
I
that
honestly
he-
reckon people would put Selwyn Cobbo at fullback over
Some
Kennedy.
genuinely would.
Some
Yeah.
honestly would. Like, so yeah, it's a fair shout for sure. You've got Hamiso still. Hamiso at fullback. So it's a fair shout. He's just silky, man. Far out, he's silky, and he's not that big of a bloke, but
No.
he doesn't really get dominated at all. So good at the back. Moyes obviously playing good. Nico Hines, mate, I can't believe how good he's playing. He might be playing better than at the Storm.
So good, bro.
Like,
and you know the best, like I thought that his game the other night was good, but he wasn't braining it outstanding, and they still got the job done convincingly.
Yeah, convincingly. And to take a team, like, he's the guy, gets signed from outside the 8 to now considering a top 4 threat. That's, you know how hard that is to do for a, let's say they sign Nathan Cleary. You would say that's a successful jump for Nathan Cleary. Hines, who's a fullback, to come and do that, it's crazy.
He's got so much upside too. Like,
So much
just
upside.
about his kicking game last week, I said it was the difference in the game. I know this week it was off, but like,
Yep.
imagine his development in a halfback role, going from fullback, all of the like genuine halfback attributes. When he picks them up and adds them into the game, on top of the class he's got with his touches and skills, oh,
And I mean, take yourself back 3 weeks ago, round 1, they have to go to Canberra without their coach,
Yeah.
without McInnes, without Wade Graham, with their halves playing their first ever game together. They lost by, off the top of my head, 2 or 4 points. If they win that, all of a sudden they're undefeated with the Penrith
It was
Panthers.
one. It was
should be.
one
Should be,
error.
yeah.
It was one error that made Raiders, like, I think, kick the ball down
Yep.
and get a good set. If they don't do that error, they win the game.
It's the Spine's first game together without their coach travelling with them.
Yep. And Moylan has played barely any footy as well, so it's super impressive. I think you'd have to say, like, right now, if you do the Dally M Awards and rah, you'd have to say Fitzgibbon's Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and I think you'd be close to giving Hines a Dally M, wouldn't you? He's been sensational. Like, there's been other guys who've been great, but he'd be right up there.
Yeah, if you gave him the Dally M now, I wouldn't argue
He wouldn't
against
push back on it. Yeah.
You know, you've taken a team that was like 9 or 10th last year,
Yep.
all the way to, what are they sitting, 3rd or 4th at the moment?
Yep.
Yeah, really, really impressive. So Sharkies fans, a lot to like. Interesting, does Talakai stay in the centres now?
Got to stay in the team somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is, but he's one of those guys that if you're playing against Cronulla, you hope he's not on the team sheet.
Yeah.
put him anywhere.
I think you don't, look, give it a crack. Leave him there for now, see if it works. If it does, you've literally got the most damaging centre in the game.
Yeah, but he is a guy that you can catch out in defence as well. That has always been a thing with Talakai. So he's going to have these games where you just think, fuck, he's a world beater. But, you know, we spoke about in the off-season. I've said for a while, if he can just find consistency, he should be a top 10 forward in rugby league. He just went into centre and dominated the form centre of the competition.
Well, I just think that it may be true that he gets caught out defensively, but until he shows that,
Until it
give it a
happens,
crack.
yes.
You know, instead
Yep.
of being like, oh, let's not do it because it might happen. Right now, you like after that one game, you've got the best center in the comp, literally. Like Joey Mine, obviously number one, but 17 tackle breaks out there. You know what? I'm willing to league a try for 17 tackle breaks.
And they're now
200 bit a
turning
game.
guys that I thought were gun depth in the back row into first choice centres. You now don't have Connor Tracy, Nick Avalu in this back line. I mean, like that sort of depth is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Great signs. To the Knights now. Look, I thought it was a good game by the Knights. I thought they really hung in there, especially there was Saifidi brothers probably didn't have their best games, a few errors. I think that it was a good game to show that things didn't really go the Knights' way. The bounce of the ball didn't go their way, but they were still in it all the way up until the 75th minute against a red-hot Sharks side that seems to be playing really well. I really like what I'm seeing from the Knights. Really like it.
I mean, they lost to the Sharks this week, they lost to the Panthers last week. They had sin bins in both of them. They've hung in both contests. So
Yeah.
full credit to them, mate. I think that I feel sorry up there because it seems like Joey gets all the compliments and Adam O'Brien gets all the negatives.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on, you can't just compliment everything and put it towards Joey, and then the things you don't like go fucking Adam Bryan.
I think Adam O'Brien's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, and I think he deserves more credit for what's going on up there.
Definitely.
What do you got, Shandor? How do you rate the Knights game?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think they're going along at a good pace. I'm just keen to see the injection of Ponga now working with what is, in our opinion, in-form halves across the board. Even losing Fitzgibbon and what's his name from last week with the send-off?
Barnett.
Yeah,
Barnett.
Barnett,
Like,
yeah.
they're big workhorses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm very interested to see this next 3 weeks how they come together. I do feel like they need to get back in the winning circle.
Oh, for sure.
Good solid start, good signs for fans, but let's see now how it can all gel and if they can actually compete with the better teams.
Yeah, and we're getting closer and closer to Brayley walking back into this side too, who was one of the form hookers of the competition last year.
How obvious is it how important the Nines are?
Oh,
Like,
in today's
even
game.
you talk about the Sharks, like Brayley being where he is crucial.
Mm.
With the spine, I think has never been so. It's never like highlighted itself so much, and the 9 is such a big factor for that. So Brayley back for them would be huge as well.
They have Manly next week on Thursday, so huge clash. I mean, I just think
Big
this year's so
opportunity for
good.
them.
Yes, I was about to say this opportunity for the Knights is like
This is the one.
it can kind of erase the last 2 weeks. You can kind of go, okay, yeah, we lost, but let's look at the circumstances. Couple of sin bins, rah-rah. Whereas if they can knock off the Sea Eagles, it just kind of goes, oh, yeah, we are who we say we are. We are who we think they are.
100%
You know what I mean?
agree, yeah, definitely.
Whereas if they go and lose against the Sea Eagles, even if it's a to the death, last minute, all of a sudden that doubt of like, maybe we aren't who we say we are.
3 losses can turn into
got
5
excited
all
too.
of
Yeah.
a sudden when
Yeah.
they're a better team than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when in reality, it's just one extra game. Like, nothing has really changed. They were really close against the Sharkies. They lost to Penrith. Like, Penrith and Sharkies, 2 of the form teams in the competition. Then they lose to Manly, who has found their form again. Like, that's actually not that dire at all. You guys weren't even... You were wooden spoon favourites to a lot of people. And then you're losing to the Premiership winners. Then your Sharks, the hottest team in the comp right now, and Manly, who are also supposed to be a premiership. So it's actually not as dire, but I think that people will start thinking in the team, like, get that feeling of, oh, shit, we are nowhere near where we thought we were. So huge game.
I really hope they knock them off.
Yeah.
I have a question about that game. I want to throw it to 3 of you. Do you reckon there's a clear favourite in that game? Manly versus Knights up in Newcastle?
No way.
No way.
Because Newcastle are paying $2.60 to
I
win.
know. I've
Hardest
seen
game
that.
of the round.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that's a 50-50 call for me.
Proper
100%.
50-50.
And yeah, the fact that the Sea Eagles are $1.50, it's crazy to me. The Knights look... And it's at home.
Really?
It's at Knights home.
I'm having a sneaky. Thank you, Matty.
It's like, hey, I tell you what, it's good value.
That is good value.
Knights at home against a Manly side that's only really put together one good game. Pretty good value there. In saying that, when they do put it together, the Sea Eagles are crazy good.
They're getting better every
They could
week.
be close.
Yeah.
I still think they're winning on effort.
Yeah, I just think that the reason why they looked so good last week is because DCE took a step back,
Yes,
allowed Foran
yes.
to do what he does, and then the game opened up for DCE later on in the match. Whereas whenever DCE starts and he's got his hands on everything, he almost outworks himself. It just becomes too much.
Just pick your moments.
And also, yeah, exactly, and it becomes too predictable. We'll get to that. Whereas I thought DCE had one of the best games he's had in years on the weekend. Like, he was outstanding. I had him in my team of the week, but that last try from Moses, I was like, I can't keep him. You just couldn't keep Moses out of that side.
Geez, 260 Newcastle in Newcastle
I know.
at any time. That's
Good value. Good value. I do agree as well with the sentiment of it is going to be interesting how they adapt to Ponga being back inside now. Do they need to change anything? Does Ponga need to change something? Find that balance, because it seemed like a lot of Ponga's work on the weekend was one-out hit-ups, because it was like he, in his mind, rightly so, was like, I need to get through a bunch of work. Like, we've got all these other fullbacks getting 20 hit-ups. I need to have my hands on the ball, whereas maybe they do need to find that balance of just injecting himself where they need him.
I did think we were kind of going to see that, but given all the chat, like for me, Joey basically went there to make sure Kalen has the impact he does on that team. Now, first game, I completely agree with you, and respectfully, I like what he was trying to do. Roll the sleeves up, get involved for the team, but Kalen's best impact for this team is going to be working with the halves, making sure that he's got players around him, getting him in good positions. So next week, Ponga, Turbo.
Oh, how good.
Like Ponga, we want to see it.
Yep.
Turbo, we're going to see it. Like, fuck, it's going to be a cracker.
And like for the Knights, in the Knights' defence as well, and you alluded to it, look at their spine. It is Randall, Clifford, Clune, all three guys at the start of the year, you wouldn't say are definitely first graders. They've never played together before. Ponga has never played with them. So, if anything, it's actually really impressive that they're clicking even to a degree. They shouldn't be clicking at all.
I agree, yeah.
That could have been a reserve grade spine last year.
Outside of Ponga,
Without any, outside of KP, yeah. But the rest of them, like, it wouldn't be out of place if all three of those guys were running around in reserve grade.
I really like what Clune's doing, man. Like, I like what he's doing.
Same.
I think as well with KP, like, I don't know, maybe I'm overplaying it, but like obviously he's trying to play his way into this team and find his spot. Fuck, Shark Park's a hard place to do it.
Oh, yeah. And then we have to remember, the Sharks are red hot now. It's not the Sharks that are a middle of the table team. This is a Sharks side that can put it to the top tier sides.
No, they'd be pumping there. Like you can see, it's good vibes at Cronulla at the moment.
Now on to Panthers v the Rabbitohs. What a match! What a match! Again, Rabbitohs' huge issue is their completion, and it's like what we said last week. Is like the Rabbitohs, in my opinion, are going to be a week-to-week team where you don't know what you're going to get. Are you going to get 80 to 90% completion and they bash teams, or are you going to get this 50% completion where passes aren't sticking, blokes are dropping balls? We'll talk firstly about the Panthers. Holy shit, their backs are good. Speak to me, Shandor. What do you think?
Mate, it's outrageous. I'll tell you who's, like, of all the players, we know the Tagos, the May. Crichton was, like, his try was like an elite.
He's so good.
It was so good. But Luai is going under the radar just because the halves at the moment are just off their head. But for me, he's so good. The setup, the way he's playing, like, his impact is just unbelievable. And I think building around Kikau, you're starting to see, like, they were running a play where, I don't know if you've seen, they would have done it about 3 times, where Luai's wrapping around Kikau now. It looks like a block shape, then he's coming around, and then you've got Tago and May. So their shape, their ball play off Luai, the impact Kikau's having. I'm on the Dylan Edwards train now. Definitely, like, massive respect. I know he's that under-the-radar fullback in a pool of freak fullbacks, but just loving him. But, mate, how exciting are they to watch? Like, I'm loving watching the Panthers. And to have Cleary back to top it off, they were never going to get beaten, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Cleary coming back after what they've done in the first few rounds. Just on Edwards, we don't really say it because it's a crazy comparison or whatever, but his statistics are similar to when Teddy was killing it. Now, I understand Teddy is one of the greatest fullbacks of all time, but if you were to say Edwards is only 5% less than Teddy, people are like, no way, like Teddy's the Australian fullback. But Edwards puts up these numbers, and he put up these kind of numbers towards the finals run pretty regularly now. It's not a blip on the radar of, he ran for 250 plus metres, he had 6-7 tackle breaks. He does this pretty regularly now. So I believe he's beginning to force his way, when we're just talking about form, into that top echelon of fullbacks.
For sure. You look at the Panthers' run through the finals last year, they lost 1 game. Guess who was missing that 1 game?
Yep.
Edwards. He played the other 3 games broken. Like, you heard Ivan Cleary talk about that. He was waking up in the middle of the night going, he's not going to be able to get through this game. I'm going to be without a fucking fullback in this game.
He had a broken foot.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's so impressive. And I think we said it last week that, this... I look at their back five. I honestly think it might be one of the best back fives ever. And Toto isn't playing at the moment.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like, I cannot believe...
And these 2 kids have played 10 games combined out on the left sting.
And, like, Crichton is on the other wing who, is compared to Israel Folau when he was coming through. Now, I think Izzy was probably a little bit further along, but Crichton is such...
He's got that something about him,
That's
though. And he
something.
might not
Oh,
even be
he's-
playing his position.
Yeah.
100%. He's a superstar. For Edwards, the two big attributes that have developed, he was just a ball running fullback. Now, does he have the game breaking ability? Maybe not yet of the Tedesco, but his passing has gone through the roof.
Yep.
As well as there's just no errors. We don't see that from him anymore.
And that was a huge issue
That's
for him.
what's taken him up.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that holds him back is that he's sort of hampered to some extent by the way that Penrith play. They don't play him on both sides of the ruck. He sticks exclusively to the right, whereas Teddy pops up left and right, as do all these fullbacks. But, I mean, if you're the Panthers, why would you change it?
Yeah,
Plus,
it's
Brad, do
working.
your best. Mate, look at their back line. You're just doing your best to try and chime in how you can.
Yeah. Oh, their back line on the crazy thing is that, so I put a post up, their back line essentially did the same amount of numbers as the same grand final back line, and they only have 2 of the same players from that back line from the grand final. That, to be able to do that, like, think about other teams if they lost 3 of their starting 5 outside backs from the grand final. I mean, we look at the Rabbitohs, they just lost 1. They lost Gagai, and their back line is struggling slightly. The Panthers lost 3,
It's crazy,
and that's
bro.
not including Naden. That's not including Naden.
And even Staines, like, he's a guy. How good is it when he runs the ball?
Oh, mate.
I don't know
Ever
what
since
he
May
weighs,
has come
but-
into the side,
Yeah,
he
it's
got a
put a
rock up
rocket
his
up him.
ass, and
Yeah.
he's been fantastic.
So good.
Fantastic.
So good.
I think also on that left edge, and we've spoken about in the last 2 weeks, kick out, like you spoke about all the shapes and stuff they run. You imagine if 3 years ago someone would have sat you down with a whiteboard and showed you the plays that they run and go, this is the role that kick out's going to play.
Yeah.
You would have just said,
Crazy.
Not a hope in hell is he going to be able to do that. He is 4 games in. He's got 2 tries, 3 try assists, 5 line break assists in 4 games. If that was a halfback, you'd be happy with that.
Yeah. It's such a smart way to play him because you're expecting that big barnstorming run every time. And even if he isn't doing it, he makes you stop because you have to. You have to stop for him.
They're using it so well. But that overs line where Luai sweeps around and creates the
Yep.
numbers and overlap, mate, if we keep seeing that, and then next week, who knows, maybe they start to hit him short. But what he can do on ball and off ball,
Well, that's the
it's
thing. Off ball
one of
is
a
where he's the
kind.
most
Yeah,
dangerous. And you
exactly.
see him so many times. He goes out the back of Tago and he's in that high pressure situation. He's made 3 errors this year.
There's no other second row that can do
Like,
that.
yeah.
Yep.
And that's what, I said on Instagram the other day, he's the biggest guy on the field. He could have made a career out of being the biggest guy on the field and not added anything to his game. He's gone and added this new skill set, which is incredible.
How good is it?
I said the other day on my thing, if you had a scale of like the Fafita second rower to the Wade Graham second rower, tell me Kickout's not closer to Wade Graham now. Like the way that he's able to ball play, and it's
And I think
incredible.
we've spoken about that, but that's where the second rows are going. Hard running, like there's the corners of the world who are just tough and will always get you to where you need to go. But we're seeing the development. I feel like games are going to be won and lost around second rows.
Yeah, I had a lot of people say to me, "Oh yeah, he doesn't run at the big guys." I'm like, you're not,
not
valuing him on the
supposed to.
footballer he is. You're valuing him on what he's not. Like,
Yeah.
look at his team's lost 4 games of football in 2.5 years.
He's not my man guy
what-
either.
Yeah,
But also it's like, okay, so to prove that he's tough, you want to change a system that wins premierships.
you
Just so
wanna
you
change-
can
yeah.
say he's tough. Let me
Right, he's-
let you in
they're
on a
not
little
wingers,
secret.
fucking hell.
Yeah, you're not wingers. Let me let you in on a little secret. If you're an NRL player as a forward, you are tough. That's simple. That's simple. Doesn't matter how soft you think they are. I promise you, Kickout is hard as fuck and would run at anyone that you asked him to. Kickout would be like, sweet. His job is to isolate small players with his big size and footwork. If he didn't have crazy footwork, he would be in the middle as a front rower running straight at people. But why would you waste? It's like, for example, people say, oh, Fafita, he only runs at the little blokes. It's like, I can show you tries where Fafita literally bumps Totola. Like, oh, is he a little bloke now? Like, it's all game plan. These guys would run at whoever you ask. And you know what? Any NRL player would run at any other NRL player if you ask them to. It's all part of the game plan. Like, it's just...
And it's choices. If I see a 9 or a 7, mate, I know who I'm running at.
I can either... Okay, so just to show you I'm tough, I'll fuck my whole game plan up for my team. Like, what are we talking about here? I'm trying to win a match, not show you how tough I am. Anyway, so, yeah, the Panthers just look... I mean, they've just got a system there now. Like, they've proven it with the clean out of their backs. They lost Kurt Capewell. We haven't even spoken about the loss of Kurt Capewell. Think about that. We haven't even spoken about the loss of arguably a
Franchise team, Brady said it.
is crazy.
That's where they're at.
Like, Capewell was so good last year. A lot of people would have picked Capewell over Kickout. That's how good he was as a player. We haven't spoken about him once, and that's no knock on Capewell. That just shows you
That's Storm Roosters shit. Like, doesn't matter who's leaving.
these guys have a full stable of blokes coming through.
Yep.
Something else I thought about, and I I don't want to speak for anyone or anything like this. This is just, I guess, an assumption. Having been in, I guess, rugby league circles, but think about if you're, and you probably could speak better on this, Shandor. If you are a young Polynesian boy, the Storm and the Roosters aren't your team anymore. You look at the Panthers and go, because the Panthers celebrate that quite a lot, like that.
Yes.
They have such a Polynesian, I guess, core of players.
They embrace it.
They embrace it. I just think that as a young Polynesian boy, you see things you relate to. It's fun. It's cool. They seem to have a very similar thing to, what are the young boys like? And I look back on the weekend. I'm like, think about because our bulk of our best athletes are the young Polynesian boys. There's no denying that. They come over here, they kill it. And if they're given the same training as all the young Aussie boys, they usually can kill it. And I was like, that's such a big advantage for the Panthers because they're like the mecca. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it just goes back to the foundation of it. Like for us and our upbringing and the culture we've been surrounded in, if we were to go to a Storm or Roosters and it's a real hard line and there's, no mucking around, no entertainment, no personality, we can kind of conform to that. We get it. We're happy to just work hard and put our head down. But for these guys, they have that personality. We've seen them, they like a laugh. They like to be outgoing. So to curb that is probably not bringing the best out of them in a team environment and situation. Yeah. So to go to a Panthers, to have it celebrated, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's matched with hard work.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
to allow these guys to be themselves and feel comfortable, I think for Polynesian players, that is massive because they go into their shell already. So if you're curbing their personality and who they really are, so in an environment where that comes out, I think you're going to see the best of that style of player in that environment all day. And that's massive.
Sure. Yeah,
and
what do you think, Guru?
It's credit to the Panthers and Ivan Cleary. They're coaching and they're pulling through the squad that they've got, not the one that you ideally want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're actually coaching the team that they've got. And, like for the last, 10 or 15 years, whenever I look at, whenever like a Tonga or a Samoa team are playing in a test match, I look at it and you always look and you go, oh, geez, the halves are a little bit weak. Like a guy like Jerome Luai, he has just flipped the narrative.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it's so good to see. And I imagine for a lot of young Polynesian ball players, it must be huge. And to get the opportunity to be part of that system would be massive.
Well, it's good, like, and again, it's not specifically to Polynesian boys. Like when I went to New Zealand, you have a tendency to gravitate towards Aussie players. Just it's this weird, like, comfortable.
Of course.
They know the same things you know. They've got the same kind of upbringing. Whereas I just think that's a real underappreciated thing the Panthers have done. Have allowed those guys to flourish exactly who they are, like To'o, Crichton, Luai. Like these guys are all very big personalities, and it's very easy for footy teams to go, no, that's not the way you do things. Whereas Panthers have just done it so well, and I truly believe that there's a lot of young Polynesian boys looking to that. Now, kind of like there was a period there where the Storm had so many Kiwis, so a lot of Kiwis looked at the Storm like, I'm going to be comfortable there. There's a group of men there that understand me, and I just think the Panthers deserve a credit for the way they've handled that and allowed everyone to kind of be who they are, because it's a credit to the game. Like, think of we take it for granted, but think of the game 2 years ago or even 3 years ago. It was Storm and Roosters, and like that's how you did shit. We have the Storm and Roosters do it. That's how you do stuff. Whereas Panthers came along and they just added so much energy to rugby league. You had these loud, brash kids that love to have fun, and on the field they were like India, but off the field they were very polite, very respectful.
They embrace who they are.
They embraced who they are, and it was almost like, oh, there is a different way we can do these kind of things. And I think Panthers don't get enough credit for being so good at embracing that.
Yeah.
It was just something when I was, again, I could be wrong. I don't want to speak for anyone.
To your point, bro, to change the narrative as well, first thing people will say is, yeah, that's good, and they're winning. You know what I mean? Now, let's not say, if they weren't winning, it would be an issue, the way they're carrying on their personality. Let's more attribute the winning to the fact that they are allowing that. And maybe that's a big cultural reason why.
Absolutely.
So I think that's important, because I know that's where people's mind would go, it's all good if you're winning.
Yeah.
Well, no, let's look at maybe that's having an actual impact on the result.
And they are winning. Like,
exactly.
They are winning.
And just to add on to the culture stuff, like they're doing the tough shit better than anyone. I would argue they're doing the tough
Yeah.
shit better than
Yeah.
anyone has in a long time.
As a team, they just that's a fucking that is a team.
That's a
at
unit.
Penrith, like,
They're
bro.
playing for something much more than a jersey.
Unbreakable.
There's a bond there that they've been able to, and there's a bond of people from all different walks of life that they've been able
You've
to.
got kids that have been core group of playing
Yep.
together since they were fucking
Yep.
12. Like,
And I mean,
mate.
like, I think Charlie Staines is a cracking example. He came into the game, scored 4 tries, and, you know, he would sometimes finish the game with 4 tries and 7 runs.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see that
Mate.
obviously someone's chipped him off or he's looked around the room and gone, fuck, I've got to buy in with these
Yeah.
boys. And the amount of runs, like, he's taken more runs in the last 3 weeks than I've seen him take
Yeah.
in his whole career.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, I just think they deserve a lot of credit. And I guess it's proof that there are many ways, different ways to play footy, to bring people together. And I think the Panthers do it extremely
You say
well.
it all the time, Kempy, as well. Because I was under Ivan when I was there before, and like he's bit of a different cat.
Yeah, very
so like the energy and the culture there was like. So I would love to know what the big change was,
Yeah.
what the big catalyst was. I honestly think, to your point, I think he sat back. And that core group elevated. They know they've played together. I know they were young,
Yeah.
but I think it was just a decision to be like, you know what? I'm going to let these guys go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and overmanage or take control.
Yeah.
And just let their personalities
Yeah.
come through. And just, I honestly think that's what must have happened.
And you look at Ivan Cleary's coaching career as well. When was the last time the Warriors made a grand final? 2011 under Ivan. He gave James Maloney and a young Sean Johnson in his first year the keys and just let them play their rugby league.
Yep, yeah.
That's what he's done at Penrith, and it's
to have.
paid huge dividends.
Oh, yeah, I just think they absolutely. The Panthers deserve a huge rap of bringing an energy into the game that we hadn't really seen much before, and I love it. So yeah, fair play to them. Fair play to them.
And like, there's an argument that before, 3 years ago, their team was built around James Maloney. They were going down that Manly, Storm
very
sort of
true.
avenue.
Yep.
He leaves, and I sort of went, shit, poor old Nathan Cleary's not going to have the best winner in rugby league next to him anymore. And they just back their boys in, and they fly.
and you can't tell me you watch them play and don't see a difference.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it doesn't mean one's better than the other. Not at all. It just means that they just have a different vibe, a different style, and they seem to celebrate it. They seem to allow their
Yeah,
players
that's-
to really celebrate who they are and happy to play footy.
They own the losses.
Yeah.
They celebrate the wins.
For sure. So, no, really good there. Outside of that, yeah, fantastic play by the Panthers. They are in a league of their own right now. I think that it's Panthers, there's a gap, then there's everyone else right now. I don't
I
think
agree.
there's any other. I don't think there's any other part of the table where there's just one team. Even at the bottom of the table, I think there's a clump. Whereas at the moment, the Penrith Panthers are absolutely on another level. But it's a very long season. How do they stay at this level is the hard question that has been obviously answered for year on year.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like, you
Yeah.
want to ask that question, but then you're like, fuck, I've seen them do it.
Yeah. And they've been doing it for 2 years
I
now.
don't see it not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We again, in their defence, they've gone grand final loss, grand final win. So basically, for nearly 30 months now, they have been working at this level. So they're probably going to continue doing that.
And then they've started this level this season without their halfback,
Yep.
without their front row, without Liam Martin. They've now lost their best winger.
It's crazy.
The
Incredible.
more you talk about it, the more impressive it gets.
Now, onto the Rabbitohs. I actually thought, I know they lost, I thought this was Elias's best game.
Yep.
I was so impressed with Elias. He is
The
coming
stock is rising.
leaps and bounds. This guy's a teenager. He's a teenager, and he is putting in performances the way he put. Like, I loved his calmness. I loved his ability to read things. He was all the way to the end of the game. He was battling. There wasn't a single really part of his game where I was disappointed with on the weekend. I thought he was really, really good. And we have to remember, this is a teenager going against.
Carve's 21.
He's 21. I keep saying teenager. I don't know why. It's because he's so he hasn't played much
But
footy.
he's played the football of a teenager.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because he didn't play rugby league last year,
Yeah,
and
that's
people
right.
undervalue that.
So he's 21, going up against Nathan Cleary, who is on the path to at least be one of the greatest halves of all time. Like, he has the same stats. You name it. Any great half that you want to put in front of him, whether it's Thurston, Joey, whoever you want, Fitler, Cleary's resume stacks up. Now, he may not eventually get there, but it stacks up right now. So for Ilias to come out and play the way he did against a guy like him, I think that speaks massive volumes.
We've been talking about it for a few weeks, and we said
Yeah.
last week that was the game he needed. Fuck, I thought he was considering he's coming into a side, like, he's came into that game against the defending premiers who are undefeated. His team's got a losing record, a little bit of pressure on him. I thought his game was great. Fuck, I wish he would have given that try.
Yeah, that was
that just would have been. No one deserves it
been
more than
nice.
him in that game. But yeah, I mean, mate, if you had to rank the best halves on the field, I think Ilias was a top 2 half on the field.
I'll tell you what I saw this week. Competitive. He's very competitive. He's got a big engine, works hard, he's everywhere. The typical halfback attributes, I think we've seen that. But we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, which was maybe not his best game, but we said there's a trajectory here where if he's just given confidence and given an opportunity and a chance, I feel like you're starting to see him become a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, and I looked at his game the other night and thought, wow, it felt like he had a lot of touches. Went and checked the stats. He's averaging about 10 more touches than Cody Walker every game so far this year.
It's confidence.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
Thought on the instruction call that seems to be like fully black and white. There is no room for context. Do you like this? Do you think these black and white calls are worth howlers like we saw on the weekend? At least 2 of them where the obstruction clearly didn't affect the play. What are your thoughts?
Can't be black and white, bro. It just can't be. There has to be context allowed. Why do we have context around? Even what's another controversial topic? The put down for a try is now trying to be black and white, but it's so hard because inside and outside shoulder. I'm not saying players can or are manipulating that, but they probably are. But I think we're seeing some missed opportunities off the back of what seems to me to be quite obviously something that didn't really affect the play.
Like there's no way he's getting across to do that. Like,
which sucks.
What are your thoughts, Guru?
Grey areas, we can't handle them.
We just can't handle them as a game?
I think there's always going to be howlers and there's always going to be ones that, I mean, if they did put a bit more leniency in it, I think we'd be sitting here in a few weeks going, how on earth did they come up with that?
Yeah.
Like,
The ones that are so obvious, though, where it's like, bro, that had nothing to do with the play. Like, let's be real here. I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one. I understand the black and white mindset because we have a tendency... But I just think that it's gone so far. How often do we see players now immediately pull up, even though they haven't obstructed anyone? Like, for example, Wonga Blake literally stopped running last night because he was scared of an obstruction, even though Reed Marnie was like, ran way through the line, like intentionally sprinted through the line. Wonga Blake shut himself and stopped on a try-scoring opportunity because broken field play. That's how far it's gotten, where players are scared.
Sucks.
As soon as they go behind a player, immediately it's like, oh shit, obstruction.
And that's the thing, like like if there is an obstruction and you go through and you're 50-50 on whether it was or not, you're almost better getting tackled and get a quick play the ball because then we never talk about it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I think, like, have we gone too rigid with the rules? Like, because I do think that last year there were some times where they said it had no impact on the play on. There were absolutely times where they did that. And then there were some times where it was like, nah, it's black and white. So I thought that was pretty rough on the Rabbitohs, but I do believe Panthers were the better side. Anyone else that stood out from you from the Rabbitohs?
I was a little bit disappointed, especially, I'll kind of get quite judgmental on the back line and the edge defence and stuff like that. I gave Tane Milne a big rap last week. It was, I was hoping for a little bit better from him. I thought a couple of decisions had a huge impact on some of those Panthers tries. In saying that, some of those Panthers tries, the hands, only they could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe the top 4 teams, but only they could do that. So, but otherwise, mate, Cook with how many tackles?
61 from Cookie.
61, only 1 miss.
Massive.
Wow, impressive.
Massive. Another thing about Lockie Ilias too, from a personal little source, and speaking as a former captain and to head of recruitment yourself, Kempy, there has been a request to be considered for Bloat FC. So
look,
sorry to put him on the spot there, but
we'll take it on board. We'll take it on board.
Just wanted to.
I mean, I can see it. I can see it for sure. There's a lot of potential there. A lot of potential. Campbell Graham once again. Big game. I know we had a couple errors, but 167 metres, 68 post contact, 5 tackle breaks. I thought he was really good for them. But I do believe that this completion stuff has to be fixed. It's going to kill him. Yep. It's going to kill him. 56% completion in the first half. Like, how Lockie Ilias even played close to decent is beyond me. Imagine that bloke with 80% completion, what he could do, and what Cody Walker would do. That game's if they completed 80%, it's a barnstormer of game. And it was still only 26-12. Now, I know Cleary missed a lot of kicks, didn't he?
Yeah. He had a shocker. Yeah. But, mate, this Rabbitohs team, and Matty, if you can get up their draw over the next 10 weeks, it's close to perfect.
Turn it on,
them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they might be one of the best 1 and 3 teams I think we've ever seen.
Just the next 3 weeks are Dragons, Bulldogs, Tigers.
Where are we at with offloads?
So have you... So I actually think they've gotten through the start of the year better than I thought they would.
This is a win.
Agree.
Yeah. I mean, mate, if we go to extra time and they beat Melbourne, all of a sudden they've got a 2-2 record. If they score one more try against Brisbane,
Yeah.
it's 3-1. Like
I just can't believe they're still in games when their completion is so bad. Like any other
There's a
team
lot of
gets
good signs.
blown
Yes.
off the park. Like their completion the other night. So Panthers completed 85%. The Rabbitohs completed at 65%.
26 of 40, bro. Like,
Far out.
at Penrith
At
to
Penrith
hang in the game
against the Nathan Cleary-led Panthers.
with Fisher Harris back, with Liam Martin back. They had every reason to get done by 40 the other night, I thought.
And if they completed 85%, this is a flip the coin who wins.
and that's a
Flip the coin.
big stat to fix up. Like, that's very purpose driven. You know that you're playing quite well, but to have an impact on wins and losses, you just need to tidy up your completion rate. We know that you just need to go back to basics, get to your kicking, get to your field position. So there's a lot of good
line breaks
signs.
and the tackle breaks. Line breaks 6 to South Sydney, 4 to Penrith. Tackle breaks
Fucking
40
tackle breaks.
to 18. South Sydney's way.
South only had 3 more missed tackles than errors.
Yeah.
They're damaging. They just need to.
The Rabbitohs are right there, man. It may not seem like it when you look at their record. You go 1-3, you go, oh shit. But when you look at the Roosters versus Rabbitohs, guess what they completed at? 81%. And then you go back to round 2. We all know what happened in round 2 was terrible completion rate.
Yeah.
Their completion rate was 61%. 61% round 1. Where is it?
And I'd love to know what the completion rate for South in round 2 was at the 60th minute.
Yeah. So round 1, 66%. So it's like it's right there. You know what your answer is. You know what your answer is. All you got to do is complete, and you can literally beat the Premier. Or you can put yourself in a position to beat the Panthers, which is the number 1 side in the comp right now.
I mean, if that try for Ilias was given to him, it's a completely different game of football, I thought.
Absolutely. So yeah, look, like
They're in a good position, though.
I think they're in a good
Coming
position.
out of that 4 rounds.
I know it's 1-3, but when if you were to not watch the games, you would go, wow, that's a bad start. But if you watch the games and you realise their Achilles heel is their completion, I think it's a great start. 26-12 against the reigning premiers, and you've lost Adam Reynolds and Wayne Bennett. Other Wayne Bennett sides are getting towed up by 40 right now, and the whole club it's burning. It's literally burning. So
And they're still working out who's playing some pretty key positions as well.
yeah,
Like,
and they probably need to recruit. I reckon they need to go on the market for an outside back for sure.
Guru, just on your deep dive before, South were 1-3 in 2014.
yeah, they were. They won it, eh?
Yeah, so
There you go. Boom. So yeah, look, Rabbitohs, I think plenty of good signs. If you're completing that low and still taking it to,
Yep.
think about the teams they've played. Broncos, obviously lower tier, but other than that, they've gone Storm.
But that
Roosters,
Broncos,
Panthers.
there's more to that. It's Suncorp. It's round 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's the worst time to play Brisbane
Yeah.
as much as they are a lower side.
Yep. But to go Storm, Roosters, Panthers, and come out, obviously they lost those games. Oh, well, they didn't lose against Roosters. But to come out looking as good as they have, I think they're looking great. They're looking great. Way better than I thought they would. I thought this was going to be a dire first 6 weeks to 8 weeks. And then after that, things would kind of click because Ilias would find his way, but he's found his way earlier. So
Yeah, they're in a good position.
good signs for Rabbitohs. Warriors versus the Broncos. Thoughts on this one, Shandor?
Yeah, another tough one. It wasn't my favourite game to watch. I was waiting for the ambush, but it didn't come. But yeah, Warriors are hanging on to their credit. They're racking up a couple of wins, but for me, it's just watching the Broncos and the disappointment across a couple of the players in their side, key players as well. It's just really hard to watch for them, and just searching for answers as to what's going to be the catalyst for a little bit of change. And then we're talking about off-field incidents and whatnot, but. Give it to the Warriors. I thought they had a good crack. The effort's there, clearly, but what's the way forward is for them, I don't know. It was nice to see Sean Johnson back in a Warriors
How good was
jersey
he?
running around as well. Yeah, it was good.
I thought SJ was outstanding for his first game
Yeah,
back.
I agree.
thought
Very
he was
involved.
great. Yeah. Brisbane, they scored 1 try. It was Adam Reynolds just being Adam Reynolds off the top of his head.
Yeah.
Oh, I got so excited. It reminded me so much of what Alan Langer used to do back in the day, that little kick and regather. But, such a brief highlight and such a disappointing game for them. What do you do at 6 next week? Do you consider playing Stags there just to hit the ball in his hands?
No, I think at 6 you Tyson Gamble there, but I think you genuinely start considering Ezra Mam. Like, I know.
You don't plug Walters there?
Oh, sorry, Walters. Yeah,
You've got an issue
Walters.
at centres though. Like,
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Don't worry. We'll get into that. Okay, so look,
Go
I
on,
don't want to be too harsh. You guys know I fucking love the club, but I just want to read you the errors from their outside backs.
It's bad, man.
Tessie 0, Corey Oates 3, Katoni Staggs 2, Herbie Farnworth 2, Selwyn Cobbo 6. The rest of their team made one error. The rest of their starting team made one error. Let me repeat that for you. The rest of their starting team made one error. As an outside back, Shanda, what's like the one thing you have to do?
The one thing you don't want to do is make a fucking error.
Make errors. And it's just so disappointing. Like when you put that jersey on, you cannot be making multiple errors, week after week. I'm concerned for like Katoni Staggs, what's going on in his personal life. He doesn't look
He's not himself.
He's not himself out there.
Yeah, I don't want to talk out of turn, but something's not right.
Yeah, something's not right. And something's going on. He does not seem happy. He does not seem like the happy, aggressive, loves his footy, wants to be out there. And we have got no evidence that there is, other than just seeing his body language. And so when I say concerned, I mean I'm genuinely like, I hope he's happy. I hope.
But losing and having a crack compared to like, there's just a genuine disheartened.
Yeah,
you know
I don't
what
know
mean?
where
like,
it
and
is.
where's that coming from? It can't just be coming from football and losing a couple of games.
No way.
You know.
So whatever, if there is something going on, I hope it gets fixed. Because right now, like when you look, I hate to say it. I mean, I already had alluded to this earlier in the year, but I probably think Selwyn needs a couple more weeks in reserve grade.
At this stage, it's detrimental for his development.
Yeah.
For what I'm saying, I think confidence is going to take way too much of a hit.
Because like last week he made 5 errors. He's made 6 errors this week. That's 11 errors in 2 weeks. As a young fella, he's the next superstar in my opinion. And it's the reason why we spoke about this ad nauseum before the season started. Selwyn Cobbo is the next superstar, but don't rush these young boys. They don't need to be rushed. A lot of people are calling for him to be at fullback. This is why you don't put them at fullback, because you don't want to get them in there. They make a bunch of errors and then they're scarred for. I think the best thing for Selwyn would be getting back in reserve grade, playing fullback, get him really confident, killing it like he was last year. You bring in a guy like Jordan Pereira, who's got plenty of NRL experience.
They need that too, someone running hard.
Strong runner out of his own end. You've also got Mead in the reserve grade. I just think the best thing for Selwyn would just be give him some time, some patience, because the last thing you want is Selwyn to come out next week and struggle again. Now, we've seen this time and time again. Dane Gagai makes his NRL debut for the Broncos, made a few errors, he got dropped. What did that do for his game? Look where he ended up. One of the best Origin wingers that you've ever seen, really. Like if you take his Origin and compare him to any other Origin winger, it's right up there. So, sometimes you've got to take a step back to take a few steps forward. With Staggs, I just hope whatever's going on field can be sorted. I actually thought Corey Oates was really good. I know he made a few errors.
I did too.
But I thought he was pretty good on the weekend.
One of those errors could have been a 90-metre try.
Exactly. So you take that away. On top of that, they were bombing to him all day long.
And his defence was sound.
Took a lot of tough carries. So I actually, I was pretty happy with Corey Oates. But as a backline as a whole, you've really got to get together and be like, boys, we cannot afford to be letting down our forwards like this. Imagine this same game happens, but they all just make one error each. Imagine how different that game is.
Different game. I'll tell you the play with Selwyn. It's and you would know, bruh. It's Kevy saying nothing. It's just going, look, I want you to go back and work on this.
Yeah.
With not a guarantee, but you get this done, you're coming back into first grade,
100%.
and I want to see it for our team. Now, if Pereira kills it, then you're not disheartened if you sell one, and you don't feel bad if you're Kevy. But it's just a simple chat. I want you to go back and work on this, and you stay true to your word. He goes back, he kills it, sharpens the defense, no errors. You bring him back in. That's how you would treat and develop that player in that situation, in my opinion.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And make it very clear to Selwyn, mate, you are with us long term.
Yes.
Like, we love you as a player. We want to build. We have plans for you to be fullback next
This is
year.
your platform to go and work on shit. Cup.
This is because we rate you.
Yeah.
If we want to just use you up and spit you out, we'd keep you in first grade, and you do some great things. You have some really tough carries. You've got a bit of X factor about you. But we want you to be here for the next 10 years. And the best way to do that, we put you back in reserve grade as a young fella. Go and work on exactly this and be really clear about it. Don't be vague. Don't be like, Go
Not
back
that
and play
bullshit
good footy.
coaching.
Oh.
Just fucking direct. Work on this, and when he does it,
Yep.
fucking glorify it.
Yeah, be like, so I want 15 hit ups a game, 0 errors, and you know that's our aim. If you get 1 error, we can live with it. Anything over 1 error is too much.
Yep.
And be really specific, like 15, and then if you do that for a young bloke, he can go back. If he does it, he can come back to you and say, "I'm doing it." You know, when's the
And
next
then it's
crack?
why. Is it
Yeah.
high balls? Are you putting yourself in the wrong position?
Yep.
What's off with defense? Work ons. Like actually develop him
Yep.
rather than leaving him out there in a back line that's already getting pizzled and the pressure is just going to keep mounting. That's
Yep.
not the place for him.
Especially with, we know how good he can be. There's
Yep.
no denying this kid is so special, humble, respectful. He is the guy you can build a club around. Like he's
I know
the guy.
myself, if that approach was done to me, it's not even like the hurt or the emotion of it. I fully understand and can wear that.
Yeah.
Especially if you build the respect and honesty from the coach.
Yeah.
Go away. This is why we're doing it. Go away and work on this. I
Yep.
execute. Bang, you're rewarded.
Yep.
That's the cycle a player should be going in at a young age and someone who's in and out of form.
Absolutely. And on top of that, like you'd be surprised how many coaches just drop players and don't even speak to
I
them.
know,
Like they
that's
just
what
get
I'm alluding
named.
to, which is fucked.
They, like you walk in on Tuesday, or they'll pull you aside and go, mate, we're not going to go with you this week. You know, you just need to go back and work on your game. And you're like, I don't know
makes
what
you
that
think
means.
you can do that
I know,
to
it's
someone
bizarre.
and think you're going to get a result or buy-in?
Whereas
Come
the
on,
best
man.
coaches like Bellamy, Robinson will be like, reassure the young lad that you aren't on the way out. You're here for the rest. We want you here long term. This is what you need to do. What you got, Guru?
I was just about to say, and Matty, can you just get up there, draw? I think it's a huge 3 weeks for Brisbane. I think off the top of my head, they've got Penrith and the Roosters in the next 2 weeks.
They've got Roosters next week.
Roosters next week. I think they've got Penrith the week after, Matty.
Roosters, Penrith, Bulldogs, Sharks, South, Manly.
Doggies again.
Nice.
So they've got 5 in the next 5 games. Next 6 games, they've got 5, in my opinion, top 6 teams. If they make that many errors, they'll be begging for a 20-6
Yeah,
score.
that'll be a
line.
win for them, 20-6.
Man, what do
Yeah.
you do? But like,
So-
what are you doing there to just go like?
Fuck, I don't know. And I guess we're going to speak about the big elephant in the room. Flegler gets put on report 4 times. Now, I personally believe the first 3 weren't fucking even penalties.
Has that been done before?
Oh, mate.
Maybe MG.
He's the most unlucky bloke. Like, what do you... I don't think the
Plays
first 3
hard
were
to-
penalties.
Nah, I thought that was bullshit.
Like, come on. On report, like, for example, the Egan one, he hit him in the... No, sorry, the Curran one, hit him in the hips, and his legs flew out. They didn't even get dropped on. And then the Egan one, that was from twisting. That wasn't from a hip drop. And then the late shot, like, give me a break. Like, the last one, though, absolutely report. And
Yeah.
What's bizarre, though, is the one that you should have sent him for 10, you didn't send him for 10. And then Tavanga does one... And anyway... yeah,
I don't think you're being biased at all either.
but
I just think it is. I haven't spoken to anyone that didn't have the same opinion.
Yeah.
It was just bizarre.
and the Broncos absolutely deserve to lose. This is not saying that they,
Yeah.
you know, but it was bizarre. Like it was really bizarre. These calls, like they've got replay as well, and you know I just don't understand. Anyway, I don't want to bag the refs. I just was very, I couldn't understand those calls. Let's just put it
I
that
think
way.
he's one of those guys now.
He's got a target for sure. in his back.
Oh yeah.
It is what it is.
There's
Like,
no way
spoken
if
about
that
that.
was like Adam Reynolds, there's no way he's getting
no
put on
way.
report 4 times. Outside of that, look, you know, obviously Payne Haas had the instant off-field leak after the game, but
Just on that, sorry, I thought it'd be important to add. It's just come out that was after round 2, that incident.
so it is
go.
relatively recent.
yeah, after the Bulldogs game in
Okay.
Sydney. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thought I'd point that out.
Hope he can learn from it. I really do. But yeah, Payne Haas, like on field though, he's a beast, man. Listen to this: 176 meters, 91 post contact, 6 tackle breaks, 45 tackles, only 1 miss, no errors. And so, like, if I'm a back and I see that, that stings me to my core. That this guy is in there working his ass off and not making any errors, and you know I'm making a bunch of errors. I just
Insane.
yeah. Herbie, good again.
Yeah.
You know, again, those 2 errors, you obviously want to get them out of your game. It's not anyone specifically in that back line. It's more as a unit.
Collective,
It's
yeah.
at a
Yeah.
unit. And we had the same issue with the Knights last year where as a unit they were just making too many errors. You know, Payne Haas I thought was fantastic. I thought Keenan was a bit lackluster, but that was more because it seemed like the eye that he got, he's like, I was like closed. He could barely see. And so he's probably a bit underdone to play. I think the only reason they probably played him on the edge, obviously, because Ricky was injured.
Yeah.
So I'd rather Keenan in the middle for sure.
Yep.
Keenan's got to be in the middle. Devastating news. Paddy Carrigan from a cannonball tackle, does his MCL, looking like 4 to 6 weeks. I just feel so sorry for him. I hope he can get back for Origin because he deserves to play Origin.
Yeah, he does.
He deserves to play Origin.
He does.
I don't know what to say about the Broncos. It's more of the same, really. It's more
Unfortunately,
of the same.
it's getting a bit like that, and the next 3 weeks could be really dangerous.
Really dangerous.
If they get done by 40 in 2 of those games or a few of those games, all of a sudden they could fall into old habits.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they've already fallen into old habits.
Yeah. But if it starts to really reflect on the scoreboard, they could find themselves in some trouble very quickly.
Absolutely.
I think they're going to have to try Walters and Lee. I honestly do.
They got Brenko Lee there as well.
Yeah, I think like Brenko Lee, he's I seen the player he was and then what he was when he come out of Melbourne. He's takes a great hit up. He's a big improver in defence. Like I don't see them not putting him in really soon. And I think I would love to give Walters the keys and let him just have a proper crack.
Yeah, well, I mean, he probably will this week for sure. And Kevy did say the reason why Albert Kelly got the jump was out of loyalty to him from the year before.
Fair.
So Walters, he gets that crack this week with Reynolds.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Brenko Lee, I'd probably bring him in. Just depends where
do you play
Staggs' head
Brenko
at.
though? That's
in the centres, but it just depends where Staggs' head's at because Herbie's not losing his spot.
No way.
I think Corey Oates has actually been playing really well. I think Selwyn Cobbo needs to be. I'd put Jordan Pereira there before Lee. I just don't see Lee as a winger.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Pereira would be a great injection. Just give me someone who just wants to run there, as you would say, like a dick off, out of the back end. Like he can take a hit up.
As I would say, I'm not the only bloke that says that. Jesus, first bloke ever to say run his dick off. Jesus,
first for me in this.
That's a pretty tough label there, Shandor. Just because I don't go to the gym as much as you. Far out. Look. I'm having a chat to Katoni and asking where his head's at if I'm the coach, because this is a few weeks now where the really simple things of we need you to get in and take runs. He even came out himself and said I need to take runs, and he hasn't done it. And I think that's clearly mentally something's not right with Katoni, whether it's just footy and he's not happy with the way things are being run. But if I'm Kevy, I'm sitting down with Katoni and say, mate, you're not going to get punished. You're not going to get in trouble. Tell me exactly what you're thinking, and let's work. Because
the other thing, just off the eye test for me, and I could be wrong, maybe he's just a tough bastard, but it doesn't look like to me he's injured. When he does get his opportunities, he goes 100 miles an hour and he looks good, but he just...
Yeah, it's the disheartened.
Yeah.
He even
when he jumped into
unfit.
5'8", he got the ball down the left side and he took his first hit up and he knocked it on, and just... His face when he stood up, he just looked so defeated.
Yeah.
And I was sort of waiting for the 12 other blokes to come in and really get around him, but it was sort of all just... Oh, and he sort of stood there on his own, and then we moved on. It's hard to watch.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I love him. He's a feared player, but it's either... I think we've got one more week before we maybe the switch of the interchange and centre bring on him.
I totally agree. And he also looks probably a bit underdone physically. We have to remember he's coming back from ACL.
Yeah, right.
And he looks a bit heavy, too much, not bad muscle mass. I think he's probably got a bit too much muscle mass on. And some of these guys, Shandor as well.
They could have a bigger impact than we're all thinking
For sure.
well. We're sort of disregarding.
And blokes like that, as you know, can actually put too much muscle mass on because they're so big and thick that they naturally just gain weight, physically. And it's not bad weight. We're not. You can tell he's fit. It's the muscle mass that may be a little bit too much because he looked like he was blowing sometimes.
Yeah,
fully blowing.
Like it was being mentioned by the commentators repeatedly. He's on his haunches.
Yeah.
How much? Do we have any insight as to how much weight he's potentially put on?
I don't know. He looks bigger though. He looks big.
Because if you're talking the impact on your conditioning that 3 to 4 kilos of muscle has,
used to smash me.
Massive.
Used to smash me, bro. You put me up to 88, 89 kilos, I'd be a different player. You're going to keep me down to 85 max.
So if with good intentions he's decided to get more, powerful and strong, and he's adjusting to that, going holy fuck, and then under fatigue he's making errors. Now he's, and then coupled with maybe something else going on, that is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, an adjustment that maybe needs to be looked at.
Walters definitely needs to sit him down and just be like, mate, I'm here for you. You tell me exactly how you're feeling, and we can work from there. Because at the end of the day, he signed there for, 4 more years? you have to make it work.
Yeah, you want him in your team.
You don't need to lay the law down with him. You don't need to set an example with him.
No.
You've just got to make it work. So fingers crossed, everything's all good for him. But yeah, very, very disappointing for the boys. The good thing is the first 2 rounds, they showed signs of being the Broncos that we have, used to know. So hopefully they can get back to that. Warriors, great win. I thought it was a great win by the Warriors. There were many moments in that game where Warriors usually would just explode, like literally just implode.
Yep.
I thought it was a great game by the Warriors. I thought SJ is such a good calm.
Yeah.
He's so good for them.
So good.
That first ball where he hits Arthurs on the short line, like that's almost, Corey Oates would have had to make a big play to stop that. You know what I mean? Whereas like...
Tough to defend that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like if he did defend it, it wouldn't have been talked about, but that's a big play. It's almost like scoring a try around the post or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Sean Johnson just brings so much direction and confidence to that side. And what's really good for the Warriors is they weren't even close to their best.
No way.
They're so far from their best.
So far.
Yeah.
Another good sign is like a guy like Arthurs, who can't get a start at the Broncos, goes to the Warriors.
He's back there, isn't he?
Well, they want to sign him now, Warriors.
Oh, he
He's
hasn't
impressed
yet.
so much.
Yeah,
He's
right.
on loan. Goes
he's
to the
on loan.
Warriors
Fuck.
and
Yeah, right.
is playing career best footy. And that's a really good sign that the club's usually that a club's in a good spot. If it brings a player to it and the player, goes really well, it's a sign that, the coaching is correct, people are happy, usually. But yeah, I really like what I saw of the Warriors. What do you guys think?
Mate, I think we all had him in our team of the week, AFB.
Yeah.
I thought it was his best game
he was
of the
a monster.
season. He was
He was
unreal.
relentless.
Yeah. And
Relentless.
I think from looking at his stats, I don't think he had a heap of offloads and stuff. He was just it was a real
running.
consistent game for a front row where he just won the middle, which is when you got guys like SJ and Reece Walsh, it's all you have to do.
Yeah. And it's that relentless thing of like, a lot of forwards will come out 20 minutes and they're just crazy, and it's like all we need to do is hold them for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But every time you put your guard down, Adam Fanua-Blake would somehow have the ball in his hands making 20 metres and just blow sets apart.
It's like a me versus you attitude too that he's got. You know what I mean? You know that he's directly taken on forwards going,
He's taken on Haas.
Let's go.
He's taken on Haas. And I think he went bang for bang with Haas.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, the other one, I thought Reece Walsh was great.
silky.
One
He's
line
so
break,
silky.
one try assist, one
got
line
that
break
deep brown
assist,
silk.
So
9
hot.
tackle breaks, 180 metres. I think you can start, and I only think that the longer him and SJ play together, the better
Yeah.
it will be for him. So very excited about him. Obviously, a big game for him playing against the Brisbane Broncos. I think you saw him before the kickoff. They scanned to him and he sort of had a bit of a grin on his face and was sort of laughing at some of the, like, you can tell though that he had his game face on. He was ready to go. So I love watching Reece Walsh.
Well,
He's one of my favourites.
Another, I guess, concerning thing for the Broncos as a club, as an organisation. Matthew Lodge played outstanding. Reece Walsh played outstanding. Jesse Arthurs played outstanding. And that's a real reflection of, like, these are the same players in a new organisation that are being standout players in a new team.
in an organisation that's got every reason to be underachieving too.
Let's look at the stats from Lodge. 47 minutes, 175 metres, 5 tackle breaks, 20 tackles. Like, that's a fair knock.
Yep.
A fair knock. And that's
definitely one of his better games.
And then you compare that to, our one of our other forwards. You've got 107 metres in 58 minutes, 178 metres, 40 tackles. Like,
Just on AFB, he had more post-contact meters than all but 2 of the Broncos meters altogether.
wow.
Wow, that's
He had 98 post-contact. AFB.
196 metres.
When both your props go take 18 hit ups and basically are nearly at an average of 10 a run,
It's tough.
You're
It's
going-
tough to stop. And
Yeah.
that roll on.
both aggressive too.
Yeah. And that roll on is just, it just ruins your set. Like, when I was watching the Broncos, I was like, where's the line speed? Like, we just had no aggressive line speed. There was no, Payne Haas is such a big body. It is hard for him to get off the line quickly. So we need other players to lead that. And Carrigan is usually the player, but obviously got injured. But yeah, back to the Warriors. When your 2 front rowers are running for 196 metres and 175 metres, that's a platform if I
Bro,
ever
you
saw
give
one.
that platform to Katoa, Curran and Tavanga,
Yeah.
that's a winning Warriors team.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's the standard now though.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Lodge and Fanua-Blake have had games like this before. Lodge just has, the brain
errors.
explosion, the errors and that. But if he plays cleanly and no errors in that, he actually is. He's a great forward. He was
he is.
big coming through. He was like touted as the next big thing as a front rower.
still got to put Tohu Harris back in this side.
Yep.
Oh, that's
He's,
gonna be great.
like, he's their most consistent forward as well.
He's the
So
man.
And you got Bunty Afoa coming off the bench, 97 metres.
Montoya had a cracker.
Yeah,
he
interesting.
was solid.
Yeah,
Montoya.
he's been. Where's this come from? Montoya's come out of nowhere this year. He's aggressive.
Yes, isn't he?
He's far
I remember
out.
at the start of last pre-season, Peter O'Sullivan came on my podcast, said, who's been the most impressive? And he said Montoya.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know if he's going to get a spot in the team, but he's been the most impressive. So credit to him because, I mean, he left Canterbury with a lot of question marks on him, Montoya. But, mate, once again, credit to the Warriors. These guys arrive there from other clubs and they get the very best out of them.
Yep,
looks good on the
absolutely. Interesting. Josh Curran being moved to wide running forward.
Yeah, they did this a bit last year. I don't like it personally, but I don't know. It's hard. I'd personally have him at 13 over Tohu. I'd just sort of use him as a middle once he gets back. I thought this would happen when Harris came back. I was surprised to see it before Tohu even returns.
Well, do you think
Strange.
Tavanga is a better ball player and that's why they went that way?
No, not even slightly.
Really? Tavanga plays hooker sometimes.
I think the Warriors don't look as good when he does play. I love Jazz. He's one of the hardest workers in rugby league, but mate, the upside that Josh Curran's got, I can't believe they moved him.
It's an interesting ploy. They must have seen something because it's like Curran, your best player, and you move.
It's very out of the blue to move him. Like very strange. I'd be keeping Curran at 13 personally.
It's a tough one.
I mean,
like the
they
ball running.
won.
I did like the ball running of Curran on the edge, but
They did win though, 20-6. I know it's against the Broncos have struggled, but it's a win's a win.
No games are easy in this competition.
he was testing too. Like he had a couple of opportunities there.
Maybe they like Tavanga in 13 because he's defensive. So
I think that's what it is. He's
Yeah, I
defensive.
agree.
He's one of the best defenders in this competition.
Yeah, he's a gun.
But yeah, I just think the upside in attack that Curran can bring, that's where I would have him. But
interesting. Adam Pompey, he flies under the radar, bro. Like,
Yeah, he does. He's
He's
solid
gun.
player. I remember playing him in a few years ago, and it was his first ever NRL trial, and I was like, "Fuck, this guy's pretty good." Like,
big boy.
He's big body, you know,
Yeah.
but he's skillful too.
Yeah.
I like him. I think he's developing really well.
I
you
think
tell he's still trying to work out how to get himself into games, though.
Yes,
Which is hard. Like, it's not
Well, I
easy
mean,
to do.
this
Just fall
game-
back on your fucking hit ups. Just
Look, 12 hit ups, 127 meters
Yeah.
as a centre.
Gun.
post contact 70.
I see
Doing something right.
I see tons of potential in Pompey. Like I think that like if I'm his manager and let's say he does a few more years like this at the Warriors, you almost try to take him to one of the better. Like imagine him at the Storm or the
Yeah.
Roosters or wherever.
He's one of those players in that.
You just
would
need to get
go,
him in,
boom.
and they just go crazy.
Yeah.
So if I'm one of those big clubs and I'm looking for an outside back, like for example, if I'm the Eels, I'm trying to get him. I think Pompey has super amounts of its potential. Super amounts of potential. Look, great signs for Warriors. Great signs. That combo of Adam. When we spoke about it earlier, when they trialled against the Storm and they get on that roll on through the middle, they're so hard to stop. And we saw the perfect example. Like Broncos defense had nothing for them. They had no line speed because Fanua, Blake and Lodge were just so dominant.
Yeah.
So dominant.
I want to see them 15 and over every week and just watch the ripple effect it has on the rest of the forward pack.
Yeah, for sure. Reece Walsh. Now, there's constantly been murmurs, and where there's smoke, there's fire. Also, Warriors completing 80% helps a lot. Reece Walsh.
Yes.
Where do you see him landing? Now, apparently, there's a clause that he doesn't have to move back to New Zealand if he doesn't want to. That's allegedly the clause that's being reported.
Really?
Where do you see him ending up next year?
I think he is a really good shot to beat the Dolphins. Obviously, when he signed there last year, and this is what I said last week, he's a classic example of a guy that had a conversation with Phil Gould and Peter O'Sullivan. Neither are in the building anymore. He's a kid from up that way in Queensland. Moving to New Zealand would be a big whack for him, I think.
That's
think
good
there's a
chat,
really
Guru,
good
I reckon.
chance he
No
ends up
KP
there.
now signing as well. That gets even
I
more
wouldn't be
red hot.
surprised if him and Nicarima end up at the Dolphins, personally.
Do they have money for him? Because Reece Walsh could probably demand about $800K to $1 million right now. Even though I probably
reckon?
wouldn't pay. Yeah. I reckon there's clubs that would pay.
You pay for potential in this competition. That's the
Who can chuck him $1 million?
Put it this way. If Broncos had have chucked him $600K before he left, would you say that was a bad decision? Now seeing how well he played?
No way.
Now he's gone on to, really challenge Walker for Rookie of the Year, something that he should have won Rookie of the Year. He continues to play some really good footy. He played good against the Broncos. I think there are clubs that would pay 800 to, like, for example,
He's getting 800 for sure.
getting 800 for sure. But I even think, like, let's say the Bulldogs had $1 million. I think they'd throw $1 million at him, even though they need a 7. I think the Tigers would probably consider it, especially you could have him at 6. That's another thing. He can play 6. I personally, though, I see him around the 800K mark. 6 to 800K is where I think he lands.
And once again, if you're the Dolphins, he's a good billboard guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's a guy the Broncos let go.
He's the best billboard guy.
The narrative's good that the Brisbane Broncos let him go. He's a gun. Like, it fits into the whole narrative that would be perfect for the Dolphins. And as much as I keep coming back to the whole narrative thing, fuck, it matters.
Oh yeah,
like it's so underrated, especially in this era now with social media and everything. To have a guy like him is massive.
And a new club, and you're trying to move merch.
Yeah.
Like Reece Walsh
Yeah.
is selling tickets and he's moving merch like massively. I would argue even more than Munster, just because he is that pin-up boy. Now, don't get me wrong. For footy credibility, Munster's the guy.
Yeah.
But for like selling shit, billboards everywhere.
And that young demographic.
That young demographic, getting people through the gates. Like Reece Walsh, he's a star, man.
And that's the thing about Reece. He's the best looking bloke on the field, but he's also the first one to grab a front rower by the collar if they.
You love it. He's competitive as.
Yeah,
I love watching him.
So look, I just think it's really interesting though that he has that clause in. It's almost saying like there's no way he's going to go. Do you think there's any chance that he does go with the Warriors when they go back to New Zealand and lives there?
You can never say no, not a chance, but I'll be shocked if he goes back with them.
What do you reckon, Chandler?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to see. I mean, what would be the catalyst? Like just a successful year, him just playing absolutely out of his skin, but then what sort of offers is coming
also got he's got a child now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's had a baby since signing there.
Yeah.
He's a kid from South Queensland.
I think there's too much giving him an exit to not.
Yeah, it's tough because it's not like the Warriors are going to throw 1.1 at him and he can't get a good gig anywhere else. Nearly every club would try and have a crack at him, other than Roosters, Storm. That's it. So yeah, interesting times. Hopefully they don't, because for them to lose RTS and Reece, it's a tough day at the office.
Yeah, that's
now on to the Manly Sea Eagles. Wow, what is with the Manly Sea Eagles and starting so bad, and then all of a sudden they looked like premiership threats on the weekend?
Mate, I know that I was a little bit more high on them last week, but I thought they looked so much better against Canterbury. It was just the wet weather that sort of held them back. I thought in this game they looked great. I've got no idea where the Raiders are at though, but say this about Manly. Last year, Turbo, he averaged 35 touches per game. Round 1, they lost. He had 27 touches. Round 2, they lost. He had 30. Round 3, he had 36. They win. Last week he had 42 and he had his best game of the season. So if 35 is your magic number of how much Turbo needs to touch the ball, they win every time he's gone over it.
Do you reckon they've just told him that?
Yes, 100%. They've said you need to be selfish again and get your hands on the ball more.
Yeah.
Literally, it's what wins us games of football.
Insane. What do you think,
You never
Chandler?
know what he's going to do. Yeah, with Manly, I think if you're a Manly fan, credit to them, they're still not playing with a specific Manly style or executing the way we want to see, but they're winning on effort, on grit. So if I'm sitting back as a Manly fan, I'm okay with that. I still think there's a lot of upside. As you said, more times Turbo gets his hands on the ball, but I'd like to see it with effective shape, with a little bit more variation. I think we've harped on it for weeks. I love the fact that we're starting to see a better balance between DCE and foreign. It's having a huge impact on the game. But executing a style of play and strategically getting to certain points on the field and then giving Tommy Turbo really good ball off the back of some good shape. I'm not seeing that yet, but the upside is we haven't seen that and they're still getting by on effort and grit. I feel like they're moving on the up, so hopefully it's positive signs for Manly as well. I think the big gap though, and we speak about it all the time and how important the spine is, a really dynamic and creative 9. I feel like that's the gap for them in terms of directions, in terms of options and variation. I feel like that would have a big impact.
Yeah, I think Lachlan Croker's done incredibly well. He's probably one of the most
great
improved
player,
in this
but
competition.
the best teams have a 9 that also can steer around the park, make decisions, have a big impact.
And I think you said it a few weeks ago, Kempy, it becomes even more obvious when everything runs through DCE. Like you never even feel like Lachlan Croker's even if he had a running game, it feels like he's never really going to take off. And credit to DCE, had a cracking game on the weekend. He was unbelievable. But yeah, Manly to me, as you said, we're not seeing that Manly. Like it's like that they haven't found their identity or how they want to play. And mate, I think that the way they're playing at the moment was sort of how they played against the top teams last year. I think the identity that we addressed with Manly based on last year is when they were winning by 40 and 60. You can't do that anymore. And I think they're just struggling to find a way to get back into it. I love seeing them in the last 2 weeks. Just as much as this week that they won 25-6. Like the week before that, they had to grind out a win. When was the last time you saw Manly actually grind out a win in reality?
Yeah.
Like all we've seen for 2 years is them win by 40 and 50 and just Tom just bully blokes because they're on the front foot with 6 agains. I think they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I loved what I saw. What I love is the clear tactical change. So I think he usually scores most of his tries down the right.
Yeah.
They actually, the first half, they peppered the Raiders right there left. And that's, I'm pretty sure that's foreign side that they go down.
Yep.
Apologies if I'm getting the sides mixed up, but if
No,
you
no,
watch the
that's right.
game,
Yeah, foreign
you'll
side.
see they peppered that left side, which is not usually their go-to side. And I think that was them trying to change things up, trying to give foreign more chances to, because what was interesting is that you saw in the first half they were really dangerous down their left side, but it wasn't till the later in the game where DCE really opened things up, because all of a sudden the Raiders have got to sit there and go, oh, they're not just a DCE driven side. We have to genuinely put the right numbers down foreign side. If Tommy's down there, we have to defend there, not just the other side with DCE on it that's going to kick it. And so I just think that they're really balancing their side a lot more, and they're opening up their options for attack. And I just think the more that foreign gets involved, the more space is going to be afforded to DCE later in the games. Let DCE first 20 minutes, I just want to see him lay the platform and allow foreign to do all the attacking. And then later on in the game, as there's fatigue and less eyes are on DCE, that's when he can start to do what he needs to do.
I love that, bro.
And I think they nailed it. And that's why by the end of the game, the difference between Manly and Raiders was substantial. It also gives DCE more time to do the kicks that he did.
Yes, which they have to have if they're going to have success.
His kicking game was...
That 2040 was incredible.
Fuck yeah.
That's one of the best kicking games I've ever seen. It's like top. It's up there with like Cleary's grand final kicking game. You could
Again,
even
that's
argue
got to
it
be
was
the
better.
standard for him, bro.
Oh man,
Like if they want to win, that's what's necessary from
Yep.
DCE.
And
Go left, go the fucking Colo.
Yeah. Oh man, he's a gun. He was good. He was
Do you
good.
keep him in the side this week?
So was
Parker was out
injured
with COVID,
with COVID?
so that changes it a
It's
little
a tough
bit.
one.
Yeah.
Oh look,
But he's X Factor. And that's
he's
what
X
they need.
factor. But look, how did
There's been some reports too that Turbo's getting around in a knee brace, but he apparently said overnight that he would definitely be playing this week. so-
really? If I'm Manly, I'm resting him. If there's even a doubt, it's like fuck.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was rumours going around he was in a knee brace. He came out and said that he's not even having scans or anything. So hopefully it's just precautionary. But as you said, it's not a punt I'm willing to take in
No.
round 5.
No way.
But like Cooler, 158 metres, 1 try assist, 56 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 6 tackles, 1 line break assist, 1 offload, no errors. Harper, a try, 93 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 18 tackles, and 2 errors. Oh, sorry, Cooler had 2 errors as well.
I was going to say, and one of Cooler's errors was he tried to throw an offload on his
Yeah.
own 10 metre. Like, it's a shit error, but it's a confidence error that I'm stoked. Like, he backs himself.
Yeah.
To be playing in your second game of first grade, stepping in there to have the confidence to do that sort of stuff. And that's the sort of confidence that will get Cooler further than it'll put errors
Yeah.
up on the board too. So I love him.
Should Saab be concerned? 6 runs, 43 metres.
Massively.
Wowzers.
Is this not who Saab is, though? Has he ever really been a
last year he would get through metres. He'd get through his hit-ups.
Okay.
6 runs is as a winger in today's game is just like...
He's got no reason to be worried about taking hit ups either.
Yeah, he's massive.
He's fast as fuck. He's huge. The errors are another concern. Like a guy that you should be looking for him not only in attack but in defence for stability under the high ball.
I think he needs to basically take a leaf out of the Staines book of like, mate, there's a guy called Cooler in your back line, and if you allow this kid to come in, I just think that Saab, he's so unique because
Yes.
he's so tall and fast that it's very hard to replace him as a player, but you can't rest on your laurels. Like what's going to make Saab be a 10-year player is going to be 15 carries a game, 100 plus meters. All that other stuff is going to be extra, cream on the top that clubs love. But it just may have been a one-off game where this just happened. It may not be continued. But if it does continue like this, eventually the coach is going to be like, mate, we can go and get a winger that was probably going to cost less than you and is going to get through the work we need you to get. So I do think Saab probably needs to lift a little bit.
It's got to be a little hangover from last year. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. Like he hasn't been diabolical by any stretch of the imagination. But as you know, Shandor, like coaches will be onto him, like, mate,
Yeah,
like 6
100%.
runs. We need more than 6 runs out of you.
I'd be very interested to go and have a look back at the stats. I reckon a lot of his meters last year came off line breaks he was making. I've always sort of thought that he's a little bit unders when it comes to coming out of his own end, but
So 6 runs, you'd have to say, what, at least 3 of them would have been kick returns?
you have to assume
So
so.
3 runs, like, got to have more than that.
Yeah.
Got to have more than that.
And that needs to change, especially like Garrick has a crack. Harper, he actually does have a crack, but a smaller bloke. So they need someone like Sub. Sub has the ability to have an impact and make a dent on play 1 and 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
It's a conversation.
just
needs to be
yeah,
had for sure.
like Saab, I'd almost shake him, like, bro, you can literally be the best winger in the competition.
Yes.
That's how incredibly gifted you are.
For sure.
And we saw that last year with all the tries he scored. I thought Josh Alloy had a cracking game back. A cracking game back. 195 metres, 81 post contact, 2
He's a
tackle
bad
breaks,
man.
14 tackles. That front row is just, I know they're important, but I just feel like they're becoming even more important. Like, you can, if your front rower isn't bending the line, it's almost like you're just no hope. Like, you just no hope.
He's another guy, you know, we look at this long list of guys that the Tigers have let go that have come good after, mate. Once he just gets a good injury run, I think he's going to add himself to that list. He's such a good little player.
I really like him. Really like him as a player. I thought Paseka was really good. 146 metres, 3 tackle breaks. I thought it was a really good performance by Manly. Are they going as well as they could? You know, maybe not. But we saw last year, things take a little bit to come together. And it's weird because, like, Desi is a notorious it's not bad, slow starter to the year. So I think it's really good signs. I think that DC and Foran are finding their mojo. And, you know, Tommy Trbojevic, 289 metres, 7 tackle breaks, 1 line break, 3 tackles. Yeah, he's a gun.
His touches going up every week is what has me interested. Yeah.
Now, on to the Raiders.
So just on Sub, it was 10 runs a game last year, according to Fox Sports.
10 runs a game.
Yeah.
See? So, like, you want to be over that 10 for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's
you want
never,
double digits.
you want more out of him for
No,
sure.
but 10's more than 6, you know?
For sure, but I mean,
That's his average too.
Yeah,
That's his
yeah.
average.
Yeah, that's
He had 6 runs on the weekend. On a winning team. Got to be more than that.
Yeah.
Got to be more than that. Raiders. What? I don't know. That's it. This is my Raiders analyst. I don't know.
I got one line, inconsistent, frustrating to watch. No idea.
Mate, what's doing? Like, I don't...
it's youth, it's immaturity. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's really prevalent. You're not getting a lot from a lot of people. Like your Whitens and your Rapanas, your old boys, they're sort of leading the way with their actions and they're really having a dig. But outside of that, I don't know where you put them. What do you say?
They look like a team that everyone is safe. Like, they don't like, and then you actually look at your depth and you're like, none of you outside of Jack Whiten own your jersey.
Yeah.
None of you. But they don't seem to play like it.
I thought Tarpanen was really good.
yeah, it's up and a solid.
I don't know, man. Hudson Young isn't playing anywhere near the footy he was playing last year. You know, I just don't know what to say because I don't. You look at this squad, you look at their forward pack. That's a quality forward pack, but they just don't have the same grunt as they had a couple of years ago.
We talked about last year the Cowboys being the biggest swing team. Tell me it's not the Raiders. They can win or lose by 13 each week, and I'm not going to be shocked either way.
Yeah, I honestly don't know where to put them. I don't know where to put them. Look at their bench, like Emre Gula, Starling, Elliott, and Horsburgh. Like, that's a fucking good bench.
Yeah.
That's a really good bench. And yet, they just... When you put those two lists together, outside of Tom Trbojevic, is there anyone else that really dominates play-wise? Like, you know, for example, that Raiders forward pack compared to that Manly one, that Raiders forward pack on paper is much better than the Manly one.
Heaps better.
And they got dominated.
And there's another 2 or 3 guys that could come into this Raiders side and the pack wouldn't change that much. It's
really interesting. I don't know what's going on there. Do you think it's a disconnect between Ricky and the players? Well, there's got to be something going on here. Things haven't been the same since the implosion.
Yeah. How frustrated did Ricky look on the weekend?
Oh.
That was...
And that implosion had an effect from top down. It was leadership. I don't know. I mean, there's some work on, there's improvement around Schneider, which I think there's definitely some developing. You look at, I did think this, and I don't know what tactically it's like, give the ball to Whiten. It's like under 6s, you know what I mean? Like, just do your best. Corey Naira and Elliot Whitehead, 5 and 7 runs. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we missing where we're not linking up with the edges and using them to our advantage? And, like,
Especially
how much
such
shape
good
is there
players.
off Schneider when we're coming to that right side? Like, it can't just be give the ball to Whiten. You know what I mean? Something needs to be developed there. And Klokstad, you can't fault his effort.
Yeah,
He's a player that just gets through a shit ton of work. But, again, you can't not have, in this day and age, you can't have a fullback that is not a genuine option outside the back of shape. So I'm not seeing that either.
There was a moment last week where it was Schneider that threw the ball to the left winger for the match win, and there was a moment there where the play the ball was sort of in front of the six, and Schneider was sort of hanging behind the play the ball, and Jack was at first receiver, and he screamed at Schneider, "Get out the back of me, get out the back of me!" And Schneider ran over, and Jack got the ball, and the whole defense just went vroom on him, and it just opened up so much space for Schneider. He threw a great ball. But it's just, like, they just need to help Jack more. He can't, like, he's a good 6, but he's a manufactured 6. They need to be putting the pieces around him.
Do you think that Jack's communication is up there with like a Moses, a DCE?
No, I don't. But, I mean, you've got all week to prepare. You know that Jack is that guy. Jack is exactly who he tells you he is. He is every single week. You know he's not.
Just get near him.
You just get near him. Just get around him. Just get off the back of him.
Yeah.
Like... I mean, at the end of the day, they are a team that we're 4 weeks in, they've lost their halfback and they've lost their hooker. So, it hasn't been great for them.
Yeah.
But they've got the pack to be doing better than what they are.
Thoughts on the Frawley starting at 9? I understand what he's get the sting out of the game. I get that. But I'm kind of the mind of, like, Starling's ready. If he's not ready now, he's never going to be ready.
I agree, bro.
And it's almost like...
I'm giving him the reins.
You got to.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, how do you go forward as a club if you're 9? Because, like, Starling's the 9.
Yeah.
But
Why
right
are you
now...
treating him as an impact 9?
Exactly. So it's kind of like you either need to go... Like, you got rid of Hodgson, so clearly you're not going that direction. It seems like the outside noise was, we are going forward with Starling. But Starling's not starting. So it's almost like, if he's not ready now, when is Starling ever going to be ready to be that? They don't have time to wait for him to be... I think he's ready. I
agree.
From what I've heard, Ricky doesn't think this is a problem.
So he thinks Frawley there at 9. For Frawley, like, Frawley's not even a 9.
He's complimented it. Yeah, but he trained him there all pre-season. He's... from
Well,
what
I
I've-
just
I agree with you both.
stability is
by the way,
not the direction
but-
right now. It's like they need let's fucking and to bring Starling on, and when he comes on, there's a genuine impact being made. So,
But, like, I just think that, okay, he's probably on a decent wicket. He just re-signed. Well, I'm pretty sure he re-signed. It keeps getting, like, pushed back. Like, Starling close to re-signing and then 6 months later. And I just think that as a team and a club, you've got to make that choice. Like, is he the guy going forward? Yes, there's going to be some growing pains, but you've already got a rookie 7. Now you've got a rookie Frawley, as in he's rookie in that position. I haven't seen him play much there at all.
Yeah, he hasn't. Yeah.
You know, so you've got rookie 6, rookie 7, rookie 9, Chance back from injury. Really, that kind of explains the clunkiness of not getting around Whiten, because you're not all playing together for long periods of time. It is a quite interesting decision that I'm not understanding. Maybe does Starling want to be an impact player? I highly doubt he would. I'd assume he'd want to start.
I think as well, now that you know, like if you said to me at the start of the season, Starling's an impact player, I'd go, okay, fair enough, you've got Hodgson there. He's injured, he's gone, he's not coming back.
Forever.
Go all in on Starling.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's going to be
not
your
for this
guy
year,
next
for next
year.
year.
Yeah, and like with all due respect to Frawley, he's not a cheese. He's not a Jazz where you can then chuck him on at 13 to do it. Like you can only use him in that role, and that's it.
Yeah,
like it seems like a bit of a wasted spot on their bench when you use him for 20 minutes and then he can go and have a shower.
It's an interesting tactic, a very interesting tactic. I assume Stewart must have information. Like, there must be something to it that we don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe Starling did play the first 21 game and really struggled that we missed. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Raiders. It's almost like they want to blow the club up to rebuild, but they don't. I don't know. Like, where's the direction? What's going on here?
With that back 5 too, I want the foundation. I want very simplify the role. Like, you look at Rapana, Valamai, Tomoko, Kotrich, Klokstad. I actually want to reduce Klokstad and say, bro, I love what you're doing, but I need you supporting Whiten. I need you getting around the back of Shaper Schneider. And your Kotriches and your Rapana, they need to be the best back 3 in the comp coming out of red zone.
Yeah.
That just has to happen for them to have any success. And then just build the left and right side. Jack Whiten has the ability to dummy, to kick, to do whatever the fuck he wants, hit his centre on an out ball. But then Schneider and Corey Harawira-Naera, they need to create a combination ASAP, yesterday.
It's interesting. Look, long season, who knows?
You know why they had success too, Kemby? They were the team. We started doing what Raiders were doing, getting tackled 2 metres out, kicking to corners. Like, that's all they did. They were the best at it, and everyone had to start their sets from there. So, but Whiten can't just do that by himself.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's it almost feels like a sliding doors moment. The Aiden Caesar, they were just such a better side with him in that 7 role. Now I know people would say George Williams is a better player and Fogarty may be a better player, but I just think he complemented Whiten so well and understood what Whiten needed. Look, in Raiders' defence, Rapana has been fantastic.
Yeah.
He's such a punish. Like from you know what I mean? From a defensive, he's so and it's always, you can never ever sit still and be like, mate, just take the tackle. Like, I would hate to play him if I was in opposition. So Rapana's been really good. As you said, you can't knock Cluxted's, his effort. Shining, glass half full. They've still got an incredible squad. I don't think Schneider's playing poorly at all. I just think he's being solid. It's just they need to find a way to get that Raiders mongrel back. They just got to find a way. I don't know how they do it, but they've got a great side. I look at that forward pack and I say, you're a top 4 forward pack. Obviously losing Hodgson's a massive loss in the 9 role, but yeah.
If we're sitting in 3 weeks saying, oh yeah, they're a top 8 team, are we going to be surprised? Like, that's the sort of side they are. They've got so much potential, but they just, I don't know. It's just, I can't work.
I can't work it out.
Come back to my first point. My one line, inconsistent, frustrating side.
And Papali'i, he needs to be having like an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 game every week for them to be successful. It's just
interesting. Like, Papali'i is a perfect example. 2 years ago, even halfway through last year, until the issue went down, because he actually had a week off footy.
Yep.
For personal reasons, and I don't want to speculate or whatever, and I hope it's all good. But since that moment, it just hasn't been the same Papali'i. Like, he was out and out the best front rower in the game, bar none. Like, he would win games by himself, Papali'i. There was a period there where he won the Player of the Year 4 years in a row, I think, or 3 years in a row, and there was one that was a joint. Whereas now, he just doesn't seem to have the same energy. So maybe his body is tired. Maybe he's
that's the other thing. Like, he's
been through so much.
His last few years, he went all the way to the grand final in 19.
Yep.
Came back in 2020, played the full season there, and then had to play Origin after that. Like, he just
played a lot of
tough
footy.
Position to stay at the top for this long. He's done incredibly well, but I mean, how old? He must be 31, 32 by this.
He's been playing since a young
forever
age.
and playing tough.
His body has been through a lot.
You almost want to give him, just have a year off, bro. Recover. I mean, you couldn't do that.
Couldn't, but
he's 30 in May.
30 in May.
Okay,
so still relatively
If you didn't
young.
have Naira and Whitehead, you'd be tempted to just drop a few kegs and sit him out on the edge.
Yeah. Interesting. I hope Papali'i is honestly one of my favourite players ever.
Yeah.
I believe he's outside of Lazarus, he's probably their greatest.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say, you were to pick their best 13, it's Papali'i and it's Lazarus.
Yeah, Lazarus, for sure. And that's including the dominant period they had. That's how much I rate Papali'i. So hopefully everything is good for him off the field. And, maybe it's just a form thing. He was pretty good a couple of weeks ago, so that could be.
He can change a game.
For sure.
There's a couple of, middles that they've got in their squad too that you're just waiting for one of them to just explode. Whether it's Horsburgh, whether it's Emre Gula, there's just a couple of guys there that you look at and you're like, fuck, you could be anything. And you're just waiting for one of those.
Naira, gun. Hudson Young, gun. Yeah, it's interesting. Something's not right. When all of these players are playing nowhere near their potential, there's clearly a vibe that is off there.
Energy's off,
the energy's off. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I don't know if it goes back to what happened in week 1 when he wasn't picked, but geez, I thought Ryan Sutton was bloody good for them last year.
He was one of their best.
It's like he's fallen off the side of the earth.
He signed with the Doggies.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, he hasn't been back in the side. So maybe that's not the reason. Maybe he's not playing good footy, but I thought he was outstanding last year.
I feel because, start of this year, Hodgson had already signed with Parramatta. He was their starting 9. I feel like Sutton could be the sort of guy they need, but
he was good in their trial too.
He was great. All things indicated to him being one of their first choice front row. Well, their first guy off the bench anyway.
Yeah.
And now you can't even get a...
You look at his numbers last year at 13. Like, I didn't think he was a 13. Then you look at his numbers and you're like,
I was the same. Yeah.
So hopefully the Raiders can bounce back. Good thing is Whiten is killing it, so that's a shining light for you guys. And Rapana is still killing it. I mean, what an incredible journey for that bloke.
Oh.
He was out of the game. Dunskies. They couldn't afford to keep him. Comes back. He's one of their best outside backs. Well, is their best outside back. Now, on to Cowboys versus the Roosters. Are the Roosters back?
Yeah.
Wow. What a turnaround.
Massive.
Like, I cannot believe how... Last week I'm sitting there going, oh, maybe... Because I predicted them to challenge for the grand final. Last week I'm sitting there going, I reckon they're going to take a year to rebuild things. And then, boom, week turnaround. They were unbelievable on the weekend.
They're so good.
Obviously, Trent Robinson, he had COVID, so he didn't get to go up there. Might have been a little blessing for them, for the rest of the team to get together and go, fuck, we need to show him what we're about here. I think it might. I mean, I mentioned last week that I was so disappointed with Radley and Satili Tupanua's defence last week. Radley was unbelievable. Satili made 29 tackles. He missed one.
Yeah.
I think if you look at last year, Satili's averaged about 4 to 5 missed tackles a game. So I think that, as Robbo said a few weeks ago, they're lacking a little bit in defence. I think they've all heard it. And he's getting the response out of his team whilst he's sitting in his lounge room.
What do you think, Shandor?
Yeah, I thought the big players stood up for the Roosters. That was the most impressive thing for me. We were calling for a Radley bounce back. We got it. Manu's just going from strength to strength. His impact on the game is ridiculous. Even on the other side, like Momirovski and Tupou are forming a pretty lethal combination, which I love.
Tupou is so good.
So good. And again, like you look at, we've spoke about this before, but Felt's a genuine freak, one of the best in the game in the air, and Tupou can still have an impact, set up a try. So I just thought it was nice to see the reaction from the Roosters, and we're going to be sitting here talking about why they're in contention for where they should be, which is at the top.
How easy does Joey Manu make his job look?
When he puts things together, or his tries, or his impact, it is effortless, bro.
Even that pass he threw to Kevin Nguama, like, at speed, it's insane.
Yeah, he's so good.
How many people are doing that?
Nah. He's just so good, and he picks his moments. He always... you would love to sit back and get a proper highlight reel of his whole career, because he's 24, 25 now. His highlight reel would be outrageous, like crazy. And he's so quiet and unassuming that he may not get the same raps as some of the biggest superstars in our game, but in my opinion, he's a superstar of our game. He's a superstar of our game. He has a class that I don't think any other centre has outside of Latrell when he plays centre. He's just that step above.
Those touches, I agree.
The way he moves, the way he has that extra meter, choosing the right moments. He does all the hard work really well. And we've spoken about it before, but like I think the centre may not even be his best position. Every time he plays fullback. Have you seen him play fullback?
Yeah.
He kills it. And 6 as well. I actually think he'd be a good 6. That's how good of a player he is, where you could make the argument that he's probably more suited to a fullback role.
Centre's tough because you do get those limited touches, but when he gets the touches...
He's so silky.
I feel like there was a bit of a transition period post-Cronk, because I really think he developed a lot around Cronk, especially in defence. I think we've seen a bit of a drop-off, but this year, and I always used to be very biased because there was always a bit of running battle between Juzzy Olam and Manu, and I always thought that, Manu got a lot more credit than Olam was getting, especially when they went up against those battles. But I've, being out of that biased opinion now, being a third party, mate, Manu's a gun. And some of those touches, like you said, I only think he can do that at the moment.
Yeah, it's so silky. I thought Keary had his best game of the year. I thought he was really good. Lindsay Collins was back to his damaging best.
That was great to see
He's
too.
a big boy. Interesting. I want to ask you this. Has Radley's ball playing and the focus on that taken a little bit away from how good of a ball runner he is? Because I saw the line that Radley runs for his try, it's very Cordner-like. And it's similar to Cordner's trajectory where he came into the grade as a devastating line runner scoring tries, and then he had to change the way he played because Robbo needed a workhorse in that. And I think with Radley, sometimes he focuses, and it works. I think he's the best lock at ball playing. Not the best lock, but the best lock at ball playing. But I think sometimes that they should create more opportunities for him to run his lines. Whereas we saw on the weekend Manu hits him on that short ball. When else have we really seen Radley being put in a position where he can show off his good ball running?
And I think it's a reflection of the hole that Cronk left a couple of years ago. That he's become I don't know what you call it, like a middle third halfback, essentially, Radley. His stats from that game were incredible. A try, 163 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 1 offload, 37 tackles, 1 missed. It's just, tell me he didn't fucking watch Cam Murray run past him 4 or 5 times during the
Stinging.
week. Yeah.
Stinging him.
It's as much as they're both great blokes and they get along like a house on fire, he is the mascot kid that's going to captain South Sydney. He's the Cloverleaf Crocodile that's going to captain the Roosters. Radley would hate Cam Murray.
Yeah, and Murray would
they'd
be
be good mates
yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
but he would look at him and just go, "That's my, that's just my ultimate opposite in this universe."
Yeah. And also, he is so opposite to him as a human being. Like Cam Murray, very soft-spoken.
The demeanour, everything.
Whereas like Radley, outspoken, talks about getting on the beers and that. It's almost like a Joey Freddie, kind of like they respected the shit out of each other. But when they played each other, it was on.
But I think Radley would be looking at Murray going, fuck this guy. He's got my Kangaroos jersey.
Yeah.
He's got my New South Wales jersey.
Yep.
I'm the one with 2 premiership rings. I've played a crucial role in both of them, and it's injuries and just little moments that he gets suspended for that are holding him back. It's a rivalry that I can watching these two, because they're going to both retire at these clubs,
and they're going to butt heads over the next 10 years.
It's going to be unreal.
Yeah, can't wait. And also, every time they play, it's like a new chapter in the book that ramps up the tension. Like this game, for example, Murray throwing the dummy try time, that stings Radley. So the next time they play, Radley's going to try and hit Murray, and it's just going to go back and forth, back and forth.
And as much as you look at Murray and you're like, he wouldn't buy into that stuff, bullshit.
He's
tough
ultimate
as nails.
competitor.
He's well aware of it.
Yeah. For sure. Like Murray would have been sitting there going, Radley's getting all these praises. I'm the New South Wales 13 or 11. I play for Australia. Rah, rah. Yeah, I love it. And I think it's so good for our game to see these two great players and blokes coming and battling against each other. I thought Teddy probably played his best game of his career. Not career. Jesus.
Whoa.
Did he have 400 tackle breaks in the game?
Ran for a kilometre.
Best game this year, so far this year. I thought he was really good. And what I like about the Roosters is they always say good teams don't play 2 bad games. They can play a really bad game, but very rarely, and we saw it with the Storm.
So true.
But yeah, I think the Walker Keary combination is growing. It's definitely growing. I think Connor Watson was a bit better as well.
Yep.
I thought he was a bit better. But outside of that, I think we really confirmed that, like, hold your horses. Roosters are still here. They're still a big dogs club that demand respect, regardless of injuries or whatever. Really, really good signs for the Roosters. Really good signs.
You've got it written up there. That try assist from Teddy.
Insane.
Just that light touch. Just unbelievable.
Over
That
his
was
head.
lovely. That was lovely.
Like, wow. Tupu, another great try assist. I think Tupu, like, when I was speaking about Saab earlier, remember when Tupu came in and he was just a tall winger and had a few errors in his game, would be inconsistent. I think he came into Origin, then he got dropped. And it wasn't until he really rounded his game out that he's become, in my opinion, one of the best wingers of this generation. No doubt about it. And I see Saab in the same light.
That's a
I
good
think
point.
that if you want to be on a guy like Tupu's level, you got to round your game out.
Yeah, and Tupu's a classic because I look at him every week for Team of the Week and I go, he should be there, but this guy that isn't normally as good was really good this week. I always write Tupu, then I delete it and I'm like, someone was better, but fuck, he just played another 8 out of 10.
Yep, for sure.
So
totally agree.
consistent.
Another obstruction call that was very strange. It didn't affect the play at all. And the late shot sin bin. Thoughts? Bruh. Come on. What are we doing here? Come on.
They're just the sin bins in general, and then how we're justifying.
But think about how desensitized we've been to this sin bin. The sin bin used to be like,
That's what I mean, and that's what it
shit.
should be.
Now
You're
it's
taking
like-
a player off the field for 10 minutes.
every time a player gets brought over, we're all sitting there going, oh, fuck, he might get sin bin. Back in the day, you didn't even think about it. They're just getting too crazy with it. I don't know why we as a game, we can't help ourselves. Like, we bring something in and we just go so far with it. We react. We're so reactionary. Like, we swing so far past where we're
100%.
supposed to land.
Bro, to get sin bin, you would have had to coat hanger someone or like put them on their head.
This was like pass the ball, boom, got hit like that. And also, they got to stop playing it in slow mo. I believe that the NRL should reach out to the bunker or whatever and say any late shots are not allowed to be played to the public in slow motion. Matter of fact, also in-house, do not play them in slow motion. Why are we judging them in slow motion? It's insane to me.
There was a moment, and it's a different game, but just on the sim bins, in the Dragons game last night, there was a moment where Blake Laurie got called out, and I sort of went, he's gone for sure, he'll get 10, and he didn't. And there was a moment that I got excited because he didn't.
Yeah.
And just when you reflect on that, you're just like, what the fuck?
How far have we come?
That's how far we've come.
Yeah.
That you're a bit shocked when someone gets called over and they don't get put in the sim. And you could tell, like as Laurie walked over, he almost didn't stop. He just thought, I'll be gone. Yeah, and it's wild.
10 minutes, a player down. Like, we are totally forgetting the impact that used to have and does have today. It's just bizarre.
Games are lost in seconds now.
Like,
to
literally,
to
and you're
play for 10 minutes.
Sending a bloke off for a tackle that is like that. Like, the players, if you want to run the ball into the line, you have to be willing to get tackled without the ball. Because if you dummy and go through, guess who's in trouble? The guy that we go over it ad nauseum. It's going to get to a point where players are just going to what clubs are going to do is ask their ball players just to run into the line with like that, and then get quick play the balls and just go again, because players are going to have to jockey them so much that they have to get a anyway.
Okay,
I thought it was Paul. Oh man, I thought it was Paul. So great news for the Roosters. On to the Cowboys.
Just on Cowboys, Nanai just re-signed for a year.
Boom!
Ooh,
Great news. Great news for the club. He was pretty poor on the weekend, but we can all see his
He's a young
potential.
player, though.
Young
Yeah,
player.
huge
It's going to
potential.
happen. Great re-signing, really good thing. I mean, I know it was quite a dominant loss, but I actually think Cowboys had 3 players sent off, so that's 30 minutes with 1 less player. I don't think this is. I actually think 28-4 is a win for the Cowboys after 3 players getting sent for 10.
Yeah, I think the Roosters were the better team by far and away, but yeah, tough gig for the Cowboys. Dearden, I think he's leading the comp.
Lee try assist. Yeah, he is.
Mate, he's just. We talk about competitive nature and aggression. I can't believe it. It's very noticeable. The way he gets around the field, I'm like, fuck, yeah.
People were saying he was the problem at Brisbane last year.
Mate, it's another example of a player leaving our club and going really well. The club, we are our own problem. We need to admit that as a club. We need to admit as a club, like, we're the problem right now. We need to fix ourselves. It's not the players that we're letting go. We can't, put the blame. It's us. We need to fix ourselves. Because Dearden leading the comp for try assists.
He's coming second. Moses overtook him last night.
Oh, I overtook him last night.
Yeah.
Really?
Moses is on 7, Dearden 6, Dylan Brown, Ben Hunt 5.
Try assists, I read this. Did you read the same thing this morning, that he was ahead?
I thought I did.
I thought I did too.
He's on NRL.com.
They might have added one to Moses once they checked over it.
Yeah.
They do that.
Yeah,
on
they do that all the
Monday,
time,
so.
actually.
Regardless, 6 in 4 games in a guy that I didn't think was going to be in the team.
Yeah.
In a team I thought was going to finish last.
And he's playing so well that we're not even like, oh, Drinkwater should still, like, we're like,
It's
crazy,
I
yeah.
can't put an argument for Drinkwater to come into this side.
Nah.
Whereas I couldn't put an argument why he misses the side
Yeah.
4 weeks ago.
if I'm a club, I'm sniffing around Drinkwater. Holy moly.
Oh, mate.
Get him to your
ASAP.
club. ASAP. I don't know why the Broncos haven't had a stab. Maybe they have, but like far out, he'd be good at the Broncos. Like, we could play him at fullback. Like, anyway. Cowboys. So Peyton comes out, basically says that the top tier clubs seem to get the 50-50 calls. Do you agree or disagree?
Agree?
Oh, yeah, but I
mean,
It's
maybe
just
not
not worth
intentional.
saying.
it's not worth saying. It's your team is doing well. I don't think you need to open that can
Nah,
of worms and do that shit. Like you're a good footy side. You've proven that. It's just a shit look for me. I don't know. And maybe it'll work in his favour. I just don't think I would be doing it personally.
It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Because, like, what does it get? It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Like, if it's true.
Well, mate, as I just said, it might work in his favour. It definitely won't.
Yeah.
It's not going to fucking change.
Absolutely not. Like, do you really think that? It's hard because Peyton, he's getting asked questions, so we have to remember that this is a response
An
to
interview, yeah.
a question that has led him down that path. And he's passionate, he's angry, he's just had players sent for 10, rah. So very easy for us to say when we've got the emotion removed. Like, so, but we're just talking best case scenario. Like, I can understand why Peyton would say it, because what he's saying, it's almost has to be true, because superstars of any game, you talk about the NBA, always get the rub of the green because they're the superstars. It's human nature for referees, if they're talking to Cam Smith or they're talking to fucking the beak coming on the wing blowing up, Who's getting more leeway? You know what I mean? And so it's just a natural way of things. But in the perfect world, he gains absolutely nothing from that other than a massive fine from the NRL, most likely.
I would argue they've potentially got the greatest forward we've ever seen. It's not like they're lacking guys that can play or that have a stature in our game. I just don't think it has to be said. I don't think it does anything for the Cowboys.
No, definitely.
Yeah. And to be really clear, from the Cowboys' perspective, like the Roosters were a better side. Like you weren't winning. If you got every call in that game, the Roosters are probably still going to win because they were the better side on the night. Stuff like that, though, it's so easy to say when you're in the moment. You've just walked off a loss at home.
I just think for how the Cowboys have played this year, it's so off-brand. They've been so tough. They've been so tenacious. They've hung in there. It just sounded like a complaint for the sake of complaining, you know?
Yeah. But so I think the journo goes, so Holbrook said last week that, the best teams seem to get the rub of the green. So he kind of like led him down the past. Which is, again, it's still Payton's responsibility to be aware
he's still
of
got
that.
to be better, I think, yeah.
But I'm just trying to provide the context for people listening. Like, it wasn't just out of nowhere. He's like, man, we get rorted every single week. The best teams. It was kind of like led into it. But yeah, Payton will learn from that. He's still a rookie coach. He's in his second year.
Right.
He's in his second year, and we forget that. But yeah, for the Cowboys, I still don't believe they completed at 76%. I believe that they're still looking good, and they should still be fighting for the 8. They still should be a team that's fighting for the 8.
Similar to Newcastle's game this weekend, I'm not taking a heap out of it. They just played a really good footy side. I'm not writing off the Cowboys after that.
Not at all.
I'll say this about the Cowboys. It's round 4. They haven't left Queensland yet.
Oh,
yes.
Played at Suncorp last week. Matty, can you just grab up the Cowboys draw? I think in the first 9 weeks, they leave Queensland once. They play the Warriors at Redcliffe. And I think they come to Sydney for one game. I think they play at Penrith, and that's it.
I mean, you could argue, with Todd complaining about the 50-50 calls, you'd be like, mate, your first 10 weeks are at home. Like, you got a 50-50 call there.
I'm pretty sure it's one game in the first 9.
It's 2 in the first 9 because they go to Canberra once and Darwin once.
Yeah. And like Darwin is essentially, you'd argue it's more of a home game for them than anyone else because they're up north. Look, when you're caught up in emotion, you're always going to say things that,
But I mean, like, traditionally, this has been the Cowboys' problem when they leave North Queensland. They can find themselves in trouble over the last year. So it's going to be interesting. You're assuming at the back end of the season, they're going to play a shitload of games in Sydney and all over the place. So be interesting.
I think, look, the positives for Cowboys fans is you got a young gun in a key position that's playing really well. And then you got Townsend.
Yep.
You know what he's going to deliver. He's going to be solid. He's going to kick really well. He's going to be a good mentor for Dearden. So you just re-signed Nanai. You've still got Taumalolo, played front row on the weekend. I think Ruben Cotter is he's a good 13. I really like him there. We've already discussed that. So there's do not be worried. Even like, Talangi, he probably needs to work on his defence a bit. If he makes a few better decisions coming in off his wing, the game is very different. 2 tries he saves in that first half or whatever. But Talangi in attack, really good. Just a few reads he needs to work out. That may be, pairing with Valentine Holmes it's working on because it's relatively new. I think it's Holmes on that edge. I will say Hamiso, 4 runs, 39 metres. Hamiso's still so young. I think he's 20 years old now. But just like the Saab situation, these are the things where you really need to round your game out, where if you have 15 runs and you get your hands on the ball more often, even in your bad games, you'll still have a solid game. Whereas situations like this where you don't touch the ball, your bad games go from like 7 out of 10 down to like, bro, you ran for 39 metres as you're our fullback. So I think Hamiso, Payton probably needs to sit down with him and just go, mate, need 15 runs minimum, absolute minimum. Everything outside of that, don't even worry about it. Because like we all know, Hamiso, he's incredible.
Gun. And giving a player like that targets is going to pay huge dividends. So give him purpose, give him a focus, define his role, and just give him a target to chase in that game. Because just like maybe Turbo that we were talking about, where he was probably pushed into having more of an impact on the game, Hamiso's one that's like, hey, let's get your hands on the ball.
Yeah, for sure. So don't read too much into that, Cowboys fans. I think they're still looking pretty solid. Now, on to, wow. Storm defeat the Doggies.
Jesus.
44-0. So going into this, I guess we'll go quickly through the Doggies because there's not really much to say. Bizarre decision. So Avrilla gets brought back into the side. So he goes back, plays 6 for reserve grade, gets brought back into the side as a centre. I don't know. It's just the whole thing. I don't understand. Like, I'm not understanding the thinking process here.
They spent the whole preseason with Averillo at 7, and then he got to week 3 and week 2 and thought, you know what? I'm going to throw in a new halfback against Manly at Brookvale and then Melbourne at Melbourne.
I just don't understand.
Fuck, just sit through the next 2 weeks. Why, like, I don't know. It just seems stupid to me. Why would this be the week after you've had Averillo there? We spoke about it all last year. He was your guy last year. How do you get to round 2 when I think their record was 1-1 or whatever?
They're the best defensive start that they've had pretty much ever.
And I actually think Wakeham's been pretty decent.
Yeah.
I think he's been good. I think this game, 44-0 does not reflect this game at all for me. I thought that Canterbury's first 20 minutes, I think there's a fair argument they might have been the better side.
They were the better side. They just couldn't score.
They just couldn't score, and every time they turned the ball over, Melbourne just went, see ya. We'll kick a goal and you give it back to us.
Yeah.
It was 12-0, and I thought Canterbury were the better side, but I think there was at one point it was 12-0. Melbourne had been tackled in their half 5 times.
What I'm not understanding, from a Bulldogs perspective, is everyone knows the Storm, especially this year, this is their defensive system. Jam in, but make sure that the cover behind is massive. So basically what Storm do is go, we'll defend you twice. We will take space away from you, and our 4 in and 3 in will work super hard so that even if you do strip us, we're going to take you out over the sideline. And also, we'll create the illusion of taking space away from you so that you don't play long, and you've got this feeling of claustrophobia, and you overthink things, and we obviously saw that. I mean, I don't know why I'm fucking telling you. Is that correct or not correct?
Yeah, 100%.
You've got a guy to play for the Storm right here. Bloody hell.
In terms of edge defence, that's exactly right. But the triggers always stay the same. If your man gets held up, if the halfback gets held up, you jam. If your centre gets held up, you jam. But to your point, consistently, religiously, doesn't matter what play it is, you'll see Hughesy does it the best, especially on that right side where it's so prevalent, but they'll go out the back hard. And their cover defence was unbelievable in that game, like genuinely stopped. To even that one where they stopped Josh, like that's a try all day.
Every day.
Everyone scores that. So, but credit to Coates, credit to Smith. That right side defence is next level, if not some of the best.
Can I just interrupt to add on to that?
Yes.
You said about their cover defence. Melbourne missed 27 tackles, Canterbury missed 20. Melbourne won 44-0.
Yeah. It's kind of Bronco-ish of the early 2000s where you're okay with missing tackles. It's about how you scramble after those missed tackles. Like, we're going to miss tackles. Yep. We want to be aggressive. We want to take time with them, but always scramble. But that's what I'm not understanding is if me, some idiot doing absolutely nothing, haven't played footy for years, if I can identify that, how come the Doggies didn't go into that game plan going, let's run across, drop blokes off, get quick, play the balls, and go again. That's how you beat up and in defence. Like, you get Burton and you go, look, double drop off. We get Tavita Pangai Jr. on that second drop off, hit your front, get up, and because they've screamed up, they've got to now travel more distance to get back to their line. Then we get them on the next play. So we're not getting them on the first play. That's just to get a quick play the ball. And if let's say they're a team that is up in slide, you don't want to do that because if they're up in slide, they're already sliding back to the goal. Let's say they're on their goal line. They're already sliding back to it. So by the time the tackle happens, they're on the try line. They just go again. Whereas if you're up and in, the tackle happens, they've got to go back. They've got to do a 20-metre shuttle. And eventually that's going to fatigue them. Yep. Eventually they're going to make a mistake. And I'm not understanding why they didn't identify that. The Doggies, they've got all the video in the world to go, we just need to drop off up the middle. I'm not sure. He's
just to back you up, the 3 of the 4 teams that have missed the least tackles this year are Tigers, Bulldogs and Raiders.
Yeah, it's all about that scramble. You've got to win the scramble.
And the other thing that I don't like the move. I like that Wakeham's there, but I don't understand why you do it when he did it. And tell me Jeremy Marshall-King hasn't been their best player all year. He cut him by 20 minutes the other night.
He was really, really good. He was their only dangerous guy.
Yeah, he played 50 minutes.
Yeah.
If you said to me at the end of the trials, what's their depth as far as halves, I would have said Averillo's the number 1 guy. I would have said Biondi Odo's next. Then it's Wakeham. Wakeham's now the next man up, and Biondi Odo's playing 30 minutes at hooker over Jeremy Marshall-King. It just I just don't understand it. Just to add to some of the stats, I mean, it's 44-0. The Dogs made 11 errors. Storm made 10. Post-contact meters, Storm ran for 463. Canterbury ran for 453. They were 10 metres behind. it's just like it's such a bizarre game to have a 44-0 scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too harsh, but I do believe that at the moment the spine is really letting down that forward pack because that forward pack is
100%.
going toe to toe. Like they, especially in that first half, they got them where they needed to get them. They got them up the field in good position, and the spine and the backs didn't deliver. And their job is to score points, and they didn't. So, I'm not understanding why they weren't aware that the Storm were going to jam. It's almost like they got to their end and they were like, "Oh shit, Storm are jamming. We'll keep trying. I don't get why they didn't mix it up a bit.
Yeah, well, I just feel like Dufty as well. Dufty is a very speed-based overs sort of player. He doesn't have a lot of straighten up and direction in him. But like, I'm starting to see not little cracks in Burton, but Burton's trying his ass off, but feeling like a little bit lost there. That's what, like,
I think they're scared to make mistakes too.
Yeah, I feel that's like super prevalent with the Dogs, but also with the Dogs, like you would have thought, just chase some consistency. A lot of new recruits, a team that didn't go well last year, like leave guys in positions, let some combinations develop, let them make mistakes, let's review and get lessons, but just the chopping and changing is not helping anyone at the Dogs.
Like, you even look at Tavita Pangai Jr., I mean, he's played edge, he's played middle, they name him on the edge, they move. It's like, you're not fucking fooling anyone. Just pick a team and stick with it. Give them, I mean, like we said in the preseason, if you're going to pick Averillo at 7, he has to have the jersey until Origin.
Yeah, we said that.
Week 3, gone.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like I don't get it. There must be more going on than we're aware of. You would have thought for all money, because it's not like, I'd understand this if, let's say, they're a top tier side that's fighting for like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, because you're basically playing in inches. Like the 1%, the little, where can you find that 1%? This is a side that's a wooden spoon side that, to be frank, if you finish 10th or 12th, who cares? What we should be working towards when we're going to finish in the top 8.
Yeah.
What's the plan? The plan is to get in the top 8. Everything outside of that, it's like, who cares? Like it doesn't really matter that much. Like it really doesn't. Now, obviously, the spoon is much coveted. You don't want to win that, but in saying that, the plan has to be for the future. Like, if you think Averillo is your long-term 7, you've got to stick with him for longer than 3 games. And you could argue, well, he stuck with him all last year, but it's like, if you're going to stick with him all last year, why get rid of him in the 3rd game here? Like, I mean, we spoke about this. I really felt like the Bulldogs last year should have had Flanagan at 7, Averillo at 6 or in the centres, and everything should have been built around planning towards when Burton and all those recruits get there. Let's build a game plan that's going to suit them. Who cares if we lose every match this year? Because next year is when we're going to, deliver this kind of, I guess, style of footy.
When you think about it from the wide shot, Wakeham has been in this system for 3 or 4 years. They signed Flanagan. He's our guy. He's our man. Flanagan couldn't buy his way into this football team.
He's not getting a start.
He's not getting a start. There's not a hope in hell he can get a start.
Yeah.
They start this season, Averillo's our man, he's our guy. It's round 3, he's not in the team. And Wakeham, who's been there the entire time that you went and signed all these guys and turned your best centre into a halfback because you didn't trust him, is now... It just gets stupid. Like,
it's bizarre. I don't understand it. And they've got the roster, man. They got and that forward pack, glass half full for Doggies.
Quality players.
The glass half full of the Doggies is, I believe their forward pack is delivering. And it sounds stupid because, like, we got beat 44-0. When you look at all the key stats, the Doggies went toe-to-toe with the Storm. The difference was that the Storm, whenever they had half a chance, they took it. And if the Doggies... If they go up and deliver 12 points in that first 20 minutes, I believe this is a much different story.
Yes.
Yeah, a much different story.
Yeah.
And the forwards did that. They delivered that. Here's the platter. We got you here, boys. We worked our asses off first 20 minutes. We've dominated field position. We've dominated the contact. We've dominated running meters. Now we need you to score points, and they didn't.
Yeah. And, I mean, if we're sitting here in 12 months' time and Reid Marnie's the starting hooker, which he will be, they still don't have a halfback. I'm not sure if Marnie is able to counter all these things.
No.
They need a 7.
The gap between Marnie and Jeremy Marshall-King so far this year isn't huge, let's be honest here. I would rather have Marnie, don't get me wrong, but if Marnie shows up there and they still don't have a 7 and they've got no direction, they're in the same problem.
They absolutely
100%.
desperately need a 7. Like, it is... I cannot express enough how much they need a 7. Wakeman is a good quality player. And hopefully he can develop into that.
Yep.
But getting pulled in and out of the side is not going to do that for him. And right now they seem very willing to pull Wakeham in and out of the side.
Nothing says to me they're going to give him time.
Give him time to grow into the player he needs to be. It's tough. Again, the glass half full for the Doggies is your forward pack, I believe, has been fantastic this year so far.
Yep.
I think they've taken it to every forward pack, if not for the whole game, at least for the first half or first 60 minutes.
Cracker forward pack.
I don't believe they win the spoon this year as well. That's another glass. They're a better side than they were last year. I know it's
definitely.
a tough. I know it's a really tough loss, but they're definitely a better side. Hopefully they can turn things around. Very tough night for the Doggies. They ran up against a red hot Storm. The Storm, wow.
Mate,
Wow. Incredible. Ryan Pappenhausen, just in that game, it doesn't really mean a heap, but he scored 28 points. He outscored 14 NRL clubs this weekend.
Oh my God.
Mate, he's
And one of them that he didn't outscore is his team.
He's ridiculous. He's so fast. Just
he's
so
just
electric.
so competitive.
Even that Hughesy try, obviously one of the more simpler ones.
like
but
watching
he
a
was in the
greyhound around the
backfield,
back.
ran around a player, and then was cruising next to you. When you're ready, bro, just pass it to me. Like Dufty's coming up. He's so electric, so quick, and plays well above his weight. He's so courageous. So what the things he does, but the development of his game from his involvements to his efforts to now their shape for me. I'm a big fan of Parramatta and their ability to shift and attack in their long passing, but the execution of shape for the Melbourne Storm, they look like worlds apart from the Bulldogs. I'm talking, they were hitting plays 3 to 4 times in a set.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Their set plays and execution is, for that, best in the comp. I love watching them play and running their shape and just putting teams under the pump, and they did that to the Dogs.
Oh, incredible. Want to give a massive rap to Dufty for chasing that
Yeah, for
play.
sure.
That's something that it will get overlooked. No one will care about it. But, Dufty a few years ago probably wouldn't chase that.
He's having a good season.
He's having a good...
Yeah,
I
he
think he's
is.
added quite a lot to the Doggies.
He has a lot.
But, back to the Storm. I can't tell you how important Cheese is to that side.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
His quick play the balls and his runs, everyone is damaging.
Everyone's damaging. When Cheese comes on, they blow them. It just blows the whole game apart because he constantly... Because all Harry does is throw a 20-metre cutout, hits Cheese in the middle of the field. Cheese gets quick play the ball. Now you have both sides of the field completely bamboozled.
Yeah.
And the Storm have a set play for both sides. So they just look up, they go, all right, boom, there we got you there. And then it's
Harv's
fight
got
time.
all the time in the world.
Mate, Cheese is actually going to be one of the hardest people to replace for the Storm because when he doesn't play, the Storm don't have this kind of points in them, in my opinion.
I said it all last year. He's more valuable to the Melbourne Storm as a meters man than a hooker.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with Grant. Far out
With
Grant's good.
Grant, considering you've got Grant in the building, I mean, mate, I still go back to that grand final they won over the Panthers a couple of years ago. The impact that Cheese had in that game through the middle, it flipped the narrative completely.
It's unbelievable. The way he runs, every run is as 110%.
Yeah.
And we spoke about, who do we speak about? I think we spoke about Rapana being unorthodox, but Cheese refuses to be tackled. And if he does, he's shaking you off. He's getting up, leaving blokes on the floor.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Well, it's a better version because Rapana's really good because he jumps across the field, which is great. It skittles defences. But Cheese is different because he hits you, gets down, and a quick play the ball.
And
so
he's got that nugget.
Cheese's play the balls should be a try assist at times.
Oh, man.
It literally just leaves them in disarray.
He's the only player that I would pay starting wages to put him on my bench.
Yep.
I would bring him to the club for 600-700K, probably 700K to come off the bench. That's how important I think he is to games.
I think we've spoken about it before, and you'll probably be able to touch on it too. That 2020 grand final, he came off the bench, and I think he came on in 3 separate stints.
Yeah.
And at every single one of them, he got a penalty that they kicked 2 points of. And he sort of, the Fox League was doing one of those reviews at the grand final, and Cheese was laughing, going, every time I come on the field, I'm worth 2 points. You could see Bellamy sitting there going, shut the fuck up. But you're spot on.
You're
I
bang
can't
on.
argue with
Because
what
he's
you're
fighting
saying.
for every play.
Every fight. He's so unique. I don't think there's any other player that you'd play starting wages to, and I think he should start at 9 for the Roosters.
Yes.
Or even, start at 9 for the Roosters. But I would still be happy. He still brings enough impact where you would happily put him on your bench and bring him off. He's just no one has the impact that Cheese has. No. He changes games every game. every game, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's got ball playing as well. Like he's such a unique individual. I can't remember a player that really plays like the Cheese. Like we've had, you know,
every run is a quick play the ball, and he's leaving men down. Like,
but tell me a forward or a 9
crazy.
that's ever been like the Cheese.
That is crazy.
When he arrives to the Chooks next year, are you seeing him being an 80-minute hooker? Are you seeing him like? Will they use him the way that Melbourne used him, where he plays the first 20 minutes at 9, bring Watson on, and then you use him as a middle forward? Like,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He can be a bigger minute player at 9. Like, if that's the mentality, you got to think, if he's playing lock, like, you've got to, he's not a big bloke, so he's got to give some time and effort and energy into that. But I think you're giving him the full reins at 9, but he definitely has a stint on the bench.
Yeah, for sure.
I reckon you start him at 9 and you mate, go for it. You bring on either, if Verrills is still there, or you bring on Watson, and you just pick the tempo up. But then when you do bring him back on, you bring him back on in the front row, just in the middle, just peppering him.
And that might even be optional, given where things are at. Maybe he's having a blinder, or maybe you just need, hey, Cheese, bro, we need 4 quick play the balls. Like,
please go on.
And then Radley off the
run
back
the
of
ball through someone.
Him in a Roosters jersey is scary.
Yeah.
Far out. That's crazy.
What it does for Grant, like what you're saying can be like every set he takes a run, it completely blows the whole set apart. And Grant is a great ball runner. He picks it up, he's off. I'm really starting to see the connection between Harry Grant and Paps. This is like 2 years in the making. In Cup they played together, but he's sniffing around Harry all the time now. It's exciting to watch. But back to your point, it all starts with a little fucking wheel of cheese.
Just incredible. The cheese ball just rolling down the middle.
I love when you watch him take a hit up and you can see the entire spine. They start to get on the advantage line. They know this tackle, we're going to have the advantage. We're on here.
And you'll see it, Storm. Strategically, what they do is off the back of watch next time they offload, watch what happens. No one does it better. Bang. Doesn't matter who it is. It could be Nelson. They'll instantly pass it to a half and they'll shift.
Get it to a strike.
It's amazing how they do that.
It's so good. It's just, they just got the game figured out. They just got it figured out. Back on Papenhuyzen, wow. We all know how good he's in attack. I just think his defence too. Like Billy Slater, the greatest defensive fullback of all time.
That's what I had written.
Mate,
the urgency. It's the urgency. And you know he's working with Slats.
Yeah,
he's not
100%.
like Slats builds his game on that. Can you imagine? I know Slater would sit there. You sometimes get a little whisper of it in commentary, but you get these fullbacks who aren't in position. If you've seen this bloke train, bro, I've never seen anything like it. He's a psychopath. But like, I'm talking like the loudest person at training. He's fucking everywhere. So you know that you're going to get a fullback that does not miss a beat. To see that, some of that urgency stuff, like, was it one time Paps got caught at
he got in the line. He basically made the tackle and then came straight back out and he was at the ball got kicked. He was right there.
Yes.
His defense is so underrated. I'm just so happy for him. You know, a bloke that was basically, there were some that were saying he was challenging for the 1 role, which I think Teddy should definitely keep it, but he had the 14 role locked. Origin debut locked. Gets the head knock. Whole year, it's almost like the fear of like, will I ever be back? You know, the way he plays, it's so reliant on being courageous. He's not like a player that you can kind of use his side to avoid that stuff. He has to get in and go in hard and quick.
He could never be number 1 Origin. Like what?
Teddy,
nothing he could do.
Nothing he could do.
There's nothing.
And then Hines comes in, kills it, kills it. And at the first, I was like, no, Pappy's got that spot, you know. Yeah. And then Pappy comes back in, and he seems to struggle just a little bit, you know, rightly so. And I'm like, maybe they should put Hines back there because they've been playing so well. And then Pappy finds his feet, and then now this year he's come back even better. Even better. What a journey. What an incredible person and player.
Crazy.
I think that's been the standout for me this year with Pappy is that he's got every reason to not go into as much contact as he does now. Like, how on earth he isn't seemingly at all rattled by last year.
Crazy.
I mean, like, I was scared for him watching him come back last year, to be honest with you, and it doesn't seem to impact him at all.
I think one good thing, bro, when you go into that, it's not like, so you do your knee and you're worried about stepping. Like, it's not him that has caused those issues. It's not his body. No. It's someone else. Like, they're going to have to hit him over the head. Now, don't get me wrong. You still run these blokes every week, but at least you know it's not your body or you failing you.
Yeah.
It's like someone else doing something to you. So I feel like maybe from a mental perspective, you can maybe move forward.
So look, I thought Harry Grant was fantastic. He's so dangerous because he's so strong and nuggety too. So you can't back off and just let him run the ball. Incredible performance by the Storm. Just absolutely ruthless performance by the Storm. Now onto the last game of the round. The Eels come out and absolutely fire a massive shot back at the Storm and say, hang on a sec, bro. Hang on a sec. We're still here. We beat you last week. We're going to put a big score on the Dragons. Dylan Brown was absolutely electric. Opens the game with a left footstep try. Mitchell Moses, arguably the best game of his career. I really like what I'm seeing with the Eels. And I've spoken about it for quite a while, but I think Dylan Brown can be the final piece of the puzzle for them.
Just to back some numbers up with that, and I thought it was really interesting. When you look at this Parramatta side, you think it's Moses' team. 55 touches each for Moses and Dylan Brown yesterday.
So good.
So split evenly. Every single game that they've lost this year, and this isn't anything against Moses, I think it just shows how important it is to have the balance. Every game they've lost this year, Moses has had more touches than Brown.
It's like the DCE foreign situation.
It's exactly like that situation. You look at last week, very impressive. Brown had 52 touches, Moses had 45.
Wow.
It's commendable how they're working this partnership out. That's not easy.
I think it's like Moses. Brown has earned his stripes with Moses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let him have the ball. You know he's going to do something.
100%. Whereas like the first year, it's like, well, mate, like you knew in first grade, can I trust you? I don't know if I can trust you. Whereas I feel like now Moses is like, no, I trust this bloke. I'm willing to step back and allow him to do his thing.
And credit to Moses because he's always been the guy. It's always been on his shoulders. Credit to him for letting go of some of that ball. It sounds easy to do, but it's hard to let go of. Like that team has Moses DNA all over it.
A lot of maturity now from Moses. That's what I'm loving. Like he was always a good player, could break a game, but now you're just seeing this like calmness and comfortability and confidence. And they play the best when they get to a field position. Brown's got the shorter field position and can do what he wants. And Moses, those long plays, they're shifting, the long passing. Fuck, Eels look good. I'm a big fan. Western Sydney Grand Final, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. They're looking the best easily that they've looked. And What's interesting is like when Moses takes that step back, just like the DCE thing. So the opening of the match, Foran is the guy. By the end of the match, Moses is the guy because it's released him and allowed him to have that extra meter that he wouldn't have if he was dominant from the start. And so Moses, 2 tries, 605 metres, 1 tackle break, 2 line breaks. This is Dylan Brown's stats though. 1 try assist, 162 metres, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 2 offloads, 26 tackles, 0 misses.
It's elite.
Oh, wow.
Are we shocked?
Oh, far out.
Not anymore. This is the standard.
This is
isn't
the
it?
thing, mate.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
He's and what's really interesting with him as well is like right now, if you could like sculpt the perfect physique for a 6 in today's game, he would be it. Like he's the fastest 6 in the game, in my opinion. He's as strong as any other 6. Maybe only Whiten is stronger.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, Whiten, yeah.
His footwork, he's got probably him and Munster, the best footwork. Like he's got everything that you would want from a 6, and he's delivering. Like he's delivering week in, week out. I think Gutho has like matured so much as well. Just getting through his work, always delivering 8 to 9 out of 10s. Wonga Blake at wing. I think he's a winger. I think he's found his position.
Has to. He looked great. Their connection there can be, as to what you're saying. Like, people are willing. It's almost like, that's why I feel like this is it for the Eels, bro.
Yeah.
This is the year. But people are willing to take a back seat to other players at the right time. Like, even Gutho, like, I thought he had a much bigger impact in this game than previous weeks.
Yeah.
But, like, there's no competition. There's no battle, which maybe there previously was. They're all just working in synergy. It's lovely.
Yeah. Gutho, one thing I love about Gutho is that he plays the role that needs to be played by him in every game, depending on what it is.
Yeah, that's good.
If he's the guy, if he needs to roll his sleeves up and run for 280 metres, he'll do it. If he needs to ball play out the back and just play the supporting cast too, Moses, they're young guys that have come through, has always been the stars, but there just seems to be no egos there at the moment.
100%.
They're just happy to get the job done, which is great to see.
Mate, they've got the roster.
Yeah.
Their roster is...
Well, that's, yeah.
Dylan Brown only 21 still.
Is he?
21.
Fuck.
Yeah, wow. I thought their back row was outstanding.
Yeah.
The Eels' back row was outstanding. I thought it was Ryan Madison's best game in a long time. I thought Isaiah Papali'i, as always, delivers. Nathan Brown was fantastic. I actually thought their back row really stood up and took some workload off Regan Campbell-Gillard and Junior Bolo. And
Can we talk about Bryce, please?
that flick pass, that's his whole life has been leading up to that minute.
He's got it in him.
He was in
Wow.
the air and went from his left hand to his right in one motion.
And
Just-
Moses is wrapping around. Incredible. So, look, great signs for the Eels. Makatoa, what a find he's been.
Isn't he?
Like, he's older, barely played in very inexperienced for how old he is. He's like 29 or whatever. 121 metres, 18 tackles, no misses. He just adds that extra dimension that they need when he comes on. Look, really exciting
He's
times.
got a bit of like Manu Mao about him too.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to fuck around with him. No thanks.
I thought Will Pensini was really good.
Yeah.
Bailey Simonson had some decent. I mean, look, all of them. Opacek was solid. It was just an incredibly good game for every Panthers player. Eels player. I don't think really anyone had a poor game.
I think it was good to see Penasini have that game. It's probably been a little bit underwhelming. Well, for me anyway, if the expectations I had of Penasini, it's probably been a little bit underwhelming to start the season. But he's come up with a couple of good plays, and I thought that was his best game.
Yeah, agree, bro.
That's all right. Supposed to do that.
Let's get the shit out of me.
No, it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, it got me too. I was
thought it was
Like did it
falling.
by itself. They want us to Netflix and chill. What's going on here? Anyway, we'll
trying
keep
to cut
going.
us off, bro.
Anyone get my reaction time there?
Um,
Not bad.
Okay. Now, just quickly, we'll get through the last game of the last team. So, Dragons, great for Eels. I think that this is the best they've looked in a very long time. Thoughts on the Dragons? I'll just give mine quickly. Hook has a tendency to do this, and he does it everywhere he's at. He does this, but he'll like move players around and drop them. Dropping Sloan and Amone in one foul swoop. The concern I have with that is like the message you're sending to the team essentially is that they are the reason that I know that may not be the case, but what I get from that is like they're your two weakest points. And when you've got two guys you're trying to build a club around, Amone and Sloan have not been bad by any stretch, in my opinion. And then to put a guy like, Moses, who had a fair crack back there, but Sloan's an out-and-out fullback. Like, he is one of the better young fullbacks in the competition. I thought this was I think evidence showed this was an incorrect decision. Clearly, Sloan and Amone were not the problem.
Why would you drop Amone and then at least not send him back to Reggie's? Once again, like you guys said, tell him what he needs to work on. Played him off the bench. I think he played 12 minutes. What's the point?
Unfortunately, Guru, we're talking about that comment we were making was a perfect world. That's not what's happening.
That's not what's happening. It's not.
Yeah.
That would be a perfect world. That'd be great. I feel like you'd see the relationships and buy-ins and the development of players would be completely different. But fuck.
He sent Sloan back, though. He played reserve grade yesterday afternoon. I don't understand why you wouldn't send Amone back. I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, and I just think that you did that to kind of that's sending a big message. Like, these are two guns, young guns. You did that and you lost 48-14. I think that Hook, maybe he will or won't, and this is just my opinion, but I think he has to admit that it was the wrong call. It was the wrong call. It didn't change anything. If anything, they went worse.
Yeah, and this is, Hook's done a lot of things over the years that I cannot fathom, but quite often he does come out with a good result. But this one, I don't know, it just felt wrong to me the entire time.
Now, I've loved Hook's approach, his money ball approach. I think he's been really smart with the signing. They've got the salary cap in balance. Like, there's a lot that I like that Hook has done, but I think in this specific situation, it wasn't the right call. Like, you need to give these guys longer than 3 games, especially when your first game, you played really well. And it's just been a couple games where, you got unfortunate against the Panthers, played really well, and then you had a really poor performance against the Sharks. So essentially what you're saying is that like he had 2 poor games or 1.5 poor games, those 2 players, and they're getting dropped as young players.
They've also, they played the Panthers, they played the Sharks. They're going to be 2 top 4 teams for me. They had Sinbin's Jaden Sewer in both of those games.
Yep.
It's tough conditions for young guys like this to stand up. I don't agree with it, and I hope that he flips on it. But
that's the thing. Have you put yourself in a corner, really? Bringing him back straight away is almost admitting like, oh shit, we stuffed up here.
Yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't usually happen.
No. I will say this, credit to Ben Hunt. He's playing unbelievable footy at the moment.
Really good.
I think he is a very similar player to what Jack Whiten is for the Canberra Raiders. Ben Hunt is just everything in attack and defence. He's been sensational for the Dragons, and I think Hunt had 70 touches, Bird had 40 touches at their half and 5'8". I think you need that bit of a wild card in Amone next to him to help Ben Hunt as well. I can't agree with the decisions Hook made there.
Yeah, very surprising. Look, I thought Sully coming out of there and was so damaging. He's a
fucking beast.
When he wants to, he's unbelievable, like unstoppable. The amount of times they would be under the pump in sets, he would come in, take a carry, and it would just change the whole set. But very disappointing for the Dragons. The problem now is like, okay, so you've moved Damone out and you've put Bird in 6. You've kind of created a problem now, like who's our halves pairing, who's our spine. Like you've changed your 6 and you've changed your 1. Like that's half your spine now that has changed. Now it's like, are we going to spend the whole season doing this dance?
Yeah, you do not want to get caught in that trap.
Don't want to. I mean, look what happened to the Broncos. We got caught in that trap and we had like 10 different halves pairings. I just thought it was way too early to be, Sloan and Amone, they're young. You guys Dragons had started really well except for one bad game. Both their first 2 games, I thought they were good.
Yeah, agreed.
One bad game, and all of a sudden we want to change our whole spine. I just don't know if it's going to pay dividends.
If I said to you it was round 4 and Bai was your fullback and Bird was your 5'8", you'd assume they'd had a terrible injury run.
You'd be like, something bad's happened to the club.
Especially those positions where it's not like a forward where they can just go back and lean on their tackles and their defence and their hit ups. Like these are guys, confidence players. You can't just chop and change.
And you're building for the future. I thought Fagai, he's so sharp, man. I can just see the class in Fagai. He just needs to stay in first grade for a substantial amount of time. I actually thought their backs were pretty good, to be honest. Dragons backs, but just the Eels forward pack just too dominant. Wow,
They're so good.
They're so big and powerful.
So
look, is it worrying signs for the Dragons? No, but those decisions concern me because I worry that they will go down and get caught in this
bit of a pattern,
pattern of like bloke in, bloke out in key positions.
You're heading in the direction of worrying, though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, absolutely heading in the direction. That was a sound beating, but again, it's one of those. You want to like walk up every game and like have less questions and have the answers to the questions you have. I kind of feel like you dropped 2 players and you actually have more questions than what you came into the game. You're more unsure as to what is the plan going forward. Whereas like, let's say Sloan and Amone play this game and they lose by the same amount, you can at least go, okay, again, they've played poorly. You've got more evidence to suggest that maybe they're not ready for first grade. I think they are ready for first grade, but...
Look at Ilias. I mean...
Yeah.
South Sydney could have made that change in the first 3 weeks. They haven't now. You're starting to see it. Did. Like the Cowboys have backed him in.
Yep.
Knights have backed in Clifford. Yeah, I think this will do more harm than good to these young fellas.
Because can you really see them getting selected next week, regardless of how well... Like Amone getting 12 minutes, that's not good for him. He needs to be playing 80 minutes of footy.
Yeah, I can't see Hook falling on his sword.
Yeah, that's the thing. Depending on the conversation, though, you just got to bring Sloan back in. Surely he brings Sloan back in, and like that's the firing message that he sends him of like, mate, you got to be on your toes. This is first grade.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because like Moses Zembai, although I thought he had some really good touches, he's not a fullback.
Yep.
But yeah, positive signs. I thought Suli was a beast. Obviously Ravalawa, 200 metres. I think Andrew McCulloch, it was his first game back. That's only going to build that partnership with Hunt. I actually thought Francis Molo was really good.
Yeah, very good. I love Molo.
Yeah, Molo was really good.
He's having a cracky
year. Yeah.
He's the only forward like that they've got who's only middle forward. Like you look at the rest of them, Laurie, Woods, they're all the same sort of footballer.
Yeah.
He brings a good little point of difference.
I'm a big fan of Molo.
Aaron Woods' pass was fucking gun. That pass for that try, that was a good...
he was enjoying himself.
See a bit more of that.
Yeah, so look, not panic stations at all for the Dragons yet. Again, the problem is you don't know where you... When you have this big of a loss and you've made changes before the loss, you don't know where the problem lies now. Like, you don't know, like, it's like, oh, shit, should we bring Sloan in? Should we not bring... Anyway, but not panic stations at all. The good thing is you've got a guy like Benny Hunt, just rips and tears. 2 try assists in a game like that, when you're getting towed up, that's pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
Pretty bloody good. Any other closing remarks, gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about last week about how much closer all these games have been. A few more scores opening up this week. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 2 weeks or so. I'm very keen to watch it.
It's going to be interesting to see whether injuries start playing a factor.
A few little cracks of separation between the comp, but we'll see. See how these teams react, and some do need a reaction.
Yeah, or whether this was just a week of the right matchups.
Yeah.
I'm very keen to see how it
as
plays out. Yeah.
Well, a couple of struggling teams have a bit of a run of some top tier teams as well, so that may see
tough gig Broncos. Going to be tough.
Going
to be tough, but
gatekeepers.
Going to be all good. Make sure to follow Sandor on Instagram at Sandor, the Rugby League Guru podcast. Subscribe on all good podcasting apps. Grab a case of Bloke in a Bar, Bloke Shorts. They are available on Wednesday 6 p.m. and I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.